Return through time, Atsutsuki cultivates the sacred tree ***. Hyuga Shiratori's eyes shifted into Tensigen mode, glowing with celestial energy. In his hand, a radiant green sphere flickered, a fusion of yin-yang release and the unique powers of the Tensigen. The orb pulsed with life, a tool capable of extracting chakra from afar, especially when the target offered no resistance. In this case, Atsutsuki Kagaya had no choice but to submit. The efficiency of the process was staggering. A faint groan escaped Kagaya's lips. As her chakra drained rapidly, the overwhelming strain forced the Rinne Sharingan on her forehead to close involuntarily.
"Are you all right, Kagaya?"
Hyuga Shiratori asked, a hint of concern in his voice. "You know the answer," Kagaya replied defiantly, her pride refusing to falter despite her weakened state.
Shiratori smirked.
"Still stubborn, my dear Kagaya." With that, he ceased the chakra absorption. The vast amount of energy he had drawn from her coalesced into a crystalline pill in his hand. Without hesitation, he swallowed it whole, the raw power surging through him. The universe operates with balance. There are no free gifts. While Kagaya had accepted Shiratori's earlier gift of chakra, she now paid a steep price, relinquishing a portion of her own strength. The power of the six paths. Hyuga Shiratori's eyes gleamed with newfound power. He had fully embraced the ability to wield the ultimate bloodline limit, the six paths power. "I feel incredible."
"It's time, Kagaya.
"Let me take you to my era." Shiratori raised the treasure plow, a relic of immense power, and activated it. Time-space travel, initiate. With a mechanical whir, the pink tortoise-shaped device unfolded. Its shell emitted a dazzling array of colors, enveloping both Shiratori and Kagaya in its radiant glow. The two were instantly transported into the swirling vortex of time-space, their physical forms momentarily reduced to ethereal energy. The sensation was indescribable. They soared as two souls through the fabric of the universe, faster than light itself. Starlight streaked past, flowing in reverse like rivers of glittering dust. Even Kagaya, known for her stoic demeanor, couldn't suppress her curiosity about the era Shiratori hailed from. The seeds of a new sacred tree. Meanwhile, back in the original timeline, the consequences of Hyuga Shiratori's absence began to unfold. Atsutsuki Momoshiki had been defeated by Shiratori's might, but the remnant of his body, a severed upper torso, had survived, thanks to his relentless vitality. With the treasure plow's assistance, Momoshiki managed to escape through time-space. The fragments of his corpse, along with the 10 tails he had brought from another planet, now served a darker purpose. Atsutsuki, ever calculating, had been lying in wait, seizing the opportunity to cultivate a new sacred tree while Shiratori was out of the picture. The cultivation site was strategically chosen, the secluded land of rain, where Akatsuki's remnants once thrived. Since the end of the Fourth Great Ninja War, the region had fallen into obscurity, providing the perfect cover. Atsutsuki unleashed the 10 tails into a hidden valley, feeding at the remnants of Momoshiki. The result was a towering sacred tree that pierced the heavens, its size and ominous presence visible from hundreds of kilometers away. The major ninja villages took notice but hesitated to act. Still reeling from the devastation of the Fourth War, they prioritized rebuilding over engaging with an unknown threat in a minor nation. Their inaction allowed the sacred tree to grow unchecked, its roots spreading across the land of rain like a malignant cancer. A nation devoured. In a single night, the sacred tree's roots extended across the entire land of rain. Villages, forests, and rivers were consumed as the tree drained life from everything it touched. Ordinary civilians and ninjas alike were reduced to desiccated husks, dangling lifelessly from its roots. The land of rain had become a land of death. Above the chaos, Konan, the angel of Akatsuki, stirred from her secluded life. Awakened by the invasion of roots into her home, she quickly took to the skies, her paper wings spreading wide. "What is this nightmare?" she murmured, gazing at the horrifying sight before her. The sacred tree stood like a monstrous sentinel, its gnarled branches reaching endlessly into the heavens. Its roots stretched across the landscape, strangling the life out of everything they touched. Konan retaliated, her paper dance technique slicing through the encroaching roots. Despite her skill and determination, it was clear this disaster was far beyond her power to stop. The sacred tree's presence signaled a new era of terror, and the ninja world had yet to realize the magnitude of the threat. Atsutsuki's resolve. High above the devastation, Atsutsuki observed the sacred tree's progress, his expression cold and calculating. "This level of chakra fruit will not suffice," he muttered, his eyes narrowing. "If I am to defeat Hyuga Shiratori, I need perfection." Memories of Shiratori's battles flashed through his mind. Shiratori against Uchiha Madara, against Ōtsutsuki Urashiki, against Momoshiki himself. Each encounter had demonstrated Shiratori's overwhelming strength and unparalleled strategy. "I cannot afford to make a single mistake," Atsutsuki whispered. His caution stemmed from a lesson ingrained over millennia: never attack without absolute certainty of victory. For now, he bided his time, nurturing the sacred tree and waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike. But as the land of rain fell deeper into darkness, the question remained: how long would the ninja world ignore this growing calamity? The sacred tree devours the ninja world. Conan watched in horror as the sacred tree's roots engulfed the land of rain, draining the life out of its people. The once thriving nation was reduced to a wasteland of desiccated bodies hanging lifelessly from the monstrous roots. Determined to prevent this catastrophe from spreading, Conan used her paper-style techniques to send warnings to the 5 great nations.
However, her plea fell on deaf ears.
The leaders of the great nations dismissed the warning outright. To them, Conan was nothing more than a war criminal, an ex-member of Akatsuki who had taken part in the 4th Great Ninja War. If not for their current precarious state, they might have sent forces to capture her outright. Frustrated but undeterred, Conan set out to find Hyuga Shiratori, the so-called god of ninjas. Yet, Shiratori's absence, trapped in another time and space, rendered that hope futile. Instead, Conan stumbled upon 2 powerful kunoichi living in seclusion: Terumi Mei, the former 5th Mizukage, and Uchiha Izumi. A warning delivered. "You're from Akatsuki?" Terumi Mei asked, her expression hardening. The mere mention of Akatsuki stirred memories of the organization's betrayal against her predecessor. "What do you want here?" Uchiha Izumi demanded sharply, stepping forward with a fierce glare. Conan, maintaining her composure, replied, "I'm looking for Hyuga Shiratori. The situation is urgent."
Izumi crossed her arms.
"Shiratori isn't here. If you have something to say, say it now." Conan's eyes lingered on the young Uchiha. Though Izumi was young, her reputation in the 4th Great Ninja War was well-earned. She had stood against Akatsuki's members and lived to tell the tale.
"Very well," Conan began.
"In the land of rain, a towering sacred tree has appeared. It devours life itself, far surpassing the power of any tailed beast. The force behind this is unknown, but they're undoubtedly more dangerous than Uchiha Madara." Terumi Mei's expression turned grave. "A sacred tree. Could it be the one Shiratori mentioned?" Izumi's face mirrored her concern.
"The Atsutsuki clan.
They use the sacred tree to harvest chakra fruits, treating them like delicacies. If this is their doing, the entire ninja world is at risk."
Conan nodded.
"You seem to understand the threat. Please, inform Hyuga Shiratori when he returns. The peace of the ninja world depends on it."
A growing catastrophe.
As the sacred tree's roots expanded, their reach grew terrifyingly fast. From the land of rain, they spread across the mainland, consuming the lands of earth, wind, and lightning. Entire nations fell as billions of people were ensnared, their lives drained to fuel the tree. Only a handful of ninjas managed to escape, fleeing to the land of fire, where Konoha became the last refuge. The land of water, isolated across the sea, remained untouched for now. However, Terumi Mei knew it was only a matter of time. If the land of fire fell, her nation would be next. Without hesitation, she led the Mist Village forces to join the defense in Konoha. This final stand was the ninja world's last hope.
The battle begins.
The sacred tree's roots surged like a sea of writhing tentacles, stretching across mountains, valleys, and forests. The sky itself seemed choked by the overwhelming presence of this monstrous entity. Fire-style, majestic destroyer flame. Uchiha Izumi unleashed a massive wave of fire, burning scores of roots to ash. Standing amidst the flames, her fearless posture inspired the allied forces.
"It's just a tree. Burn it to the ground."
Izumi's defiance rallied the troops, igniting their will to fight.
Lightning style, thunderclap strike.
5th Reikage Samui led the Cloud Village forces, shredding roots with powerful bolts of lightning. Lava style, dissolving jutsu. Terumi Mei joined the fray, spewing corrosive acid that dissolved massive sections of the roots.
Wood style, deep forest bloom.
Tsunade, wielding her wood release, summoned sprawling vines to entangle and suppress the invading roots. Yet, the sacred tree's roots retaliated, sapping chakra from her vines in a deadly tug-of-war. This is a battle for survival.
Hyuga Hayashi roared, leading the Hyuga clan into the fray.
The allied ninja forces fought valiantly, their combined efforts barely holding back the sacred tree's relentless advance. Atsutsuki watches. High above the battlefield, Atsutsuki hovered silently, his Byakugan scanning the chaos below. He showed no intention of joining the fight, observing with cold detachment. "They're like insects, struggling in vain," he muttered. "Still, a few possess noteworthy chakra." Once the sacred tree consumes them, its fruit will be perfect. Despite the overwhelming odds, Atsutsuki remained cautious. His disdain for humanity was clear, but he knew better than to underestimate Hyuga Shiratori's allies. For now, he let the sacred tree do his bidding. A desperate struggle. The sacred tree's roots continued their onslaught, their sheer numbers overwhelming even the most skilled fighters. Uzuki Yugao swung her blade with precision, cutting through root after root, but exhaustion was taking its toll. "Captain! We're losing too many people," shouted a Hyuga branch member, his Byakugan barely managing to keep track of the advancing roots. Before Yugao could respond, several roots erupted from the ground, entangling the Hyuga ninja. His struggles were futile as the roots drained his chakra, leaving him a lifeless husk. "No!" Yugao cried, rushing to save him, but the sheer number of roots made it impossible. The same tragic scene repeated across the battlefield. Ninja after ninja fell, their chakra consumed to fuel the sacred tree. The final line. "This can't go on," Tsunade said, her face grim. "If we don't locate the enemy's leader soon, the coalition forces will be wiped out." As the battle raged on, the ninja world stood on the brink of annihilation. The sacred tree continued to grow, its roots spreading with terrifying speed. Time was running out, and the fate of the world rested on the coalition's ability to uncover and stop the mastermind behind this nightmare.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another video of FanFic Canon. Before we dive in, I want to remind you to subscribe to the channel if you enjoy our content. It really helps a lot. Also, don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments section below. Let's get started.
The war is back. The ninjas allied forces against the sacred tree. It is definitely not feasible to use limited manpower to fight infinite divine power. They realized that they had to find the messenger behind the god tree. Damn it, don't even show a face. Who would start a war if they didn't agree? All the ninjas were angry. When Uchiha Madara launched the war, it was officially announced anyway. Moreover, as a leader, he is upright from beginning to end, appearing in front of the world with an incomparable haki posture. Now this mysterious man who controls the sacred tree brazenly waged a war on the entire ninja world without saying a word. It is simply unreasonable. The Yamanaka clan, haven't you found the enemy's chakra? Tsunade shouted. Sorry, Lord 5th generation, this tree contains a huge chakra, which greatly interferes with my perception skills. Yamanaka Hiki expressed powerlessness. What about Hyuga? Tsunade had to pin his hopes to Byakugan of the Hyuga clan. Already doing it, but haven't found it yet. Hyuga Hayashi stared at Byakugan, scanning the battlefield around. Have not been able to find the location of the enemy. The ninja coalition can only passively defend the invasion of the sacred tree. As time goes by, more and more ninjas, exhausted, are involved in the roots. The casualties of the ninja coalition forces have been further expanded. Humble inferior creature. Atsutsuki hid in the clouds in the sky, looking over the earth indifferently. For the ninja coalition to search for him, everything is in sight. Unlike Atsutsuki Kagaya, he has personally experienced thousands of years of ninja history. Very clear about everything in the ninja world. Therefore, in order to avoid the ninjutsu of the perception system, he is also fully prepared. For example, an enchantment that blocks chakra is set up around him. As for the Byakugan of the Hyuga clan, that is just the most insignificant trace of blood among the descendants of Atsutsuki Kagaya. With these scumbags of Byakugan, you can't reach that far in the sky. This is a war without suspense. Atsutsuki settled firmly in the sky, he could even conclude. Until the sacred tree swallowed everyone, the ninja didn't even have a chance to find him. However, something unexpected happened to him. This feeling. Byakugan. Atsutsuki's expression on Furyui Shibuamai's face suddenly showed a touch of astonishment. He keenly noticed that a breath of Byakugan locked on him. Impossible? How could a mere inferior creature possess such a high-purity Byakugan? Byakugan is an inherent standard ability of the Atsutsuki family. However, there is a big difference in capacity. As for the human Byakugan, it is not worth mentioning. My father, I saw it. In the Hyuga clan, there is a timid girl who is looking up at the sky. Those silver-white eyes seem to be able to see through the sky. The target is directly above us, about 7,000 kilometers high, and there is a person floating in the air. It was the clan eldest lady of the Hyuga clan, Hyuga Hinata. What? Hyuga Hayashi subconsciously threw Byakugan into the sky. Only Byakugan of the clan family, who has not been suppressed by curse mark, caged bird, can perfectly display his pupil power. Hyuga Hayashi concentrates the whole body of chakra and injects into the binocular Byakugan. His vision can penetrate hundreds of kilometers of clouds. I saw that his eyes were bloodshot and his pupil power reached its limit. I can't see. Hyuga Hayashi gasped, then looked suspiciously at his daughter. My father, I really saw it. Hyuga Hinata said proudly. Everyone expressed incredible belief. Even the patriarch of the Hyuga clan can't see it, so why can a little girl see it? And standing alone at an altitude of more than 7,000 kilometers, this sounds too unbelievable, right? I'm serious. Hyuga Hinata said affirmatively again. I believe Hinata's words. Uchiha Kwan stood up and expressed his belief in her. Sister Kwan. Hyuga Hinata looked at him gratefully. A few years ago when she was young, she was kidnapped by Cloud Shinobi. It was Uchiha Kwan who was right in front of her who rescued her. This planted the image of a hero in the mind of the young Hyuga Hinata, which made her admire. Hehe, little Hinata is awesome. He was the first to spot the enemy. Uchiha Izumi stepped forward and hugged her affectionately. Although everyone had doubts about Hyuga Hinata's statement, no one dared to refute Uchiha Kwan's statement. This is the status that power brings. The enemy is at an altitude of 7,000 kilometers. How can you fight this battle? Everyone still feels very pessimistic, because they discovered that the existence of enemies has far exceeded the scope of normal ninjas. This is troublesome. Even if we find the enemy's location, we can't help him, Samui said solemnly. Don't worry, leave the matter to me. After Uchiha Kwan talked about the 3 Tomo Sharingan, it turned into a mysterious plum blossom pattern. That is the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan that has evolved after devouring Chakra Tango. The pink coquettish chakra was released vigorously, forming a huge samurai posture. A pair of big wings spread out behind him. Completely Susanoo? Everyone was amazed when they saw this behemoth. This is the power of the legendary Uchiha Madara? The overwhelming power, this is the gift of the ninja god. Sam Yi's eyes were hot, and he cast an extremely envious look. I couldn't help but have a bold idea in my heart. If I also abandon the identity of Reikage and choose to follow that man, is it possible to obtain this power beyond mortals? Flying tools, I will provide you with them. Terumime also shot, and her hands were sealed. Summoned a series of dozens of water dragons. It can be seen that Terumime has a lot of knowledge in the field of water style for the water dragon that controls multiple shape changes at once. However, maintaining that much will consume chakra fiercely. Tsunade raised his doubts. Don't worry, I won't let you fall. Terumime's handprints changed. Fading and unconstrained technique. This is a fusion of fire style, water style, and earth style. By reducing the decay of water style, you can achieve the long-term effect of maintaining ninjutsu. Atsutsuki 1 style ability. The purity of this Byakugan is no less than Atsutsuki. I didn't expect a small human girl to have such potential. Maybe it's a good tool for me. A sharp light flashed in Atsutsuki's eyes, and Byakugan's gaze was firmly locked on Hyuga Hinata on the ground. Well, Hyuga Hinata's Byakugan, staring at each other, was shocked. Jonin-level ninja, come with me. Tsunade gave orders to everyone, and then took the initiative to jump on Susanoo, the perfect body of Uchiha Spring. I can do it too. Terumime controls several water dragons in a row and can fly in batches of ninjas. Yoshi, everyone, sit down, stabilize, take off. Uchiha Kwan Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, controlling his complete body, Susanoo stretched out a pair of big wings, soared into the air, got up. Terumime also flew into the sky while controlling the water dragon. Amazing. Samai's feet were firmly attached to Susanoo's arms, and his eyes looked down on the earth that was constantly moving away from underneath. There was a look of yearning in my heart involuntarily. If you follow the god of ninja, you can overlook all living beings. Be careful, everyone. The target is right above. There is a terrible chakra. 6th Mizukage Ching stood on the water dragon at this time and shouted a warning. Once an important advisor to Mist Shinobi, Terumime succeeded Mizukage after giving way. Ching has a very good perception system ability. Since Atsutsuki has set up a barrier in one form, he cannot be perceived from a long distance, but at close range, Ching can still detect the existence of the latter. I saw violent fluctuations in the clouds above. The enemy is coming, everyone, be careful. Tsunade shouted loudly. Everyone suddenly breathed in their noses, their eyes fixed on the position of the clouds above. Something came out of the clouds. But surprisingly, the eyes did not see anything. Disappeared. Ching's perception technique had lost its goal, and his face couldn't help showing a look of astonishment. No, the enemy is. In the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan of Uchiha Spring, you can vaguely see a small spot flying across the sky. It is so small that it can hardly be locked, but the only certainty is that there is an extremely powerful chakra on that small spot. At this moment, without warning, only a white figure appeared in front of Ching. Inferior creatures should crawl on the ground. Boom. The pupils of the blue eyes shrank, but there was no time to make any response. It was kicked by the opponent. The light was physical arts, and the huge impact force shattered the water dragon under his seat. Everyone was stunned by the scene in front of them. The enemy who had been lurking for a long time finally showed up and gave Mizukage a second when he came up. How terrifying is this? Gentle Fist Method 8 Trigrams Air Palm. Hyuga Hayashi's Byakugan locked the opponent's figure and slapped Atsutsuki with a palm. Boom. Atsutsuki waved his sleeves, and easily wiped away the opponent's empty palm. Byakugan's physique is not like that. Atsutsuki glanced at Byakugan, waved a few punches back and forth, left and right. Varied. Hyuga Hayashi couldn't understand the opponent's moves at all. Unexpectedly, dozens of air fists suddenly appeared from all directions, and all of his retreats were blocked at once. Hyuga Hayashi was shocked and subconsciously used the absolute defense of the Hyuga clan. Revolving Heaven. Chakra was released from 361 acupuncture points throughout the body, forming an airtight chakra barrier. But then they are all eggs. That seemingly fluttering air fist pierced the revolving heaven like paper paste, and hit Hyuga Hayashi hard. Boom 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 boom. Hyuga Hayashi seemed to be beaten by countless people with their fists, breaking the bones all over his body, turning into a bloody man on the spot, and falling from the air. Wow, really? Kill Mizukage with one hit, and kill the chief of the Hyuga clan with one hit. Everyone was beaten up at once. Find flowers. This combat power is too exaggerated, right? Lava-style solving monster technique. Terumi Mei sprays a strong acid solution. Bah! Atsutsuki is absorbed instantly. Cut. Sure enough, does the power of the Atsutsuki clan possess the ability to absorb ninjutsu? Terumi Mei gritted his teeth. Then use physical skills to determine the outcome. Tsunade stepped on and flew towards Atsutsuki. Focusing the power of wood style on the fist greatly increases the destructive power of the strange power. Boom. Atsutsuki raised his hand and grabbed Tsunade's fist steadily. The body shook for a moment. Oh, not bad power. Can actually shake me half a point. Is this the strength of Hokage? 0. Atsutsuki said slightly surprised. Don't underestimate Hokage. Tsunade lifted and kicked out. Wow. But there was no Atsutsuki in front of him. Puff 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 puff. Atsutsuki appeared behind Tsunade in an instant, piercing several iron thorns through her body fiercely. Mastered Tsunade. Uchiha Kwan yelled, and immediately controlled Susanoo with a knife and slashed over it. Xiaoming Che Pai Qian. Atsutsuki typed the mysterious rice word on his right eye to instantly activate pupil surgery. The giant sword that was swung down was instantly reduced to the size of a toothpick. Damn it! Can the pupil power of the eyes make things smaller? Uchiha Izumi couldn't make a hit, and Susanoo grabbed the injured Tsunade with one hand and pulled it back. Mastered Tsunade, are you okay? Ahem. Without frowning, Tsunade pulled out the iron thorns from his body severely. Don't worry, I am not so easily defeated. The automatic cure of Baihao technique, coupled with the powerful recovery ability of wood style. Tsunade's injury quickly recovered. The power of Uchiha and Senju. Atsutsuki was expressionless. As an old monster who has lived in ninja for thousands of years, he certainly knows everything about Uchiha and Senju. Your chakras are all excellent. Here, become the food of 10 tails. Kun. This is chakra bestowed by Shirei Torasama, and I will never give it to you. Terumi Mei shook his hands, and a black cube was condensed from the palm of his hand. Fading escape boundless technique. Hit the black cube at Atsutsuki. Byakugan? Atsutsuki's Byakugan insight is far beyond the Hyuga clan on Earth. Can see through the essence of ninjutsu in an instant. Combining the 3 attributes of fire, earth, and water, is this the so-called blood succession elimination? Atsutsuki showed disdain, and said coldly, compared to my Atsutsuki clan's blood trap, I can't even reach half of my power. The ability to wave and use the wedge will absorb the cube that will strike in the future. Arrogant Atsutsuki, don't underestimate people. Terumi Mei keeps Ji-in with both hands, and continues to maintain the output of fading. 093. Huh? The technique hasn't disappeared, this woman. Atsutsuki maintains the absorption of decay, but decay has the ability to reduce material decay. This means that as long as Terumi Mei continues to infuse chakra, the decline will never disappear. Of course, the long-term maintenance of the elimination process requires a large amount of chakra. Terumi Mei oozes cold sweat on his forehead and shouted, I'm holding him, take advantage of it now. Zizi. Thunder flashed. Samai entered the lightning-style chakra mode, riding a water dragon, and attacking Atsutsuki from behind. Lariat. Boom. Atsutsuki maintained his absorption of decay with one hand, and steadily held up Samai's ninjutsu attack with the other hand. Don't forget there are us. Uchiha Izumi controlled his entire body. Susanoo once again condensed a giant sword, and slashed at the opponent fiercely. Tian Shao feet. Tsunade hit the opponent's head with a strange kick. Annoying guy. Atsutsuki's expression became a little serious. Sure enough, this guy can't use the ability to become smaller while maintaining absorption. Uchiha Spring's Eternal Mangekyo Sherinon brings powerful insight, allowing her to see through the other's abilities. Big Black Heaven. Atsutsuki used another pupil technique in one go. I saw 2 huge meteorites appeared out of thin air in the sky. They hit Uchiha Spring and Tsunade respectively. Faced with such an unpredictable attack, the 2 women were caught off guard. Boom. Susanoo, the complete body of Uchiha Spring, was smashed and broke a wing. In an emergency, Tsunade raised his arm and used wood style. Wood style blasting gun tree. A big tree instantly grew from his arm, temporarily resisting the meteorite, and then taking the opportunity to avoid it. Hiding beautifully, what's next? Atsutsuki performed pupil surgery again with his right eye. I saw numerous giant stone pillars appear out of thin air in the sky, falling like raindrops. Complete body Susanoo was smashed thousands of holes, but finally his defense was strong enough to not collapse. But the water dragon is different, essentially just the water dragon bomb used by Terumi Mei. Being smashed through by the giant stone pillar instantly caused a large number of ninjas standing on it to fall all at once. Dragon sets are always tragic, and they were cleared out of the field before they had time to participate in the battle. Catch it. Uchiha Kwan controlled Susanoo completely, and barely caught the agile Terumi Mei, Tsunade, and Sam Yi. My ability, I can put things in a different space that stops at a certain time, just like this, it's very convenient, right? Atsutsuki waved his hand and picked up a tall red wine glass and drank it in one gulp. In the blink of an eye, the wine glass disappeared out of thin air. The ability to make things in front of you smaller and then release them in an instant. It looks simple but very tricky. Tsunade frowned and couldn't think of a way to deal with it for a while. And I also have the ability to absorb all ninjutsu. My blood succession limit and blood succession elimination are completely useless. Terumime gritted her teeth and her face became particularly heavy. Not only is his ability very powerful, but his physical skills are also terrifying. Samui pressed his aching arm. Just now when she used lariat to face each other head-on, she suffered a lot in the end. Give up, the hope of the ninja world lies on the four of you, there is no need to struggle to death. When they said these words, Atsutsuki's figure disappeared from their sight out of thin air. Then he appeared on Susanna's shoulder out of thin air. You guy. Tsunade punched out. Sam Yi punched out. Two people flanked from side to side. Boom. Weird iron fist and lightning style iron fist. It was caught by Atsutsuki with bare hands. This is the difference between the power of mortals and gods. Atsutsuki flew the two away with ease. Boil style Kiao technique. Terumime backed away, spitting out acid mist. However, Atsutsuki's figure shrank to invisible to the naked eye. Be careful behind, Sister Ming. Only the eternal Mangekyo Sharinon of Uchiha Spring can barely capture the breath of the other party. Boom. Uchiha Izumi held chakra knives in both hands, blocking the sudden appearance of Atsutsuki. With your strength, resistance is meaningless. Atsutsuki stomped on Susanna's body with a big foot. The immense power instantly penetrated Susanna, the originally dilapidated body. The four women lost their fulcrum in the air and fell from the sky one after another. Time and space shuttle finally came back. Hyuga Shiratori took Atsutsuki Kagaya and returned to the original time and space after 1,000 years of time. This is the era of the future, and it really is full of chakra atmosphere. Atsutsuki Kagaya's eyes moved slightly, and she used Byakugan to scan the surrounding area for the first time. Discovering the current era, the breath of chakra is everywhere. After thousands of years of development, the number of ninjas has reached a certain scale. Welcome to my time, Kagaya. The complexion on Hyuga Shiratori's face was just right. This time, the travel of time and space, because he absorbed most of the chakra of Atsutsuki Teruyoryuki, his consumption continued to be too great. This is just an equivalent transaction. Atsutsuki Kagaya said coldly. So far, she has not fully accepted Hyuga Shiratori yet. Unless, by the way, I almost forgot. I took two people with me on this trip. Hyuga Shiratori launches Huangquan Hirazaka. I saw two young girls walk out from the different space. This is from the era of the Second Ninja War, Uzumaki Kushina and Uchiha Mikoto. There was a wonderful expression on Atsutsuki Kagaya's face. Shura field? Carefree. Master Shiratori. Uzumaki Kushina has a carefree personality, and embraces Hyuga Shiratori's arm affectionately. For her, the great ninja god in front of her, not only helped her solve the restless nine tails in her body, but also took her away from that tragic era. It can be called the god of the grace of recreation? Thank you for the gift of the ninja god. Uchiha Mikoto was a little more shy, stepped forward and bowed deeply to him. A pair of big black eyes is full of endless worship. From ordinary 3-tomo Sharinon, it evolved into eternal Mangekyo Sharinon. This is a height she could not achieve in her entire life. Yet chakra has adapted well. Sure enough, you are all very promising. Hyuga Shiratori used Byakugan to observe the two girls carefully for a while. You can clearly see that the two of them are full of exuberant chakra. Just talk about chakra's words. Uzumaki Kushina has reached Uzumaki Naruto, who has fully mastered the power of 9 tails in the original book. Uchiha Mikoto is not inferior to Uchiha Sasuke of Eternal Mangekyo Sharinon. 17. Having said that, is he now accepting the mom of the original male first and male second? I always feel a kind of wonderful pleasure. These two women. Atsutsuki Kagaya furrowed his brows slightly, and said in deep thought, I actually have the breath of Dan in my body. Hey, who is this big sister? Uzumaki Kushina looked at the woman in front of him curiously. I always feel that there is an extraordinary breath in the other party's body. Uchiha Mikoto also cast a strange look. This temperament is different from ordinary people, and it doesn't look like ordinary human beings. This is my wife, Atsutsuki Kagaya. According to the understanding of your time, it should be the mother of Sage of Six Paths. Hyuga Shiratori explained casually. The mother of Sage of Six Paths. Uzumaki Kushina's mouth opened wide in astonishment. There are too many slots and I don't know where to start. Could it be? Shiratori-sama also went to the era before Sage of Six Paths. Uchiha Mikoto is so smart, and soon thought of the key. I have to say that this is a bold guess, but accidentally hit the fact. Mikoto is really smart. Hyuga Shiratori smiled and nodded, acknowledging what the other party said. The two women looked at each other, and their faces showed a strange color involuntarily. According to this statement, wouldn't the Sage of Six Paths they knew no longer exist? Or, Sage of Six Paths became the son of Hyuga Shiratori? This. People can't help but complain. Rude humans dare to talk to gods. Atsutsuki Kagaya gave a cold snort. Based on what the other party said, she probably heard it. In a certain time and space, he seemed to marry a human, and then gave birth to a guy named Sage of Six Paths. This is impossible. Atsutsuki Kagaya expressed his disbelief. What is it? You arrogant fellow, sorry, in our minds, Shiratori is the only god, you are not. Uzumaki Kushina curled his lips and said with an unhappy expression on his face. What did you say? Atsutsuki Kagaya's eyes were cold, and his face was full of unkindness. Kushina, don't you say a few words, she is Shiratori-sama's wife. Uchiha Mikoto pulled the ladder, motioning for the opponent to converge a little. I don't care. She obviously provoked first. Uzumaki Kushina is known as the Scarlet Chili, and when he was young, he was fearless and fearless. A pair of grey-blue eyes looked directly at Atsutsuki Kagaya without giving back. From the beginning, this woman has always been malicious towards us. Uzumaki Kushina has the ability to perceive the goodwill and maliciousness of others. From the moment she walked out of Hiraizumi Hirazaka, she noticed that Atsutsuki Kagaya looked unpleasant to them. This Uchiha Mikoto felt inexplicable at first, but when she took a closer look at Atsutsuki Kagaya, she looked at Hyuga Shiratori, and finally at herself. It suddenly dawned on me, isn't this the Shura field? Can I also talk to Lord Shiratori? Looks like it's not impossible. When I thought of this, Uchiha Mikoto's eyes also flashed a hint of warfare. Grab a man, she won't admit defeat. In an instant, fierce sparks burst out between the three women. It seems that everyone is getting along well. Hyuga Shiratori said cheerfully. There are too many women, it is inevitable that there will be jealousy. Calm and carefree. There is nothing to be afraid of. As long as Hyuga Shiratori has the power above life, even if it is hatched, he will not die. At this time, the war is still going on fiercely. Atsutsuki shot down all the ninja forces flying into the sky. Immediately afterwards, he used the pupil technique to control the sacred tree, arbitrarily killing it. Boom 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 boom. From the torn ground, countless trees and vines grew wildly. Most of the ninjas did not have the power to fight back at all, they were entangled and absorbed chakra. Fire-style sword Yuian. Uchiha Izumi swung the shinobi with fire-style power, and slashed the approaching trees and vines. Wood-style instrument technique. Tsunade used the same wood style and resisted the attack of the tree vine. Boil-style Kiawa technique. Terumi vomited acid mist, corroding the vines on her body into a ball of coke. Heavy current violence. Samui uses lightning-style ninjutsu to smash trees and vines with violence. Damn it. There is no end at all. Sam Yi's face was ugly and authentic. Except for the four of them who have the ability to protect themselves, the rest of the ninja allied forces have basically fallen apart, and the number of casualties has risen rapidly. I can feel, the sacred tree has absorbed more and more. There was a look of intoxication on Atsutsuki's face. Finally, his gaze fell on Uchiha Izumi and others who were still stubbornly resisting. However, these people have the most chakra. Sure enough, I still have to let me solve them personally. Thinking of this, Atsutsuki couldn't stand it anymore and chose to take the initiative. Wow. The figure turned into a shooting star and fell from high in the sky. Inferior creatures, I want to take all of your chakras away. He is here, 80 God's airstrike. Atsutsuki voluntarily gave up his air superiority and eagerly launched an attack on Uchiha Izumi and others. That's because he has a vaguely ominous premonition. All chakras must be collected as soon as possible, so that the sacred tree can bear the most perfect fruit. Be careful, he's down. Uchiha Kwan shouted. Wow, Atsutsuki moves at an amazing speed. Hardly any traces can be seen with the naked eye. I only heard bursts of sound and explosions in the air. The eternal Mangekyo Sharinan of Uchiha Springs concentrates the greatest pupil power and can barely observe the trace of the opponent's movement. The first goal of Atsutsuki's style is to take her directly, completely Susanoo. Uchiha Spring once again condensed the pink-armored samurai, but boom! Atsutsuki kicked through Susanoo with one kick, and the huge impact sent Uchiha Spring out of Susanoo's protection. It's just a blow from physical skills. Uchiha Kwan looked terrified. Wow! Atsutsuki pursued the victory in one go, and went straight to Uchiha Spring. Don't think about it. Terumi quickly formed seals with both hands, injected a large amount of chakra, and summoned the underground water veins in one breath. Water-style water array. Boom, bang, bang, bang. A huge amount of water spouted from the ground with an amazing impact. Blocked in front of Atsutsuki. However, the latter directly slammed into it, directly breaking through the high-pressure water column. Fire-style the fire is gone. Uchiha Kwan made seals on both hands and exhaled a powerful flame of extreme speed from his mouth. Atsutsuki grabbed it with his bare hands and absorbed all the flames. In the blink of an eye, Uchiha Kwan was captured. Fire-style the doppelganger blast. I saw Uchiha Spring's figure, which burst into flames. This is a high-end fire-style preset on the Shadow clone. Once it encounters an attack, it will automatically start. It can often hit the enemy by surprise. Small bugs and bugs. Atsutsuki directly absorbed the bursting flames. Boom. Uchiha Izumi's body drilled out of the ground, holding a shinobi sword and stabbing him in the opponent's throat. As a result, the moment the sword stabbed the opponent, the sword disappeared directly from her hand. Xiaoming Te Pai Chien. Atsutsuki can shrink things to infinite times at will? Watch out. Uchiha Kwan lost his weapon, but did not retreat in the slightest, and punched the opponent. Boom. Atsutsuki grabbed it casually, and then absorbed chakra. Wood-style wood dragon technique. Tsunade used a powerful wood style, summoned a wooden dragon and slammed into the opponent's back. The Atsutsuki-style Byakugan has a 360-degree field of view, so you can see it clearly. Directly use the pupil power of the right eye again, preparing to shrink the wooden dragon. Didn't get smaller. A look of surprise appeared on Atsutsuki's face. Because you can't shrink creatures other than yourself. I saw that the wooden dragon suddenly changed into Samai's appearance. Its transformation technique? Zizi. Samui concentrated the power of lightning style all over his body and attached it to his hand knife, using ninjutsu's strongest nirvana. Lateral bolt of pain, chop. Snapped. Atsutsuki blocked the opponent's thunder sword with his bare hands. Beautiful tactics, it's a pity that the power is too weak. In the face of absolute strength, any tactic is just a clumsy trick. Absorb chakra? Damn it. Everyone suddenly felt desperate. As the other party said, there is a huge gap in strength between the enemy and ourselves. This is not a reciprocal battle at all. Don't give up. Uchiha Kwan gritted his teeth, his face turned pale due to the loss of chakra from his body. However, she still did not give up. Concentrating all the power in one breath, poured into the eyes of eternal Mangekyo Sharinon. Illusory. Atsutsuki's body stiffened briefly. Drink. Uchiha Kwan and Sam Yi took the opportunity to break free from each other's restraints. However, the continuous process of the illusion was less than a second. Atsutsuki broke free of his spiritual restraint in an instant, and a powerful chakra shock wave radiated from his body, sending the 4 females flying out. This level of pupil technique is impossible to trap me. Atsutsuki's eyes flashed a killer. Although only a little bit, the opponent's strength has indeed reached a level that can threaten him. Inferior creatures dare to be an enemy of Atsutsuki? They must be completely killed before they really grow up. It's over, I won't let you have another chance. A terrifying chakra emerged from Atsutsuki's body. The world has changed color? The momentum alone suppressed Uchiha Kwan and others out of breath. This is the true power of Atsutsuki? Crush all lives? We are absolutely and will not admit defeat. Uchiha Izumi stood up tenaciously again. As a Shiratori-sama, you can't lose face. Terumi Mei also got up stubbornly. Don't underestimate Hokage. Tsunade wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. What are you kidding? If you bow your head to someone like you are not qualified to follow Shiratori-sama. Samai is not to be outdone, even if he is crushed by the creak of bones, he is unwilling to bow his head. Atsutsuki was speechless. Next, the only way to kill them is to kill them all. But at this moment, that is because of his chakra, making the world change color. It was restored to its original state in an instant. The tremendous pressure felt by Uchiha Kwan and others also disappeared without a trace. This familiar breath. It seemed that something had been noticed, and the faces of Uchiha Kwan and others showed surprises. He came. A strange light flashed in Atsutsuki's eyes. It took less than half a second of thinking time to decisively give up the goal of Uchiha Kwan and others. The figure appeared at the top of the sacred tree for an instant. Plucked the chakra fruit on it with one hand. It's not fully mature yet, but it's too late now. There was a look of regret on Atsutsuki's face, but he swallowed it decisively. However, at the same time he swallowed the chakra fruit. Countless fists blasted at him overwhelmingly. 80 God Airstrike. The shame of Atsutsuki? 80 God Airstrike. Hyuga Shiratori is here, and it is a terrifying blow. Every fist, with the sound of wind whizzing past. However, there are thousands of such fists. Boom, 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 boom. Atsutsuki folded his hands in front of him and concentrated on chakra to resist the series of blows. Master Shiratori. When Terumi Mei and others saw the savior in desperation, they all let out a sigh of relief. Atsutsuki, who defeated us alone, is now suppressed by Hyuga Shiratori. An expression of shock appeared on Tsunade's face. Sure enough, such physical skills are the power of the gods. Samai's eyes glowed, exuding a strong color of worship. Beat him? This guy bullied us miserably. Uchiha Kwan yelled. This is Kagaya's blood trap. Atsutsuki's face looked extremely ugly. As soon as Byakugan's gaze turned, he saw Atsutsuki Kagaya standing 100 next to Hyuga Shiratori. With sharp eyes, he immediately noticed the little life conceived in the latter's belly. His complexion suddenly became especially exciting. Go down, you are not worthy of being in the sky. Hyuga Shiratori increases the output of his fist. An overwhelming force was released at once, knocking Atsutsuki down from the sky. Rumble rumbling. Atsutsuki's body fell to the ground, piercing a huge hole in the ground. Cough. A trace of blood spilled from the corner of his mouth, and a hole was cracked in the corner of his head. This kind of powerful attack, if I hadn't just eaten the chakra fruit, I'm afraid I would have been killed in a second. Atsutsuki's face was heavy. It is not the first time that he has witnessed the strength of Hyuga Shiratori with his own eyes. That's why I haven't dared to sneak attack from behind. Now it was also taking advantage of the other party's time to travel through time and space before he dared to plant a new sacred tree. But never expected it. After the opponent came back from the time and space journey, his strength had to rise by another level. I also abducted Atsutsuki Kagaya from 1,000 years ago. That's it, kill one style completely. Atsutsuki Kagaya felt very happy. When in Atsutsuki's family, she was not less contemptuous of her. Don't worry, he will definitely die today. Hyuga Shiratori's eyes flashed with murderous intent, and he had noticed Uchiha Kwan and others, all suffering from injuries of varying degrees. This obviously can only come from Atsutsuki. The woman who hurt him doesn't matter who it is. Don't even talk about killing all of them. Atsutsuki Kagaya can clearly feel the amazing aura from the men around him. A strange color flashed between the eyebrows. This is the first time she has seen the humans who dare to face Atsutsuki head-on. You know, she was able to figure out the Atsutsuki style by playing sneak attacks back then. Huh. Atsutsuki soared into the air from the pit, staring at Atsutsuki Kagaya. Kagaya, you are so courageous. Not only did you shoot me as the superior Atsutsuki clan, but now I am gestating life with the humans on this planet. It is the shame of Atsutsuki. Huh? Now, you are still saying something like this, too arrogant, one thing. Atsutsuki Kagaya gave a cold snort, unwilling to talk nonsense. Because she clearly knows that for Atsutsuki, theory has no effect at all. Only strength is the capital of dialogue. Hyuga Shiratori has a murderous intent, and doesn't want to push the nonsense too much, just go ahead and do it. Kill the ashes. Condensed from the palm of the hand, a series of grey-black bone spurs were shot at the opponent. The little name pats together. Atsutsuki's eyes narrowed. Immediately reduced all the bone spurs that struck in front of him. Immediately after Hyuga Shiratori, the hair grows longer, and then it scatters wildly. Rabbit hair needle. Thousands of hairs, under Byakugan's pupil power, were precisely shot at the target's acupuncture points. The quantity is too much, it's too late to shrink. Atsutsuki condensed his eyes and activated another pupil technique. Big Black Heaven. A mysterious and gorgeous fine shield was taken out from the different space. Ding 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 ding. The needle-pointed hair hit the fine shield, making a clanging explosion. Huh? This is an armor I took from another planet's material. Kagaya's moves are of no use to me. Atsutsuki is cold and authentic. Pheasant hunting. Hyuga Shiratori waved his hand and released a blazing firebird towards the opponent. Boom. The monstrous flames burned the earth. However, still unable to break the opponent's fine shield. Dog feeding is healthy. Hyuga Shiratori continued to attack, using the change of soil attributes to generate multiple dragon head and snake monsters. Clang, 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 clang. The dragon head snake slammed into the fine shield, and Atsutsuki was shaken back for output. This guy, sure enough, even the peach-like ability was taken away. Atsutsuki frowned, but found that Hyuga Shiratori was suddenly missing. Wow. Hyuga Shiratori held a red light knife and attacked behind the opponent. Chang. Atsutsuki turned around and blocked. A hole was split in the fine shield. The inferior creatures who dare to interfere with the power of my Atsutsuki must be destroyed. Atsutsuki flexed his right eye to activate pupil power again. All of a sudden, the red light knife in Hyuga Shiratori's hand was narrowed out of sight. Hyuga Shiratori's face remained unchanged, and he waved a punch. Atsutsuki also punched in one style. Boom. The two fists slammed together. The ground beneath his feet was shattered because it could not withstand the immense force. Wow, wow. After the two retreated, they fought fiercely in the air. Boom, bang, 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 bang. Just the collision of ordinary fists and feet, there was a thunderous explosion resounding in the sky. I can't beat you, but I can. Atsutsuki's physique is very strong, very strong. In the original book, he suppressed Uzumaki Naruto in Nine Tails mode and Uchiha Sasuke in Susanoo. Whether it is the power of the attack, or the speed of the move, it is impeccable. There is no doubt that Atsutsuki is definitely the strongest one of Atsutsuki that Hyuga Shiratori has encountered. Xian Xiang. Hyuga Shiratori performed Might Guy's stunt. For ordinary ninjas, this is the ultimate physical skill that can only be used when 8 inner gates is turned on. Hyuga Shiratori's chakra is large enough, and in a normal state, it can fully reach the heyday of the opponent's 8 gate fully opened. This means that he can use 6 yang without opening the 8 gate, and there is no sequelae of death. Boom. By hitting the punches of the air with extreme speed, the ultimate air cannon is released. Wow. Atsutsuki calmly avoided the air cannon by shrinking himself. I have seen everything in the ninja world for 1,000 years of lurking time. Atsutsuki's body instantly regained its size and kicked towards Hyuga Shiratori from above. Boom. Hyuga Shiratori raised his hand to block, then grabbed the opponent's calf with his backhand and slammed down. Wow. Atsutsuki became smaller again and disappeared. Restored from behind him in another instant. No matter how many times you come, so will you. Puff. The Hyuga Shiratori who was hit, disappeared into 1,000 paper cranes. Atsutsuki's face changed, and his figure diminished again. But this time when he restored his figure, he was hit by Hyuga Shiratori in advance. Cough 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 cough. Atsutsuki was beaten back with a heavy punch, and said in a deep voice, going back in time, did you see the moment when I appeared? This is Piyushi's ability, your pupil technique is more than that guy uses. Good. You have a lot of nonsense. Hyuga Shiratori went on to carry out a series of fierce attacks. First, he kicked away the jingshi in the opponent's hand, and then slapped the latter's arm with another palm. Damn it. Atsutsuki's breath stagnated, and his movements began to become sluggish. Puff, 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 puff. Hyuga Shiratori took advantage of the victory, and once again hit the opponent with a series of physical combos. However, Atsutsuki was not without power to fight back. While being beaten, he also made several amazing counterattacks. First, he broke Hyuga Shiratori's left arm with one hand, and then kicked his kneecap. In the end, both of them slammed heavy iron fists into each other's chest. Then the two flew out of each other. Everyone was stunned. The two people in front of him were beyond all ninjas. It's equivalent to a fight with gods? However, what is unexpected is that the fighting method of the two is mainly based on physical skills. Few fancy moves. Only rough and extreme fist collisions. In fact, this is not surprising. First, both parties have the ability to absorb chakra. There are advantages and disadvantages to each other in the battle of pupils, and it will only be endless if you continue to fight. In fact, for characters of their level, their moves and abilities are not very important. The battle returns to its original essence. Hand-to-hand combat? Are you okay? Atsutsuki Teruyoriyuki looked at him worriedly. Atsutsuki is one of the best physiques in this family. If you talk about physique alone, the opponent can single her plus Atsutsuki Peach style plus Atsutsuki Gold style plus Atsutsuki Peach style. Hyuga Shiratori was able to fight each other equally. I have to say that this has surpassed most of the Atsutsuki. It's okay, who do you think I am? Hyuga Shiratori's twisted arm twisted automatically. Life body? Hyuga Shiratori possesses the power of 10 tails Jinchuriki, and the body is almost immortal. The broken arm and leg injury quickly recovered completely. Ba ba ba. On the other side, the same goes for Atsutsuki. Injuries that hurt muscles and bones can also be healed in an instant. After swallowing the chakra fruit, his strength has been fully restored to its heyday. Find flowers. Are you stalemate? No, to be precise, I am at a disadvantage. Atsutsuki had a solemn expression, and at the same time he took the initiative to admit his disadvantages. After personal bloody battles, he has deeply understood the power of Hyuga Shiratori. To be honest, the other parties is indeed above him. Although arrogant, Atsutsuki has to admit this objective fact. Don't sigh, the battle between you and me, regardless of whether you win or lose, only life and death. Hyuga Shiratori's eyes changed to the form of Tensagen, and a huge lightsaber was condensed with a wave of his hand. Golden Wheel reincarnation explodes. With this blow, he once cut the Atsutsuki Peach style with a single sword. 0-0. It's stronger than before. But, it's useless to me. Atsutsuki didn't dare to insist on it, so he could only use pupil technique against Xiaoming Toru Peikian. Shrink the giant lightsaber that was cut down. In this regard, Hyuga Shiratori had long expected. Although the opponent's ability is very simple, it is very practical and can be called the existence of bug. Almost all kinds of damage can be immune. Big Black Heaven. Atsutsuki released huge metal pillars one after another. This is made of high-density materials he collected from outer space. It looks like a small pillar, but it weighs more than 100 million tons. Susanoo will be smashed into a pair even if he is completely smashed. Huangquan Hirazaka. Hyuga Shiratori's eyes changed into a Rinnegan state. The figure instantly escaped into a different space, avoiding the billion-ton heavy blow. Boom. With a long roar, the earth was smashed through a bottomless hole. Sure enough, no one can help me in my fight with you. Atsutsuki shook his head, and then his eyes condensed coldly. I can't beat you in a normal battle. However, other methods are not necessarily the case. After Atsutsuki decided that he could not defeat Hyuga Shiratori, he decisively gave up the frontal battle. He turned his dangerous gaze to Uchiha Kwan and others on the battlefield. Inch.Tianjiu Zhong supergravity space. Atsutsuki confessed that he was fighting head-on and was not an opponent of Hyuga Shiratori. Decisively chose the tactics of attacking the hostages. Wow. Atsutsuki lunged directly at Uchiha Spring. Wow. Hyuga Shiratori's figure flashed, and he leaned in front of the opponent. But seeing Atsutsuki's figure instantly shrank and disappeared. Don't think I'm a bully. Uchiha Spring's eyes, Eternal Mangekyo Sharinon, condensed Susanoo and covered it with a layer of black inflammation spikes. Inferno-style flame control. Atsutsuki stopped in front of Heian with one step, waved his hand to absorb Heian. But in this gap time, Hyuga Shiratori hit it again. Fur. A palm was slapped heavily on the back of the latter. Cough. 103 Atsutsuki was traumatized and immediately shrank and escaped. Change the target and fly towards Terumime. Boil-style Kiao technique. Terumime exhaled a strong acid mist from her mouth, surrounding her body. There is no need to absorb this level of attack. Atsutsuki's eyes dazzled, and he chose to forcibly crash into the strong acid mist. Because once he stops to absorb, he will be immediately pursued by Hyuga Shiratori. Ba ba ba. His body was corroded by strong acid and scarred, but Atsutsuki managed to get close to Terumime. Water style. Before Terumime could get the seal, she was grabbed by the neck with one hand. Don't move, otherwise, I will. Atsutsuki squeezed his palm, only to find that the hand feels wrong. Only then did he discover that Terumime, which he was holding with one hand, had been replaced with a red fishing rod at some point. Heavenly hand strength. Hyuga Shiratori used Rinnegan's abilities to exchange the red light fishing rod in his hand with Terumime, who was caught by the opponent. Are you okay? Hyuga Shiratori reached out and stroked Terumime's back. I'm okay, sorry, Shiratori-sama, I'm the one who held back. Terumime looked ashamed and authentic. Obviously, he has already obtained a lot of pill, but unfortunately his strength is still not Atsutsuki's opponent. Don't be ashamed, Atsutsuki is a real match. As a ninja, you have done a good job. Hyuga Shiratori comforted. Even the pill was given to these women. Atsutsuki frowned. According to the character of the Atsutsuki clan, greed is so natural that all chakra is taken into one's own possession. It is impossible to share among the same race, let alone other people. Of course, they are all my women. Hyuga Shiratori said naturally with a face. Atsutsuki Kagaya was silent. She noticed, it was them, not her. There was an unprecedented taste in my heart that I had never experienced before. Hee. Uchiha Spring held his chin up, expressing that it should have been. Terumi Mei is also happy. That. I also got Dan, do I count? Samui said hopefully. This. Tsunade was a little moved, but when he thought of his identity and age, he suddenly flinched. Extremely stupid. Atsutsuki said coldly, if you eat all the pill, I'm afraid you can kill me instantly. Hey, I can't kill you right now. Hyuga Shiratori's eyes were cold and murderous. Continued, I want to use hostages to threaten me. I have been prepared for this. Heavenly Hand Power. Displays 2 targets in space in an instant. This is his ability to capture Uchiha Sasuke. As long as there is this trick, the other party can't take hostages. Atsutsuki once again fell into embarrassment. You can't beat it head on, and you can't take hostages. Now, he really has no chance of winning at all. Run away. This is a very unacceptable result for the arrogance of the Atsutsuki family. However, the current situation is not as good as that of others, and there is no alternative. Thinking of this, Atsutsuki suddenly retreated. It seems that my journey on this planet is over. One formula, do you want to escape? Atsutsuki Kagaya's eyes are fixed on him. You can think so too. Atsutsuki was seen through his mind without concealing it. As I said, there is no winning or losing between you and me, only life and death. Hyuga Shiratori is cold and authentic. Don't be too arrogant, human. Atsutsuki recognized his power, so he no longer called him an inferior creature. My strength is just inferior to you. If his hind wants to leave, you won't be able to keep me. Today, you must die. Hyuga Shiratori's eyes turned into Samsara Sharingan. Wow. Atsutsuki didn't stay for half a second, decisively shrank his body, and then fled to the sky. The Imperial Palace of Heaven. Hyuga Shiratori forcibly transferred himself and the opponent to a supergravity space. Puff. Hyuga Shiratori touched the ground with one knee. Puff. Recovering from the shrinkage, Atsutsuki lay on all fours on the ground. Damn it! Are you really going to fight me hard? Atsutsuki gritted his teeth in one go. In supergravity space, both parties will be affected. This means that the risks borne by both parties are consistent. Humph. Hyuga Shiratori gave a cold scream, and used the chakra of the 9 big-tailed beasts all over his body to forcibly support his body. Taking a heavy step, quickly rushed towards the opponent. Boom. Atsutsuki moved slowly and was punched in the cheek by the opponent. After flying out for a while, it was pushed down to the ground by huge gravity. Da. Hyuga Shiratori continued to rush towards the opponent with heavy steps. Sweating profusely, his face flushed. In this kind of supergravity environment, high-intensity battles must be carried out. The consumption of physical strength is simply unprecedented. Boom. Hyuga Shiratori knocked the opponent over with another punch. But when he was attacked, Atsutsuki gave him a kickback. Hyuga Shiratori could see the opponent's counterattack clearly, but could not evade in a supergravity environment and was also attacked by the opponent. Ahem. Both sides fell to the ground, vomiting blood. The internal organs and bones were severely squeezed under high gravity. Makes their respective injuries further aggravated. The final death fight? Life body? The fatal injury was quickly recovered. Regardless of whether it is Hyuga Shiratori or Atsutsuki, both of them have superb recovery capabilities. The two fought for nearly a day and a night in a supergravity space. Not only did he not get tired, but he also allowed the body to gradually adapt to the supergravity, and the battle became more intense. Chiang. The two each held a red light weapon and fought each other. It is not allowed to use our Atsutsuki fighting method. Atsutsuki shouted angrily. Loot, I will loot all your power. Hyuga Shiratori didn't care. For him, whose ability is not important, what is important is that he can plunder. Bang. The red light weapons in the hands of the two shattered. This has been damaged more than once. The two sides immediately launched a fierce hand-to-hand battle. Fists and feet collide, exploding like thunder. Fight again in another space. Hyuga 17 Shiratori once again activated the ability of reincarnation Sharingan. Turn the space you are in into a sea of sulfuric acid. Ba. The figures of the two fell into the acid sea. Suffering strong corrosion? A normal ninja, even if it is a shadow level. Falling into this acid sea, it was only corroded into a white bone. The chakra of the two of them can resist all this abruptly? High-intensity battle, coupled with the acid sea corrosion all the time. The consumption of chakra is staggering. Even the two of them can clearly feel the rapid passing of their own chakra. In this way, the battle of the acid sea continued for another day and night. The bodies of the two of them are gradually able to adapt to the environment of the acid sea. Hyuga Shiratori transformed the space again. This time it's an ice and snow space close to absolute zero. The howling cold wind is enough to freeze all life. As soon as they entered the arena, both of them were covered with a layer of frost. But immediately under the influence of their respective chakras, they melted automatically again. Boom. The two sides continued to fight together. Damn it. What's the point of such a death fight? Atsutsuki had an ugly expression on his face. Since it is a death match, only one person can live. Hyuga Shiratori swung his fists and kicks tirelessly. Boom. The two fierce battles tore the snowy ground apart. I don't know how long it took. Neither of them had the calmness and composure they had before. The scars on his body are densely covered. Even the strongest resilience has a limit. The speed of wound healing began to become slower and slower. Puff, puff. Hyuga Shiratori pierced the opponent's chest with a hand knife. Atsutsuki flattened his stomach with his fist. A large amount of blood spewed from their bodies, and then froze into scarlet ice crystals in the cold environment. Ho 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 ho. At this moment, both of them were exhausted and panting. Hyuga Shiratori's reincarnation Sharingan and Tensegan are automatically turned off due to excessive pupil power consumption. Both eyes returned to Byakugan state. Atsutsuki's mysterious right eye also fell into a closed state, and he could no longer use the bug-like pupil technique of Xiaoming Tetsutsuki. Only Byakugan with the left eye is left. This is my victory. Hyuga Shiratori held it with one hand and quickly condensed a Rasengan. Yugai. Atsutsuki subconsciously prepared to absorb the opponent's ninjutsu. Unexpectedly, the Rasengan in Hyuga Shiratori's hand suddenly disappeared without a trace. Even Byakugan can't observe. However, the exact danger is deeply felt. Atsutsuki had no choice but to protect his hands in front of him. Sure enough, there is no observation at all. Atsutsuki only felt that something invisible was hit on the cheek, and it flew out. How do you feel? This attack from the future. Hyuga Shiratori is cold and authentic. That is. Atsutsuki fixed his eyes on the opponent's right eye. I saw Hyuga Shiratori's right eye, which turned into a white pupil on a black background, completely different from the existence of ordinary Byakugan. It turned out to be a clean eye. This is an extremely rare existence in the Atsutsuki clan. How about you? Really? That's just the power I took from a certain human child. Hyuga Shiratori is taken from the power of the Uzumaki blogger who was planted with a wedge. It seems to have some mysterious power, but it has yet to be developed. I'm not convinced. The noble and classy of my dignified Atsutsuki clan, how can I lose to a human? How can I lose? Atsutsuki's mentality is finally approaching collapse. Days of fierce fighting, and no hope of winning at all. The chakra in the body is consumed blindly. By today, he has become very weak. Nothing is impossible. A dazzling thunder light shone with Hyuga Shiratori's left hand, and a strange black flame throbbed in it. Jianyu Thor. At this moment, the other party no longer has the pupil power to shrink things in front of him. Although it can still absorb ninjutsu, it can't absorb and counterattack. 80 God Airstrike. Hyuga Shiratori gathered thousands of fists into a punch in his right hand. This is the ultimate pinnacle of physical skills. Once the opponent chooses to absorb his Jianyu Thunder God, he will immediately be hit by this devastating fist. Choose a way of death. Hyuga Shiratori carries Daotao's killing intent, like an undead from hell, rushing towards the opponent just to harvest the latter's soul. Drink Atsutsuki had no other choice but to do his best to fight. Boom. The huge shock wave produced by the collision between the two instantly melted a large area of ice and snow. The terrifying energy shook the entire ice and snow space. It even led to the collapse of the entire space. This death fight that lasted 3 days and 3 nights finally came to an end. Hyuga Shiratori won the final battle with a weak upper hand. As a result of a long battle, he successfully wiped out Atsutsuki and captured the latter's chakra fruit. I want it all. At the end of the volume. Following the death of Atsutsuki, the chakra fruit was taken away. The sacred tree quickly withered like rootless duckweed. The people who were entangled and hung by the roots were liberated one after another. The ninja was sucked away from chakra, and looked extremely weak, but finally survived. Ordinary people are not so lucky. Without chakra, their vitality is sucked away. Most of them died. In fact, the people bound by the sacred tree will soon become white Zetsu, become a servant of Atsutsuki. Therefore, it can be said that Hyuga Shiratori once again saved the ninja world. Well-deserved god of ninjas. Shiratori, now, can you introduce some girls you brought back? Uchiha Izumi pouted his small mouth and stared at Hyuga Shiratori with a grieving expression on his face. She and him are the people who have known each other since childhood, have known each other the longest, and have been together for the longest time. The relationship between them is self-evident. Okay, I'm planning to introduce it to you guys. Hyuga Shiratori said solemnly, this is Atsutsuki Kagaya. According to the understanding of this era, she is the ancestor of chakra and the mother of Sage of Six Paths. Atsutsuki? The ancestor of chakra? The mother of Sage of Six Paths? After listening, everyone looked confused. What, the mother of Sage of Six Paths? I haven't given birth yet. Atsutsuki Kagaya frowned, and subconsciously stroked her slightly raised belly. Haha, my child, must be the Sage of Six Paths of this era. Hyuga Shiratori smiled slightly and said casually in a joking tone. You want to be the father of Sage of Six Paths? Good guy. I really don't know if the real Sage of Six Paths will jump up from the grave after hearing it. This is Uchiha Mikoto, Uzumaki Kushina. Hyuga Shiratori continues the introduction. What? When Uchiha Kwan heard the name, he couldn't help but feel dumbfounded. Her eyes widened and stared at the black-haired and black-eyed girl who was about her size in front of her. That, you know me. Uchiha Mikoto also looked at her curiously. Judging from appearance and attire, the opponent should also belong to the Uchiha clan. This is the name of the patriarch's wife. Uchiha Kwan was speechless. The patriarch's wife? Me? Should not be. Uchiha Mikoto shook his head quickly. Think about it carefully. In her time, Uchiha Fugaku was the eldest son of the patriarch, and if nothing else, the latter should be the next patriarch Uchiha. Doesn't it mean that she will marry Uchiha Fugaku in the future? Thinking of the fact that the other party had repeatedly advised her to stay away from Nine Tails Jinchuriki, she became disgusted. Me, Uchiha Mikoto, is absolutely impossible to marry that kind of person. You really are Kushina. Tsunade stared at the red-haired girl in shock. Master Tsunade, you are really as young and beautiful as ever. Uzumaki Kushina smiled sweetly and greeted each other. In her time, Tsunade was also very famous. Almost all Konoha female ninja worship objects. The 4th generation. How about that boy, Minato? Tsunade asked subconsciously. Minato? You mean Namikaze Minato? Ah, that's a bad luck. Uzumaki Kushina said calmly, in my time, a Atsutsuki peach-like guy came and took over Namikaze Minato's body and started the Ninja World War. Fortunately, Shiratori, the god of ninja, stopped it. Tsunade opened his mouth in amazement, saying that he was speechless. Then, she seemed to think of something again. His eyes fell strangely on Hyuga Shiratori. This guy, obviously knowing these two girls, one will be the wife of Naruto in the future, and the other will be the wife of the patriarch Uchiha. Now he has just kidnapped people back? It's hard to not think whether he has some kind of nasty taste. The past era doesn't matter anymore, the important thing is now, Hyuga Shiratori said lightly. He has never been a person who obeys the rules. What is the original plot? Who stipulated that the traverser must follow the plot? As for what you want to do if you take away Naruto and Zoma, and the two original masters, Kakuzo, are gone, the answer is nothing. Anyway, people are brought from other parallel time and space. As for how that time and space will be affected, it's up to him. Uchiha Mikoto and Uzumaki Kushina do not care about the future. They abandoned everything and followed Hyuga Shiratori to this unfamiliar era. Then their future will naturally be locked in Hyuga Shiratori. Shiratori-sama. Isn't this a bit too much? Terumi Mei looked around, surrounded by beauties of all kinds. Rao has always expressed obedience to her, and it is inevitable that she will feel angry in her heart. Since Shiratori-sama has accepted so much, don't care about adding me, right? Samui took the initiative to ask, a pair of turquoise eyes, staring at him with shining eyes. Cloud Shinobi Village has always advocated force. The stronger the strength, the better the status. Raikage must also be the strongest ninja in the village. However, right now, this is the strongest in the entire ninja world, and it can even be said to be the strongest ninja god in history. Sam Yi was adored in his heart? Hyuga Shiratori glanced at her. Blonde hair is a huge shame, fair skin, and beauty. Who doesn't like it? Okay, then you just follow me. Hyuga Shiratori was also unceremonious and gladly accepted Sam I's self-recommended pillow. Master Shiratori. Sam Yuxia flew both cheeks and threw into Hyuga Shiratori's arms with excitement. Duan. Let him clearly feel the impact of the forward armor. It's good, such a wonderful experience, but the heart will be unspeakable. Stare. For a while, all the women on the court cast their kind glances at him. Don't worry, I won't be partial, it's good for you all. Hyuga Shiratori responded to the girls with a smile. Not at all to persuade the women's sharper gaze. This unscrupulous expression is really annoying. If you give them a hatchet, I'm afraid they can't help but give him a knife, right? But Hyuga Shiratori expressed no fear. Anyway, his body is strong and his vitality is almost unlimited. There is no fear of the ending of the hatchet at all. Pleasant. In addition to pleasure, it is pleasure. At the end of the Naruto scroll, Shinigami Volume Kaiwa since a decisive battle with Atsutsuki. Hyuga Shiratori has lived a harem life without shame or irritation. Due to limited space and the seal of harmony god tier, it is inconvenient to describe in detail here. There is no eternal thing in the world, time can kill everything. However, for Hyuga Shiratori, he has already escaped the time limit. Swallowing chakra pill, you can gain the power of strange power and immortality. In other words, as long as there is enough pill, he can gain eternal life. In the long years, Hyuga Shiratori used the treasure plow to travel through time and space. While collecting chakra, I also encountered beauties of all ages. Hyuga Shiratori is very happy to earn harem. Without knowing it, Hokage's family stabbing was completed. That is to say, the entire Hokage original, as long as the beauty that can be called, Hyuga Shiratori has received it all. It even included going to the time and space of Boren Chuan, killing 7th Hokage Suzumaki Naruto, and then collecting Uchiha Zoruna and Uzumaki sunflowers. Specific process, omitted. This kind of life lasted about 1,000 years. Due to the continuous supply of chakra dan, the lifespan of Hyuga Shiratori is unlimited. Hyuga Shiratori still maintains a young and strong body. Time cannot kill his body, but it can destroy his spirit. To be precise, it is to eliminate his interest in life pleasure. It's been 1,000 years. Throughout the history of the entire ninja world, Hyuga Shiratori's footprints are left in every time and space. What should be done and what should not be done, have been done. To put it bluntly, Hyuga Shiratori has been tired of the dimension called Naruto. Explain in one sentence. In a world without pleasure, Hyuga Shiratori's heart is too lazy to beat. The boundary is a chaotic void. It belongs to the edge of the three realms of the present world, Soul Society, and Hueco Mundo. There are often lonely wild ghosts from the world or Hueco Mundo, and get lost here. There exists a kind of soul scavenger called Juto, who cleans up the lone souls that have been mixed into the realm at regular intervals. A strand of soul from the world of Naruto is floating in the chaotic boundary at this time. However, unlike the mutilated, thin and bleak lone souls around him, his spiritual body appeared exceptionally clear. Even his limbs and facial features can be seen clearly. This is clearly a living soul. This soul exudes an unusually strong Ryutsu. For the lifeless Dianja, it was like pouring a drop of water into the ink. The endless thick ink will instantly blacken him. In order to pursue the completeness of the spiritual body, the incomplete lone soul subconsciously rushed to the only living soul in this broken world. The distorted spirit body turned into a series of hideous faces, trying to bite him to absorb a little bit of anger. However, the latter is too powerful. Ryutsu, as hot as the sun. The remnant soul approached him like moths fighting a fire, but only ashes disappeared. Such an eye-catching fresh soul immediately attracted Jusu's attention. I saw that it was a giant worm. The body occupies the entire passage of the boundary, and in front of him was an eye emitting a yellow light, and his sight was firmly locked on the living soul in front of him. Like a high-speed train, with the power to crush everything, it slammed into him fiercely, and swallowed it, submerged in the body. Juto possesses an extremely large Ryutsu in his body. As long as the ordinary soul touches it, it will be digested instantly. But this time, Juto seemed to have eaten a small sun. Not only failed to digest this soul, but was unconsciously exuded by the latter, and the more powerful Ryutsu was shaken to pieces. Juto was eliminated, triggering a chain reaction across the entire boundary. There was a violent shock in the chaotic space. Countless cracks appeared in the boundary. Many lone souls took the opportunity to escape into the rift and escape. It also includes this living soul. Soul Society. An abnormal alert came from the Technology Development Bureau. What's going on? A Jin has 3 seats in the 12th Division and concurrently serves as the Deputy Director of the Technology Development Bureau. He looked at the Ryutsu detection display in front of him with horror. This extremely large Ryutsu is located in the boundary. Could it be that Vasto Lord of Hueco Mundo invaded? A Jin's face changed drastically. He noticed that the situation was serious and immediately ordered his subordinates to contact his superiors. Immediately inform Captain Kurotsuki Mayuri. No. This matter involves the safety of the entire S-Ling court, and should be reported to Captain Chief immediately. In this way, S-Ling Ting sounded a 7-level emergency alarm. Captain Godai 13, all have been called for a meeting? Headed by an old man who seemed to be holding a cane, from his squinted sharp eyes, he gave a sense of anger and courage. Captain Kurotsuki Mayuri, report information. Yamamoto Yuen Lu Ronjayo commanded blankly. The Super Captain Ryutsu was detected in the boundary, and the remains of Juto were also found. Kurotsuki Mayuri reports concisely. However, it was this simple statement that caused an uproar in the audience. Super Captain Ryutsu? How can this be? Broken Bee's face was shocked and authentic. Juto's remains, hey, isn't it a mistake? That thing, even us, is difficult to deal with. Kirako Shunsui changed his old lazy attitude, with a heavy expression on his face. Juto is a monster that devours souls. Once entangled, even the captain of Godai 13 can hardly escape. Travel disaster? This is really a headache. Ichimaru-jin squinted his eyes and involuntarily cast his gaze to a certain elegant man wearing black-rimmed glasses. He seriously suspects that it was an experiment conducted by someone. This is a very dangerous intruder, and we must treat it with caution. Shiba Ishind said solemnly. Who is the invader? Is it really a Minos Grande of the Vasto Lord class? Jushiro Yukitake expressed concern. No matter who it is, the fanatics who dare to set foot in Soul Society must be eliminated. Byakugan Kukaki has a cold expression on his face. What is the fault of the boundary and the disaster of the travel? In short, it is hacked to death, right? Zaraki Kenpeka scratched his head, with an expression of excitement on his face. Ano Hinaretsu remained silent. She was just a quiet beautiful woman. I suggest that the teams form a joint force to search for intruders together. Aizen Jiaohui Jujing made a pertinent suggestion. It's just that the faintly glowing black-rimmed glasses showed the slightest strangeness. Reconsideration. Tuan Kaname. Reconsideration. Village Seijin. Rukonga 78th District in Yazuri. Who I am. Where am I? What am I doing? Hyuga Shiratori opened his eyes. The silver-white eyes reveal the depth of time. It's just that his physical body, it should be said that it is a spiritual body, still maintains a young posture. Hyuga Shiratori. Hyuga Shiratori frowned slightly. He only remembers his own name and the memory of knowledge. I don't know anything else. Looking at the unfamiliar world and unfamiliar streets in front of me, instead of feeling confused, Hyuga Shiratori is excited about the unknown world. The corners of the mouth involuntarily formed a subtle arc. A new world, a pleasant unfolding. Pleasure is what he has always pursued. Even if he lost his memory, joy was still deeply carved into his soul. Hyuga Shiratori stretched his hand and pulled the hair on his forehead, feeling the unusual tingling sensation between his brows. As long as he tries to remember, his brain will tremble. It seemed that there was some kind of mysterious existence that prevented him from thinking. Hyuga Shiratori shook the palm of his hand and felt the pulsating power on his fingertips. That is a power called chakra. It is worth thinking about that. So far, he has not felt the slightest fear. This is interesting. Obviously, he came to this strange new world alone and lost his memory. According to normal logic, he should be full of fear of the unknown at this time. However, his heart is extremely calm. It seems to be. We are invincible ahead of us? So here comes the problem. How did he lose his memory when he was so arrogant? There is only one answer. Maybe this memory was sealed by myself. Hyuga Shiratori smiled slightly and made a bold guess. He was in the original world because he was too invincible. So I lost my pleasure, and my heart was too lazy to beat. As for how he came into this world, the specific process is unknown. He is also not interested in understanding. For him, the new world is a new beginning. Pursue new pleasures. After death, human beings in this world will be sent to the Soul Society through Shinigami's soul burial. The souls that come to the Soul Society will be uniformly distributed by the Soul Court to sort out the coupons, and they will be assigned to Rukanga in 80 regions in the east, south, west and north. The first district has plenty of food, a pleasant climate and a good living environment. The 80th district, the farthest, is where no grass grows, famine is everywhere, and everyone's souls are killing each other to determine who gets the right to survive. By analogy, as the number of area codes increases, the public security and living conditions in each district will decline and become worse. Rukanga, where Hyuga Shiratori is located, is in Uzuri in the 78th district. There is a shortage of food and materials here, and it is an area with an extremely harsh living environment. By the way, ordinary souls don't need to eat. Only need to take in the spirit child from the atmosphere, and a small amount of water, it is enough to survive. But for the souls who are born with higher spiritual power, it is not enough to absorb the souls in the atmosphere. It will also cause physical exhaustion due to hunger, and even more serious or even death. Hyuga Shiratori walked alone on a desolate street, looking at the surrounding environment with interest. There are small private houses on both sides of the road, and there are very few shops in the whole street. The rest of the light was swept away, and there were very few goods on the shop. And the one that sold the most was water. Sold one by one pot. This is no wonder, after all, for most souls, they don't need to eat. Water is their only necessity for survival. Smelly girl, stop for me. I saw that it was a very thin girl, holding a bottle of water bottle in both hands, and carrying a baby behind her back, struggling to escape. Behind her was a strong man with a wooden stick. The girl is not only weak, she also carries an oil bottle. He didn't run far before he was caught by the strong man. Oh, the girl fell and the kettle in her hand broke to the ground. But she still protected the baby behind her instinctively with both hands. Wow, the baby was frightened and cried hoarsely. Rukia, be good, it's okay. The girl first checked the baby in her arms nervously, and after confirming that the latter was not injured, she couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Find flowers. A sad smile appeared on his pale face. Snapped. With a wooden stick in his hand, the strong man stood in front of the girl like an iron tower, with a condescending look down, staring at her tightly. Smelly girl, dare to steal my uncle's water, how many times have you been? Yes. I'm sorry. The girl lowered her head and apologized. In order to survive, she has no other choice. Huh? The chakra of these two girls, oh no, it should be called Ryotsu here, much better than the others. Hyuga Shiratori just passed by, with a hint of curiosity in his eyes. The stronger the Ryotsu, the greater the need for spiritual power. 0. The girl in front of her has been hungry for a long time. I have to take care of my younger sisters. All that awaits them is death. Huh? My uncle will show you some color today. The brawny man was angry, raised the stick in his hand, and was about to smash the poor sisters mercilessly. Help, help, who will help us? The girl's helpless gaze cast her eyes everywhere. However, what responded to her was the indifference of others. In the ghost place of Inuzuri, there has never been a word of mercy. The girl closed her eyes in pain. At this time, she could only use all her strength to protect the baby in her arms. Waiting quietly, that fleshy punishment. Woo. Only the imaginary pain did not appear. The girl's eyebrows trembled, and she quietly opened one eye. She saw that the burly man's wielding wooden stick hovered less than a centimeter from her head. The latter seems to have become a statue, frozen in place rigidly. Duh. The sound of light footsteps came from behind. She turned her head subconsciously. What appeared in his sight was a young man with an elegant temperament. Although it looks very young, it has a sense of precipitation over the years. The most striking thing is his silver-white eyes. In the calm and indifferent sight, there seemed to be a mysterious power. Hyjin and Rukia. Sure enough, both of them possess high spiritual power. Hyuga Shiratori quietly looked at the little girl who had been rescued by him. He doesn't seem to be a kind-hearted person. When he first saw the two being bullied, his heart was indifferent. There is also no idea of rescue. Just walked by indifferently like a passerby. The reason for the shot is entirely based on the value of these two girls. Born that day possesses spiritual power that is different from ordinary people. Another important reason is, Hyuga Shiratori looked at them pleasingly. I always feel an inexplicable sense of familiarity. Don't get me wrong. He is not greedy. Sister S, twins, or something, he has no interest at all. The girl frowned tightly, as if she had dreamed of something bad. The immature face was full of haggard. Following the desires of the body, she should have had a good night's sleep. But mentally, he was always thinking about his young sister. For this, she had to wake up from her lethargy. Opening his eyes, I saw a pair of pure amethyst eyes. What? The first thing I saw was the stranger in front of me. You're awake. Hyuga Shiratori greeted the opponent calmly. Thanks, thanks. The girl blinked her eyes, relying only on the memory of her coma before going to bed. She can confirm that the person in front of her rescued her. Then she turned her gaze to the sleeping baby beside her and breathed a sigh of relief. She stood up on tiptoe, her body was so weak that she could not stand still and swayed a bit. Then toward Hyuga Shiratori, made a standard dirt kneel. The little girl is very grateful to the adult for his rescue, dare to ask the adult's name. The girl seemed to have received a good education before she was alive. Although she was young, she was dignified and decent in her words and deeds. It's just that the speech is a bit ancient, unlike a modern person. Hyuga Shiratori, don't be so anxious to thank me, I have a purpose in saving you, Hyuga Shiratori said bluntly. Hearing that, instead of feeling scared, the girl was sure of her heart. There is no free lunch in the world. She was afraid that the other party would only save it on a whim, and then she let go. It is absolutely impossible for her to live in Inuzuri alone with her young sister. On the contrary, as long as they have the value of being used, they will not be easily abandoned by Hyuga Shiratori. So you can live in this harsh Inuzuri district. Shiratori, Master Shiratori, as long as you can keep us alive, the little girl is willing to be a slave. Hyuga Shiratori nodded silently, accepting the other's servant's will. It just so happened that he came to this world for the first time and took a servant to serve him. That would be great. Well, from today, you will follow me. Let's briefly introduce yourself. The girl straightened up and assumed a standard sitting position. After a pause, I organized the language, and then elaborated. The girl's name is Hyuga. Born in a samurai family during his lifetime, he rarely had the opportunity to read and read. It's a pity that the Hyuga family was slaughtered by a group of blonde and blue-eyed foreigners armed with firearms when they suffered a war. It also includes his younger sister Rukia, who was just born. Because the two of them were born with high spiritual powers, their souls remained in the world after death. Later, I met Shinigami, and after a soul burial, he was sent to the Soul Society. Hyuga, Rukia. Hyuga Shiratori's eyes moved slightly. It always feels like he knows these two names faintly. But because the memory was sealed, he could not obtain the information of the original plot. And many more. What is the plot of this original novel? Oh, I understand. Did you block spoilers for pleasure? Tut tut tut. I am really a funny guy. Hyuga Shiratori spit out himself fiercely. Entrance of Inuzuri block. Ushered in a group of uninvited guests. Dirty place. Byakugan looked at the dirty, messy, and humble neighborhoods in front of him, and his cold face was unabashedly disgusting. Just the silver-white windan white gauze neckerchief on his body, the high price is enough to buy the entire land in Inuzuri? Hehe really? I really miss it. Zaraki Kenpeki grinned. He was born in Zaraki, Rukonga's 80th district, and his living environment is a bit worse than Inuzuri. Although he has now stationed in Eslingting, he has become the leader of the 11th Division team. But he retains an unruly nature. He doesn't dislike Rukonga, but enjoys the days when there are no rules to fight at will. Humph. Byakugan snorted coldly and glanced at him indifferently. Captain Zaraki, commanded by the captain, the investigation of this block is under the supervision of our 6th Division. Junranen in the 1st District is the investigation area of your 11th Division. Huh? The 1st District? That kind of comfortable place is not suitable for me. If you want to remember your hometown, go to Zaraki District. Yes, I used to be Zaraki, but now I'm lost. Byakugan was speechless. Kukaki, one of the 5 ancient nobles born in Eslingting, was the son of nobles. Zaraki Kenpeki, who is born with a humble status and is full of market enthusiasm, is very wrong. Although the two are colleagues, the arrogant Byakugan has always disdained to communicate with Zaraki Kenpeki. Cut, you guys are so boring. Zaraki Kenpeki murmured. He also consciously didn't have a common language with the other party. Ready to have fun on your own. Hey, where are you from the travel disaster that invaded Soul Society? I heard that you have a very strong Ryotsu, but my uncle is very interested. Dare to come out and fight with my uncle. As Zaraki Kenpeki walked, he unscrupulously released his terrifying Ryotsu. The violent fluctuation of Ryotsu almost covered the entire Inuzuri district. Some people with low spiritual power were foamed on the spot. The method of the beast. Byakugan despised the other person blankly. But it just so happens that he can save trouble. The nobility of the nobility, Ryotsu, the untouchables don't even have the qualifications to feel. Zaraki Kenpeki, Byakugan, Ryotsu's fluctuations are silent coercion? What? Fei Zhen fell to the ground with a snap, his pale face full of pain. Wow. The baby who was sleeping next to him also started to cry. Oh, is this how spiritual power is used? It's completely different from chakra. Hyuga Shiratori's face was calm, as if he hadn't been affected at all. Chakra is essentially the body energy that is taken in from the 130 trillion cells in the human body, one by one, plus the spiritual energy that has been exercised through many practices and accumulated experience. Hyuga Shiratori is now in an astral state, without a physical body in the biological sense. In principle, there is no chakra. But he mastered the power of yin and yang, but he was able to retain a little chakra in his astral state. P.S. Refer to Sage of Six Paths in the Soul State, bestowing the power of Yin and Yang to Sasuke Naruto, and Obito in the Soul State giving Kakashi Mangekyo Sharingan. Although he is now, there is only a little chakra left. However, Shinigami Ryutsu, who is not a district captain, can suppress him. Slap 17. Hyuga Shiratori snapped his fingers, using chakra to imitate Ryutsu release, offsetting Ryutsu from Zaraki Kenpeki. Fei Zhen only felt the pressure relieved, so he could ease his breath. He hugged Rukia who was crying and thanked Hyuga Shiratori at the same time. Thank you Shiratori-sama for sheltering. Well, you are my people, of course I will ensure your safety. Hyuga Shiratori responded casually, then narrowed the silver eyes and looked into the distance. Byakugan? Somewhere 5 kilometers away, a giant man with a hedgehog's head, grinning like a beast, is walking quickly in his direction. I feel it. This extraordinary Ryutsu. Zaraki Kenpeki laughed wildly, his heart thirsty for war, suddenly excited. What? A look of astonishment appeared on Byakuya Kukaki's face. He really didn't expect that the opponent's brutal behavior would unexpectedly catch the target. Wow. Zaraki Kenpeki took a quick step without saying a word, and ran in the direction that Ryutsu came out of. Since he is a serious road idiot, he is afraid of losing his way. So I rushed forward, and when I encountered the wall, I slammed through it. Bang, bang, bang. I saw him hit through several houses in succession. Sure enough, it's a beast. Byakuya Kukaki was speechless again, but still followed because of the task. Da-da-da. The heavy footsteps sounded like a fierce beast. Master Shiratori. Hyuga hugged the baby and hid behind Hyuga Shiratori in fear. Boom. After breaking through the last wall, Zaraki Kenpeki's aggressive figure came to Hyuga Shiratori. Hehe. Zaraki Kenpeki stared at him scorchingly. Hyuga Shiratori also looked at her with interest. Hey, boy, are you the catastrophe that invaded Soul Society? Zaraki Kenpeki asked. Yes, so what? Not so. Hyuga Shiratori responded calmly. Not very good, anyway, no matter who it is, just fight for it. Zaraki Kenpeki does not take Godai 13's mission to heart. It's his mother's responsibility to catch the catastrophe or something. He just needs to fight. Come on then. Hyuga Shiratori did not back down and met the opponent's war-conscious gaze. For him, he is indeed interested in learning about Shinigami in this world. The most direct way is to fight. Haha, good fellow, it's been a long time since I met someone who dared to meet this uncle's challenge. The smile on Zaraki Kenpeki's face was thicker, and he looked at him. It was found that the latter was dressed in plain clothes without any weapons. He turned his head suddenly, and said to Byakuya Kukaki who was following him. Hey, Kukaki, lend him your Zanpakuto. What are you talking about? My dignified Kukaki patriarch, you want me to lend Zanpakuto, who represents Shinigami's glory, to a travel disaster. Byakuya Kukaki glared at him and burst into anger. Then you lend me, and let him use my knife. Zaraki Kenpeki said solemnly. Zaraki, are you provoking me? Byakuya Kukaki has blue veins on his forehead and he is about to break out. However, when he fell on a delicate girl beside Hyuga Shiratori, he was shocked. That is, how does it feel? Why does my heart beat so fast? Woo. Fei Jin was taken aback by the opponent's stare, and quickly shrank his head behind Hyuga Shiratori. Hui Zhen, don't be afraid. Hyuga Shiratori gently stroked the girl's little head, looking at Byakuya Kukaki who was dazed. The corners of his mouth raised, revealing a pleasant smile. Although I don't know why, in short, he is very happy now. There is an illusion made by the husband. Byakuya Kukaki only felt a pain in his heart, and a complex emotion that had never been seen before came to his heart. What's wrong with me? Jealous? Jealous? Impossible? This is absolutely impossible. Byakuya Kukaki clenched his fists involuntarily with both hands. But in order to maintain the decency of the nobility, he still forcibly collapsed his expression, not letting himself behave badly. Hey, you guy, ask you something? What is the little girl doing stealthily? Zaraki Kenpeki said with a dissatisfaction. He is upright by nature, and he says what he sees. Zaraki, you shut up. Byakuya Kukaki's face was rarely flushed, which meant that he became angry from embarrassment. Hey, the nobleman has such a bad temper. Zaraki Kenpeki saw that he couldn't borrow his sword, and he was suddenly lonely. Although he is fond of fighting, he is not interested in fighting an opponent who has no weapons. Don't be so troublesome, just attack it. My hands are the best weapons. Hyuga Shiratori beckoned to the opponent. What? Zaraki Kenpeki was taken aback for a moment, and his face became excited again. Interesting? Really interesting? You are the first to challenge me. Zaraki Kenpeki empty-handed. Confirmed the other person's eyes again and again, not after joking. Zaraki Kenpeki nodded suddenly and pulled out Zanpakuto from his waist. He is not the one who grinds, since the other party said it's okay, just start the chat. Hyuga Shiratori vs Zaraki Kenpeki? Fei Zhen, step back a bit later, I'll solve it right away. Hyuga Shiratori ordered. Master Shiratori. Hyuga gave him a worried look, and then looked at the two Shinigami in front of him again. Intuition tells her that these two Shinigami are definitely waiting for their leisure. It's just that she is weak and can't do anything. The only thing she can do now is to obey Hyuga Shiratori's words obediently. Hehe, are you ready? My Zanpakuto is already hungry and thirsty. Zaraki Kenpeki grinned wildly. I didn't tell you to wait. Hyuga Shiratori was as casual as before, with his hands flat, and he didn't put on a fighting posture. Then I'll go. Zaraki Kenpeki stopped talking nonsense. He pulled out his sword and rushed towards Hyuga Shiratori like a beast, full of murderous intent. It's a big opening and closing. Hyuga Shiratori's figure was lightly to one side, and 2 fingers stretched out to flick the blade. Ding! A crisp humming sound. Zanpakuto of Zaraki Kenpeki was forcibly changed the trajectory of his slashing, and turned to one side. This guy, Byakugan narrowed his eyes while watching, secretly said in my heart, what an exquisite white hits. Shinigami's 4 basic abilities, Cut Fist and Go Ghost. The boxing is white hits, which can also be called physical skill. Interesting. Zaraki Kenpeki stabbed with a knife. Ding. He was pushed aside by Hyuga Shiratori again. Byakugan firmly locked Zaraki Kenpeki's whole body. Gentle fist fought truth. 2 palms, 4 palms, 8 palms, 16 palms, 32 palms, 8 trigrams 64 palms. Zaraki Kenpeki's body was hit by a series of cloud-flowing palm streaks. A hem attack of this level. Wow. Zaraki Kenpeki thinks he can resist Hyuga Shiratori's physique combo with his strong physique. Unexpectedly, he was beaten up by a face-to-face to vomit blood. What's going on? Wow. Before Zaraki Kenpeki said a word, he vomited blood again. Looked down at the injuries on his body. Except for some bruises, there were no obvious wounds in the figure. Then why does he vomit blood? The internal organs are damaged, you'd better not move it. Hyuga Shiratori gave advice. Gentle fist has never been a physical technique to create trauma, but an attack on internal organs? You are careless, Captain Zaraki. Byakugan's expression became serious, and at the same time he put away his contemptuous gaze. No, don't get involved. Kukaki, cough cough. Zaraki Kenpeki blocked the attempt to join the battle with one hand. Byakugan said coldly, this is my prey. You are seriously injured. Byakugan is cold on the surface, but in fact he is also a responsible person. Although he is not friendly with each other personally, as a colleague of Godai 13, he will not stand idly by. Huh? What are you kidding? Since it's a fight, isn't it natural to be injured? Although Zaraki Kenpeki's face was a little pale, the fighting spirit in his eyes had not diminished. On the contrary, he had become more excited. Come again. Having said that, Zaraki Kenpeki once again raised his knife and rushed towards Hyuga Shiratori. Soft step double lion boxing. Hyuga Shiratori waved and used Gentle Fist's chakra to transform into a lion head form. Crack. The lion head bit Zaraki Kenpeki's Zanpakuto? Huh? This is, what Kido? Zaraki Kenpeki stared. Puff. The lion head on the other hand bit Zaraki Kenpeki's arm in one bite. With Zaraki Kenpeki's warlike character, he doesn't care about his injuries. But Gentle Fist taught him to be a man again? Huh? The left arm suddenly loses strength. I saw Zaraki Kenpeki's arm drooping weakly. Has the spiritual power on the arm been cut off? Byakugan frowned. Huh? With only one hand left, I can still fight again. Zaraki Kenpeki gripped Zanpakuto with his right hand, released the powerful Ryutsu, and shattered the lion's head. Ding! Hyuga Shiratori put his hands together and clamped the Zanpakuto that the opponent had cut. Drink. Zaraki Kenpeki comes and goes with the 3 axes, with the powerful Ryutsu, plus the natural killing swordsmanship. Fighting power is also among the best in Godai 13. Lightning style rakery. Hyuga Shiratori released thunder and lightning from the palms of both hands, and carried the lightning power continuously to Zaraki Kenpeki's whole body along the blade. Zai. I saw that the latter was electrified and his whole body smoked and his muscles cramped. The air was also filled with a disgusting smell of scorching. But even so, Zaraki Kenpeki's grip on Zanpakuto's palm still did not loosen. Ha 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 ha, what you want is this kind of fighting. Zaraki Kenpeki pulled out the blade hard. After Hyuga Shiratori is released, it immediately manipulates the shape change. Condensed a thunder and lightning sword in his hand. Boom. The 2 swords collided, accompanied by thunder and lightning. This is thunder. Is it Kido? Byakugan was surprised at once. Kido is an advanced spell that Shinigami has mastered. How did the opponent learn it during a journey? Zizzy. Thunder roar? Every time a sword collides, Zaraki Kenpeki will suffer additional lightning damage. In a blink of an eye, I saw that his whole body was covered with stab wounds and electric wounds, dripping with blood. At the same time, Zaraki Kenpeki's Ryutsu is rising unconsciously. Happy? If it were you, you should be able to bear my strength, right? Zaraki Kenpeki took off the blindfold from his right eye. It is a prop from the Technology Development Bureau, which can be used to suppress its own Ryutsu. Because Zaraki Kenpeki is eager to fight, most of his opponents will be beheaded. So in order to enjoy the battle as much as possible, he consciously suppressed his power. I saw that Zaraki Kenpeki released the golden-yellow Ryutsu visible to the naked eye all over his body. The high concentration of Ryutsu produced a blazing high temperature. Boom. The lightning style in Hyuga Shiratori's hand was slashed by the opponent. Is this the strength of the captain class? Hyuga Shiratori looked at the cut in his wrist. Then, let me show off a little bit of my true ability too. I saw Hyuga Shiratori's silver-white eyes transformed into scarlet 3-hook jade, and then twisted into a mysterious pattern. Mangekyo Sharinon. Huh? Your eyes seem to be different? But, just cut it over. Zaraki Kenpeki doesn't have any fancy moves, just flat cut, flat cut, flat cut. Susanoo. Next to Hyuga Shiratori, a blue skeleton was condensed. Boom. With strong defensive capabilities, it blocked Zaraki Kenpeki's Zanpakuto attack. This abnormal Ryutsu. Byakugan Kukaki's eyes narrowed slightly. What the hell? Zaraki Kenpeki opened his eyes wide and couldn't understand. Haha. The skeleton opened his hands and turned into two curved long swords. Hey, hey. The long swords crossed and slashed, pressing Zaraki Kenpeki on one knee. Interesting. The palm of Zaraki Kenpeki's knife holding the knife was shaken, and blood was spattered. Boom. Like an unyielding beast, he stood up again forcibly, swung his knife and bounced off Susanoo's long sword. The two again fought fiercely. Crack, click, click, click. Susanoo of Hyuga Shiratori was chopped and cracked. Puff, 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 puff. Zaraki Kenpeki was chopped bloody, and the wounds were getting more and more. However, as his injuries increased, his momentum did not decrease but increased. Ryutsu seems to rise endlessly. Surprising, I didn't expect it to be so resistant. In Hyuga Shiratori's calm eyes, surprise flashed somewhat. Boom. Zaraki Kenpeki stepped forward again, slashing Susanoo's double swords, and also split the chakra skeleton. Hey, you fellow, it's almost time to come out. Zaraki Kenpeki has a hideous face, and a huge murderous look takes over his sanity. Let's stop here. Hyuga Shiratori's binocular Mangekyo Sherinon must have used his pupil power to create several blue goose jade in Susanoo's hand. The Guyu of Yasaka. Boom, boom, puff 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 puff. Zaraki Kenpeki swung a knife and flicked one Gujiya, and then was smashed by the second Gujiya, Zanpakuto, and the remaining four Gujiyas were hit hard on the body. Flesh and flesh fly, bones torn apart. Zaraki Kenpeki's body was shot and flew out 100 meters away and fell into a pool of blood. Damn it. The bones are all broken, I can't enjoy the fight anymore. Zaraki Kenpeki wanted to struggle to stand up, but his legs and knees were smashed, and he couldn't get up. Okay, so awesome. Fei Zhen looked stunned from behind. As far as she knows, Shinigami, the captain, is the leader of the Soul Society. Hyuga Shiratori was able to knock it to the ground, which is enough to prove that this is a reliable thigh. Master Shiratori. Hyjin looked at the latter with admiration. Well, my battle is over. Although you want to say that, you shouldn't stop there, right? Another captain watching the show. Hyuga Shiratori turned his attention to Byakugan Kukaki, who was watching the battle. One-on-one is a noble duel etiquette. I will not intervene in Captain Zaraki's battle of honor, but now he has been defeated. As the captain of the 6th Division, I have the responsibility to eliminate the disaster. Byakugan Kukaki said righteously and pulled out Zanpakuto from his waist. Oh, whatever, I don't think you are much better than that big guy, right? Hyuga Shiratori looked casually. Spread it, Senbonzakura. Byakugan Kukaki knew that the other party was great and liberated Zanpakuto as soon as he came up. I saw the knife in his hand, the knife body turned into countless fragments and scattered, under the reflection of sunlight, like countless sakura petals dancing. But it also contains murderous in splendor? Oh, is that the so-called Zanpakuto Shikai? Hyuga Shiratori watched the opponent curiously. He has the knowledge of Zanpakuto and Shikai, but he has no information about Byakugan Kukaki. Crack, click, click, click. The sharp blade cuts Susanoo crazily. Due to the previous battle with Zaraki Kenpeki, it has been chopped and cracked by the opponent. So this time, it was quickly cut by Senbonzakura's blade. Revolving heaven. Hyuga Shiratori released a 360-degree chakra barrier all over his body and bounced the approaching blade. Wow, Shunpo? Byakugan Kukaki was much faster than Zaraki Kenpeki, and came to him in an instant. Raising his hand flatly, a strong explosive shock wave was instantly released from the palm of his hand. 33 of Heido, Kanghuo Fall. Raise non. Hyuga Shiratori greeted him with his bare hands, and a chakra ball of light instantly condensed in his hand. Boom. The explosion of the falling fire and Rinnegan's shock, the two collided head-on. The huge impact caused the two to retreat a few steps. Byakugan Kukaki frowned, and his wrist was hurt by Rinnegan's impact. Hyuga Shiratori was unscathed and stepped forward. Zi. Lightning style instant? So fast. Byakugan Kukaki hurriedly flicked the handle of the knife, manipulating Senbonzakura's blades at extreme speed, gathered behind him. Heavy current violence. Hyuga Shiratori used a lightning-style ninjutsu, and the violent elbow hit suddenly through Senbonzakura's blade defense. Boom. Byakugan Kukaki received the blow in the back and was beaten out. Cough. With a bite of blood at the corner of his mouth, Byakugan Kukaki resisted the sharp pain in his back, turned and waved. Heido number 63 Fiery Lightning Howl. Powerful Thunder Bombardment? Lateral Bolt of Pain, Chop. Hyuga Shiratori used the profound meaning of lightning-style ninjutsu, gathered a lot of lightning-style power, and attached it to this hand knife. With one hand abruptly split open the incoming thunder bombardment. This guy actually broke up my senior Heido with his bare hands. Byakugan Kukaki's face changed, and he once again realized the strength of the opponent. With the palm of his hand, Senbonzakura's scattered blades regrouped into the blade. Great travel disaster, I admit your strength. For this, I will also bet on the name of Kukaki and go all out. I saw Byakugan Kukaki put down Zanpakuto in his hand. Senbonzakura's blade is facing downwards, fully blending into the ground. Then from the ground, countless huge blades grew out in a row. D-solution Senbonzakura Keijoshi. You are not my opponent. 2 rows of huge blades form a murderous array of blades. Under the reflection of the sun, there is a terrifying cold light. However, a more magnificent unfolding is yet to come. I saw all the blades in front of me, all split into countless dense hemp-thin blades. Under the reflection of sunlight, it is like countless sakura petals dancing. Hey, Kukiki, you guy, don't snatch people's prey. Zaraki Kenpeki yelled with an uncomfortable expression, but it was a pity that he had lost the ability to move. Sizzle. Sakura petals fluttering in the sky, passing by a nearby house, were instantly cut to pieces by a sharp blade. This shows that under this beautiful sakura flower, there is a terrible edge. Lightning style chakra mode. Hyuga Shiratori uses lightning style to activate the whole body. Both speed and defense have been greatly improved. Byakugan Kukiki's eyes locked on Hyuga Shiratori's body, and his mind controlled the countless sakura petals to scrape towards the ladder. Zi. The figure of Hyuga Shiratori flashed as an electric light. There is nothing that Senbonzakura Keijoshi can't grasp without me. Byakugan Kukiki waved his hands, which greatly increased his control over Senbonzakura Keijoshi. Whhhhhh. Numerous sakura petals formed a dense wave in the air, surrounding Hyuga Shiratori from all sides. Zizi. Between the sparks and flints, Hyuga Shiratori rushed out of the sakura flower sea. I came to the top of Byakugan Kukiki's head in an instant. I saw him holding a foot high and stepping down heavily. Guillotine drop. Boom. I saw a sakura flower fountain gushing from the ground, hitting Hyuga Shiratori in the front. Sizzle 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 sizzle. Countless sharp blades were cutting Hyuga Shiratori's body fiercely, making a sharp and piercing sound. Zi. Hyuga Shiratori flashed and rushed out of the sakura flower. The whole body was covered with small wounds of cut skin, which looked terrible. But in fact, they were all just skin traumas, and they didn't hurt the vitals. Wrap the whole body with thunder and lightning, forming a defensive armor. Byakugan Kukiki looked serious, and once again realized the strength of the opponent. With both hands out, you can control the huge sakura flower sea. What a troublesome guy. Hyuga Shiratori lifted the lightning-style chakra mode, and with a wave of his hand, he first released a raise non, and then quickly injected the power of wind style into it, and the shape changed to form the shape of the wind demon shuriken. Wind style spiral shuriken. Byakugan Kukiki manipulates the sakura flowers to close together, forming a tight spherical surrounding Hyuga Shiratori. Senbonzakura Keijoshi. This is to wrap the enemy with Senbonzakura Keijoshi's billions of blades, all in a ball shape, and cut the opponent to pieces from all directions without dead ends. OM. A storm formed by countless sharp wind blades, and a storm formed by countless sakura flowers. The two surrounded and cut each other, making a deafening clang. That guy can still. Byakugan Kukiki's face changed drastically, and he suddenly felt a danger rushing toward his face, and he moved his body subconsciously. Lan Dunli Zhao Shuo Hisu. Shu, hu. A series of dozens of laser beams hit Byakugan Kukiki's side. Several of them penetrated his arms and bruised his lower abdomen and thighs. Puff chuff. With the blood scattered all over the place, Byakugan Kukiki hurriedly used Shunpo to retreat. You are not my opponent either. Hyuga Shiratori's voice came from behind the opponent. Byakugan Kukiki quickly mobilized Senbonzakura Keijoshi back to defense. Late. Hyuga Shiratori held the palm of his hand and raised chakra to the boiling point in one breath. This is the ability that belongs to Five Tails. Boil-style weird power. Boom. With the impact of the scorching air wave, this punch instantly scattered countless sakura petals. Senbonzakura Keijoshi cancelled most of the impact, but some of it penetrated the defense and landed on Byakugan Kukiki. Ahem. Byakugan Kukiki was beaten to vomit blood. Through the battle, Hyuga Shiratori gradually recalled how to use more power. Hyuga Shiratori uses lava style to follow the limits. Lava style scorching river rock technique. Several extremely hot magma balls were spit out from the mouth. Peep 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 peep. Byakugan Kukiki controlled Senbonzakura Keijoshi, surrounded the magma ball, and instantly cut it into pieces. Find flowers. However, this is just Hyuga Shiratori's feint. Immediately afterwards, a golden nine tails chakra mode emerged on his body. Wow, golden glitter speed. He also held a grey-green spiral shuriken in his hand. This is the power injected into Lava Style's blood and bounds. Lava Style Spiral Shuriken. The 81 of Bakudo Splitting Void. Byakugan Kukiki didn't dare to be careless, and directly resorted to his most defensive move, Kido. A transparent high-strength Ryotsu shield wall was instantly summoned in front of him. Ba 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 ba. The spiral storm tears the Ryotsu shield frantically, and at the same time, the attributes of Lava Style have a strong corrosive effect. I saw a lot of cracks in the Ryotsu shield wall. Impossible? This is the ultimate defense that can withstand Heido below number 89. Byakugan Kukiki was shocked. The thrilling battle made him forget the arrogance of being a noble son. Because this is a fierce battle where you will be killed on the spot if you are not careful. Inferno-style flame control. Hyuga Shiratori waved a black flame blade and pierced the already broken Ryotsu shield wall. Boom. He took off and kicked Byakugan Kukiki hard in the face. What? Byakugan Kukiki was knocked to the ground. His original handsome face was kicked and his face was bruised and swollen. A big footprint was left on his cheek, and he looked very embarrassed. With a tenacious will, Byakugan stood up again immediately. The cold eyes revealed a deep anger. Jianjing Senbonzakura Keijoshi. This is to reassemble the countless sakura petals floating in the sky into the shape of a handful of Zanpakuto. Hundreds of Zanpakuto, standing side by side, formed a tight barrier. In the enchantment of Jianjing, Byakugan's attack power will be increased several times. This looks spectacular. Hyuga Shiratori was expressionless, facing the sharp blades that stood in the surrounding area. There was not even the slightest sway on his face. Sorry, I'm tired, I'm not interested in playing with you. Next, let's use one trick to kill you. Mangekyo Sharinon monthly reading? The abundance of swords formed a murderous enchantment? Hehe, it seems very interesting. I have never seen a solution like yours, Kukaki. Zaraki Kenpeki shouted excitedly. Jijing Senbonzakura Keijoshi, once he has the will to annihilate the enemy, he can only use it. Byakugan said coldly. Raising his hand, I saw one of the swords side by side flew out and landed on his hand. Although I only took one, in this knife, there were thousands of Zanpakuto's Ryatsu. Master Shiratori. Hyjin looked at him worriedly. In this enchantment, she felt a terrible killing intent, as if she was in hell. Don't worry, my knife will only kill 127 enemies, and won't hurt the innocent. Byakugan took a deep look at Hyjin's direction. Do not know why. He didn't want to hurt that girl. Logically speaking, he was born noble, he would not care about the life and death of the Rukanga untouchables. But, I always feel that girl is different. Hehe, I think you think too much. Hyuga Shiratori smiled lightly, his calm eyes, as if there had never been a wave. Do not. To be precise, he has never put Byakugan in his eyes. Arrogant. If it's provocative, you did it. Byakugan holds a knife in both hands, with murderous in his eyes. It is the first person who dares to despise him like this. I said I'm tired. Hyuga Shiratori repeated the words just now. Kill. Byakugan took a deep breath and concentrated on manipulating Jianjing. Hundreds of Zanpakuto's Ryatsu were all concentrated on him. In this state, his single body lethality can reach a tenfold increase. Wow. Shunpo? With extreme speed, Byakugan charged towards Hyuga Shiratori. In this regard, the latter has not moved, as if quietly waiting for the opponent's charge. And he didn't do any defensive actions, just stood there. His eyes fixed on Byakugan. Just watch it. Mangekyo Sharinon monthly reading? The sudden burst of pupil power, like two transparent rays of light, along the path of the line of sight, shot into Byakugan's eyes. Certainly, with Byakugan slashing with the power of annihilation, the blade hovered in front of Hyuga Shiratori's neck. Move. Can't move anymore. Byakugan's limbs were stiff and unable to move. The vision in front of him began to appear distorted. In a blink of an eye, he was in a spiritual world of black and white. The sunset glow in the sky is blood red. And he himself was tied to a cross. What? What is this? Byakugan's eyes were wide open. In the world of monthly reading, no matter it is time, quality, or space, I control it. Hyuga Shiratori held a long sword and stabbed Byakugan's stomach blankly. Puff chuff. The blood spattered and the heart-piercing pain from the wound caused Byakugan's breathing to stagnate. However, his tenacious will made him hold back the pain and fixed his eyes on Hyuga Shiratori. In the world of monthly reading, no matter it is time, quality, or space, I control it. I saw a figure of Hyuga Shiratori, who was pierced into his chest by the sword. This level of pain is nothing at all. Byakugan's forehead was cold and sweaty, but he still supported it. In the world of monthly reading, no matter it is time, quality, or space, I control it. The figures of 4 Hyuga Shiratori pierced his body with swords from various directions. Byakugan couldn't help but let out a painful cry, but he still gritted his teeth and yelled, use this deceptive trick, don't try to beat me. Whhhhhh. I saw the figure of Byakugan, turned into dozens of chains tied to the cross. Hyuga Shiratori became hundreds of deo, each of which surrounded Byakugan's figure. In the world of monthly reading, no matter it is time, quality, or space, I control it. The repeated words, like a vicious curse, caused a great psychological shock to Byakugan. I will never. Countless long swords pierced into Byakugan's body from all directions. Although there are dozens of them in the body, the senses of pain are the same. This means that Byakugan is suffering from the pain of 1,000 swords in the true sense at this time. Hello? Kukaki, what are you doing? Zaraki Kenpeki looked dumbfounded. In the real world, everyone only saw Byakugan rushing towards Hyuga Shiratori with a knife. Then I don't know why, but stopped in front of the opponent, and then became motionless like a wooden man. In the end, without knowing what nerves he made, suddenly his face was distorted, and he uttered a tragic wailing. For the next 72 hours, I will continue to stab you with a sword. Hyuga Shiratori said blankly. Ho 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 ho. Byakugan gasped with big mouths, and saw that he was calm. His eyes became firm all of a sudden. It's just 3 days and 3 nights, don't underestimate people. It's really hard? Hyuga Shiratori expressed admiration, and then really stabbed the opponent with a sword for 3 days and 3 nights. Yes, I won. Byakugan's face was as pale as paper, his eyes were bloodshot, and his expression was extremely hideous. Pouch. Hyuga Shiratori thrust a sword into the opponent's chest again. There are 71 hours, 59 minutes, and 50 seconds left. Varied. Byakugan was stunned. There was a sense of a huge gap that he tried his best to reach the end, but was told that it was just the first step to the starting point. A noble birth and a tenacious willpower. Byakugan abruptly withstood the blade devastation for 3 days and 3 nights. But now he is telling him that these 3 days and 3 nights are only a second? In the world of monthly reading, no matter time, quality, or space, I control it. Hyuga Shiratori continued to poke the opponent while repeating this line. Repeater blow? Byakugan's determined gaze finally dimmed. No matter how strong the will is, it can't withstand this endless torture. Sling shakes again? Oh ah 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 ah. Byakugan let out a screaming howl. What's the matter? How bad is it? Zaraki Kenpeki looked at the latter with a weird look. In his impression, only a few seconds passed. Byakugan wailed like crazy. It makes you seem to have been cut by thousands of swords. As for Hyuga Shiratori withdrew from the world of moon reading and relieved Mangekyo Sharinon from both eyes. Puff. I saw Byakugan rolled his eyes and foamed at the mouth, as if he was broken by playing. 4 limbs knelt on the ground limp. With his mental breakdown, the dissolution could not be maintained. The magnificent annihilation barriers that lined all around eventually turned into countless sakura flowers scattered around. The enchantment shattered. 1. Fei Zhen had an incredible face. Shinigami is aloft, and he is also the captain of Godai 13. Both of them were defeated by Hyuga Shiratori, especially the miserable appearance of Byakugan. Originally as a noble son, his handsome facial features have become indescribable. Master Shiratori, so handsome. Fei Zhen focused his adoring gaze on Hyuga Shiratori. The young and ignorant girl naturally admires the victor with a glorious image. However, Hyuga Shiratori did not feel much satisfaction about defeating Zaraki Kenpeki and Byakugan. He shook his palm and murmured, "Is this my current strength? There is no real feeling. I always feel that I am less than 1/10 of my heyday." Hyuga Shiratori thoughtfully. It's a pity that the memory is sealed, and he doesn't know his true strength. After a while, I saw a bald-headed Shinigami and a sissy Shinigami, rushing over eagerly. Captain Zaraki. Hey, who beat the captain like this? Wait, even Captain Kukaki from the 6th Division. The visitors were Madara Meikeko with 3 seats in the 11th Division and Ayasukawa Yumichika with 5 seats. The 2 men looked like a ghost, looking at Zaraki Kenpeki and Byakugan who had fallen in a pool of blood. You know that these 2 are the captains of Godai 13, and they are at the top of Shinigami. Is it you guy? Madara Meikeko locked onto Hyuga Shiratori with an unhappy expression. This guy. Ayasukawa Yumichika picked up Zanpakuto with a heavy face. Stop. One corner. Vow kiss. Stop doing this kind of suicidal stupid thing. Zaraki Kenpeki shouted with blood. But, Captain. Madara Meikeko's face was full of unwillingness. Listen to the captain's words, that is not an opponent we can deal with. Ayasukawa Yumichika still has a bit of IQ, knowing who can't afford it. Let's go, Fei Zhen. Just as the other party thought, Hyuga Shiratori didn't even look straight at the 2 who appeared afterwards. He stretched out his hand to hold Fei Zhen, and left without anyone else. Madara Meikeko squeezed Zanpakuto tightly, his eyes locked tightly on the other's back. But because of fear, he was still unable to draw his sword. He couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief until he watched the other person leave. After realizing his cowardice, Madara Meikeko slapped himself severely. Damn it. Is this the travel disaster that crossed the boundary? It's even more terrifying than in the intelligence. Ayasukawa Yumichika stretched out his hand to fracture his whole body, and Zaraki Kenpeki, who was unable to move, helped him up. To be honest, this embarrassing look of Captain Kukaki, this is the first time I have seen you. Madara Meikeko looked at Byakugan with a strange face, his eyes turned white and the foaming mouth of Byakugan. This posture of being played badly. It is unimaginable. What has he experienced? Out of Godai 13 colleagues, Madara Meikeko carried the latter. Let's go back to S-Lingting first, and bring the information back. This is no longer something we can handle. The crusade failed. Zaraki Kenpeki, Byakugan, the 2 captains of Godai 13 were defeated. This news shocked the entire S-Lingting. Yamamoto Yuen Lu Ranjayo immediately raised the alert level to the highest level and ordered a meeting with all the captains of Godai 13 again. Hehe, I said that the target has Super Captain Riot, so you still don't believe it. Kuratsuki Mayuri said sarcastically. Captain Nirvana, don't say that. The 2 captain colleagues were knocked down, and we are also very sad. Kirako Shunsui rarely put away his lazy attitude, and said seriously. Even Captain Zaraki was defeated. What kind of travel accident was it? Shiba Ishin frowned. Captain Zaraki suffered a very serious internal and external injury, while Captain Kukaki suffered a severe mental injury. Treatment takes a certain amount of time. Anohinaretsu said slowly. Oh, I feel like the enemy is so dangerous. Ichimarujin said meaningfully. No matter how dangerous we are as members of Godai 13, we must also stand up. Aizen looks like he's rehabilitated and is holding his breath. Your Excellency Genryazai, please give your order. I am willing to lead the entire 7th Division to defeat the enemy. Village Sajin volunteered. The 9th Division is also willing to act with the village captain. Tuan Kaname showed loyalty, and it is well known that he and Seijin village are close friends in private. Everyone, be quiet. Yamamoto Yuen Lu Ronjayo has no expression on his face, and Gu Jing's faceless face makes it difficult to guess what he is thinking. As the strongest Shinigami of Soul Society, he not only possesses powerful force, but also has this scheming wisdom. Before that, we need to figure out the true identity of the travel disaster. Captain Nirvana, analyzing Ryotsu's signal, can we confirm the identity of the target? I have sent someone to Rukanga to collect the remains of Ryotsu left by the enemy, but it will take some time to analyze Ryotsu. Kuratsuki Mayuri said seriously. Apart from anything else, as far as he is concerned, he is also very interested in the identity of the travel disaster. Captain Broken B, you personally lead a team of secret maneuvers to investigate the whereabouts of the travel accident. Once you find the location of the target, report it to the old man immediately. Remember not to act rashly by yourself. Yamamoto Yuen Lu Ronjayo said solemnly. Yes. The Broken Bee takes the lead. Although she is a female stream, but she has a heart not to admit defeat. She had led the task of investigating, and once she found the target, she had to fight the opponent. Settling in Junranin, warm every day. In Rukanga, the area where each soul lives is fixed. The Soul Society strictly prohibits all souls from leaving their neighborhoods. Otherwise, those souls living in the back streets will all head to the area with perfect living conditions. This is a law and regulation issued by the Lingting Court, and all souls must abide by it. Violators will be hit by Shinigami sent by Godai 13 with force. However, this so-called sacred court law cannot restrict Hyuga Shiratori. Rules are always made by the strong and followed by the weak. Hyuga Shiratori took Sister Huijin and left the barren and unsuitable Inuzuri district. I crossed more than 70 districts in one breath, and came to Junranin, Rukanga, a district with the best living conditions. On the way, they were obstructed by Shinigami, the guard of every block. Hyuga Shiratori was too lazy to do it, and put them all down with illusion in his eyes. There is nothing to say about this. As if no one cares, when walking, a few particles of dust fell. The so-called Godai 13, except for the 2 captain-level Shinigami I met before, the other deputy captains have 3 seats and 4 seats, all are scum. In 3 days, from the 78th district to the 1st district, the name of Hyuga Shiratori quickly spread throughout Rukanga, especially the soul that lives in Junranin. Junranin has abundant food and pleasant climate. The soul and soul here are no worries about dressing. It can be called the rich district in Rukanga. At first, everyone was panicked about the uninvited guests from the slum in Yuzuri. However, it was later discovered that Hyuga Shiratori was not interested in them at all. There is no overbearing, doing things everywhere. It's just ordinary eating and drinking leisure, as if planning to settle here. Seeing this, Jun Junranin's wealthy representative of the Hinamori family volunteered to contribute a shrine under his name, serving as the residence of Hyuga Shiratori and his group. The Hinamori family's idea is simple. If Hyuga Shiratori is regarded as a vicious tiger, then as long as the tiger is fed, the latter will not be able to eat people, will it? It is perfectly reasonable for the weak to worship the strong. Hyuga Shiratori expressed his willingness to accept. At the same time, in order to reward the Hinamori family's knowledge of current affairs, he gave the latter a spiritual power. Dan. This is an experiment he invented based on the knowledge of Chakra Dan in the brain, combined with the environment of this world, and invented by his temporary interest. Spiritual Power Pill, as the name suggests, is a pill generated by spiritual power. The effect is that as long as it is eaten, it can directly increase the spiritual power of the soul. Improving spiritual power is simply a dream miracle for the soul. If Lingting knows, I'm afraid it will cause a huge disturbance again. Of course, it is still an experimental stage, and it lacks the necessary materials. It is completely incomparable with the Chakra Dan in his memory. By the way, he is currently in an astral state, completely unable to play the ultimate chakra that was previously unmatched. Because the soul cannot save too much chakra, the body is the best carrier for chakra. However, this is the case. In his astral state, he still possesses a powerful strength that overwhelms the captain-level Shinigami. This shows how powerful he was in his heyday. Maybe he was the supreme god in the world before. But it doesn't matter anymore. The new world is the beginning of a new joy. Master Shiratori, supper is ready. Please enjoy. Fei Zhen is now wearing a black and white maid costume. The sleeves and skirt are all delicate lace designs, and a pair of pure white stockings on the legs. P.S. Refer to Lamlam's clothing.jpg. As for why this outfit is completely out of Hyuga Shiratori's personal preference. Thank you, Fei Zhen. Hyuga Shiratori looked at the sumptuous food on the table and expressed his satisfaction. There is no doubt that it was a wise choice to accept this capable maid to take care of her daily life. Please don't say that, Lord Shiratori. If you hadn't taken in us back then, I'm afraid Rukia and I would have to stay hungry in Inuzuri. Fei Zhen once again expressed his heartfelt thanks to him. Thinking of the hungry and cold days in Inuzuri, it was like a nightmare. Rukia spreads her baby teeth and slowly learns to crawl at a delicate pace. Good boy, does Rukia want to eat too? Hyuga Shiratori reached out and picked her up and put it on her lap. I picked up a bowl of miso soup, served it with a spoon, and put it in my mouth to cool it, and finally sent it carefully into Rukia's mouth. He is so proficient in every movement. between the eyebrows, full of tenderness and softness. Sir Shiratori seems to be good at caring for children. Fei Zhan asked curiously. Well enough. Hyuga Shiratori gave a slight pause. I always feel that there is a lot of experience in caring for children hidden in his body. Has a high degree of proficiency, especially for daughters. He seemed to have no experience in taking care of boys. It seems that in the last world, I should have taken a lot of harems and gave birth to a lot of daughters. As for the boy, what a joke, Unfortunately, due to the memory seal, he couldn't remember the specific memory. P.S. Actually because of harmony, the specific, good, plot can't be written, tears are running. In this way, the two had a warm dinner. Hyuga Shiratori ate and drank enough, and began to study Lingli Pill. Based on his battle with Shinigami some time ago, it can be basically judged. The main power of Shinigami comes from spiritual power. Ryutsu is an expression of spiritual power. To put it straightforwardly, Shinigami's battle is Ryutsu's battle. In the current astral state, Hyuga Shiratori's chakra is very limited, so it is very necessary to master the use of spiritual power. In short, it is to learn Shinigami's fighting style. Do as the locals do. This is also a necessary step to adapt to new world. In the future, Hyuga Shiratori will definitely create a perfect body for himself. At that time, spiritual power plus chakra, his strength may be even higher, surpassing the peak state of the previous life. Call out. Using Byakugan's pupil power, Hyuga Shiratori can accurately collect spirits from the atmosphere, and then refine them into pills. Looking at a white pill the size of a grain of rice in his hand, Hyuga Shiratori couldn't help frowning and muttered to himself. Sure enough, the efficiency of this method of collecting spirits is still too low. Hyuga Shiratori sighed. Sure enough, specific materials are still needed. This kind of material is hard to find in Rokanga, so I can only go to the Lingting Garden. Shiratori-sama, it's getting late, please let Hyujin bathe for you. Fei Jin put on a pure white bathrobe and walked obediently. It is good. Hyuga Shiratori responded, then opened his arms casually. Fei Zhan leaned forward and took off his clothes expertly. There is a natural hot spring pool in the backyard of the shrine. Just soak in a bubble. The high-temperature water mist here obscures most of the sight, so the scene cannot be described. P.S. Deleted. Hyuga Shiratori spread his hands and enjoyed the Hyujin back rubbing massage comfortably. Fei Zhan, what are your plans for the future? Hyuga Shiratori asked with a hot towel covering her cheeks. In the future? I'm already very satisfied to be able to serve Shiratori-sama. Fei Zhan's gentle and sweet voice sounded like a rivulet stream, with a refreshing feeling. The mouth is so sweet. If it sounds nice, everyone loves to listen to it. Hyuga Shiratori smiled and continued to ask, I mean there is something I want to do. What I want to do, let me think about it. The amethyst eyes flowed slightly, and Fei Zhan gave a look of memory. In this world, she was born in a middle-class samurai family. P.S. Roughly equivalent to around 1,850 in modern times. So fortunate to be able to read and read. The happiest thing in her life is that she can study quietly. If possible, Fei really wants to go to school to study. Fei Zhan smiled slightly and expressed his dream. Then go. Hyuga Shiratori responded indifferently. Huh? Does Seoul Society also have a school? Fei Zhan opened his eyes wide. In the Lingting Garden, there is a Mao Spiritual Academy. Hyuga Shiratori said. This is the information he obtained about Lingting when he hit Byakuya Kukiki with monthly reading. I learned about Godai 13, and the place where Shinigami was cultivated, the Mao Spiritual Academy. College. Hyujin's eyes lit up first, and then he hesitated. But, Hyujin still has to serve Shiratori-sama. It doesn't matter, just wait a few years for Rukia to take over as your maid when he grows up. Hyuga Shiratori said faintly, besides, after going to the Mao Spiritual Academy, it is not impossible to come back. You can come back anytime if you want. That's it. Hyujin's face was happy, obviously full of emotions. Sir Shiratori is so nice. Fei Zhan was excited and couldn't help but stepped forward and hugged his arm. Goodbye. Hyuga Shiratori reached out and stroked her dark, soft hair. In the hot spring, the two cuddled closely together. Because of the thick fog, I look down on what they are doing. A figure wearing a black night suit with a covered face stood on the wall without knowing it. The brown and slender eyes are like hawks lurking in the night, staring at the figure in the hot spring. This travel disaster not only wounded Shinigami, but also unscrupulously enslaved the soul. She was full of scorn, and based on her first impression of the accident, she subconsciously believed that Hyuga Shiratori was doing bad things. The invader is the 2nd Division Captain Broken B. She was ordered to investigate the information of the travel disaster. Although he was advised by the captain, even if he found the target, don't act rashly. But she, who is very naturally born, is unwilling to just do research work. Are you kidding me? The captain of her dignified 2nd Division team, how can she do such a small job of investigating? If you find a criminal, just catch it directly? As for you, Zaraki Kenpeki and Byakuya Kukiki were both hammered. That is their vegetable chicken? In the eyes of Broken B, Zaraki Kenpeki is a brash man full of brain muscles, and Byakuya Kukiki is an arrogant noble boy. She is a disciple taught by Shihaoran Yoriyuki. No, she wants to prove herself? Of course she is not stupid enough to challenge the enemy with integrity. The key to the action code of covert maneuver is covert? Wow. Playing Shunpo, the broken bee quietly approached the hot spring pool. Hehe. Hyuga Shiratori lifted the towel covering his cheeks, revealing a pair of silver eyes. From the first step that the invader steps into the shrine, he perceives the other's existence. Byakugan saw the intruder's true face clearly. I thought it was a bug, it turned out to be a little bee. Hyuga Shiratori's face was indifferent and authentic. Master Shiratori. Feizhen tilted his head and looked blank. Okay, Feizhen. You can clean up and go, I have to soak for a while. Hyuga Shiratori ordered. Okay. Feizhen did not hesitate, and obeyed his instructions. Get up from the hot spring pool and leave with a pile of changed clothes. Wow. Hyuga Shiratori continued to soak in the hot springs leisurely. Lean back against the pool, put your hands flat, and close your eyes to rest your mind. This guy, how long will he have to soak? The broken bee waited a little impatiently. The sharp gaze stared at the opponent's defenseless posture. Half an hour passed. Hyuga Shiratori remained motionless, breathing calmly, as if he was asleep. The broken bee saw the right time and stepped on its feet. Wow. The extremely fast Shunpo appeared behind Hyuga Shiratori for an instant, and put Zanpakuto on his neck. Oh, finally can't help but shoot. Hyuga Shiratori opened his eyes and said, don't move. Broken Bee's eyes were cold. I am Godai 13 Seeing Jun, the 2nd Division Captain. Broken Bee, arrest you now. Oh. Hyuga Shiratori turned his head and stared directly at the opponent with fixed eyes. I said, don't move. Broken Bee's face became cold, and Zanpakuto's blade was pressed tightly to his neck. As long as I want, I can cut off your head immediately. Hyuga Shiratori vs Broken Bee, as long as you dare to move, I will immediately. Broken Bee issued a stern warning, but before he finished speaking, he found that Hyuga Shiratori stretched out a hand and supported her chin. Yes, it looks pretty beautiful. Hyuga Shiratori chuckled lightly. Broken Bee's brain went down, and he was stunned for 3 full seconds. Because of this action of the other party, she reminded her of Shihawa Noriyuki, the woman she once admired so much. But when she came back, her gaze fell on the face of the man in front of her. There was a killing intent in the blink of an eye. Smelly man? Who allowed you to touch me with that dirty hand? Shattered Bee was furious, waved Zanpakuto in his hand, and cut off the opponent's head mercilessly. Boom. The figure whose head was cut off suddenly turned into a white smoke and disappeared. Broken Bee's face was startled. He keenly sensed the movement under the water, and immediately pulled back decisively. Wow. I saw the main body of Hyuga Shiratori, protruding from the hot spring pool. He raised his hand and picked up the wet hair. Really a cruel woman. You. Broken Bee was frightened and angry. What was surprising was that the other party didn't know what clever clone technique he was using, and even possessed an entity, and it was almost impossible to distinguish the true from the false with the naked eye. What was angry was the other party's frivolous attitude, and he didn't put her in his eyes at all. So, Miss Captain, is there anything you want me to do? Hyuga Shiratori stood up from the surface of the water, walked naked under the gaze of the opponent, then leaned over and picked up the towel set aside and wiped it off. Broken Bee's eyelids flicked and his cheeks twitched. Fortunately, she is not a pure and shy girl, and her gaze on Hyuga Shiratori did not waver at all. He clenched Zanpakuto in his hand, coldly. Travel disaster? You violated Soul Society's laws and must be severely punished. Haha, I packed up the 2 captains. Lingting doesn't have a long memory. Hyuga Shiratori said leisurely while putting on clothes carefully. Huh? My Broken Bee is different from them. Broken Bee is a proud woman who admits to be inferior to anyone. Wow. Shunpo? Soon. The speed is much faster than Zaraki Kenpeki, and even better than Byakuya Kukiki. Boom. Hyuga Shiratori raised his hand to block the opponent's kick. Hanging persimmon. This is a white hits technique based on fists and kicks. Smashing Bee's white hits are also among the best in Godai 13. Gentle fist. Hyuga Shiratori put his hands together, and easily resolved the opponent's swift and violent physical attacks with his dexterity. This weird white hits. Broken Bee only felt that his fists and kicks were all hitting cotton, completely unable to exert any energy. Close hand-to-hand combat can't get the upper hand, and the Broken Bee took out a few hidden weapons from his sleeves. The stealth mobile fighting style is a bit similar to a ninja. Use high kicks as a cover to project hidden weapons from blind spots in the line of sight. But all of this, for Byakugan, who doesn't have a blind spot of vision, is an outdated trick. Without looking back, Hyuga Shiratori caught the hidden weapon shot from the side by the opponent. Hidden weapon is not used in this way. Hyuga Shiratori backhanded the hidden weapon back. Swish. Broken Bee jumped back and turned over, dexterously avoiding the 2 hidden weapons passing by. However, what she never expected was that the 3rd concealed weapon hit the first one, changing the flight trajectory. Shot at her waist. What? Broken Bee was taken aback, but she was also in a hurry and turned to avoid it at a critical time. Sizzle. The hidden weapon slashed through the clothes on her waist and was cut open, revealing the white tender flesh inside. Fortunately, her waist is extraordinarily slender and flexible. You guy. Broken Bee's eyes widened, raising his hand to quickly condense a scarlet flame bomb. 31 of Hado, red cannon. Water-style water barrier. Hyuga Shiratori waved. The hot spring water under his feet sprang up automatically, forming a wall of water in front of him. Boom. The flame bomb was blocked by a wall of water. Find flowers. What is this Kido? The broken bee was shocked again. The water was scattered, and the Hyuga Shiratori in front of her disappeared again. Broken bee only felt a chill behind him. Shunpo this time? Zi. Hyuga Shiratori flashed his lightning style, and his figure turned into a thunder light and appeared behind the opponent. Chang. I saw Broken bee holding a knife in both hands, barely blocking a thunder hand knife of Hyuga Shiratori. Zizi. The powerful electric current passed along the blade to Broken bee's body, making her numb. Finally, he was shaken out by a huge force. In the process of flying upside down, Broken bee barely stabilized his body, turned over and inserted the knife into the ground, removing the impact. 0. Understand now? You are not my opponent. Hyuga Shiratori beckoned casually, with a calm expression on his face. Damn it! Don't underestimate people. The Broken bee gritted his teeth and lifted Zanpakuto to liberate. Slay your enemies? Suzumibiki. Zanpakuto in her hand turned into a pair of metal wrists with a chain connected to a sharp thorn on her middle finger. The ability of a bird front is a 2-strike kill. As long as the target is stabbed twice in the same part, the latter will undoubtedly die. Swish swish. The Broken bee once again used a faster speed, waving the spikes of his fingertips and piercing the Hyuga Shiratori fiercely. Zizi. Hyuga Shiratori accelerated the speed of Lightning Style's instantaneous body, and cleverly avoided all the opponent's attacks. The thing in your hand seems to have some special abilities, but if you can't hit it, any abilities are useless, right? In this way, the two started a speed contest. The extremely fast flashing figure is almost imperceptible in the dark night. The Broken bee did have some abilities. After tens of thousands of attacks, he finally stabbed Hyuga Shiratori's body with 2 or 3 shots. A few bee patterns with black butterfly patterns were left behind. As long as you hit the same position, you can instantly kill the opponent? The Broken bee's gaze aimed at the several bee patterns on Hyuga Shiratori's body. Then, one inadvertently, was backhanded by Hyuga Shiratori's arm, and slammed to the ground fiercely. You are careless. After playing, soak in a spring together. If I'm not mistaken, your Zanpakuto will have to hit the same spot in the second blow to be effective, right? Hyuga Shiratori maintained the posture of suppressing the opponent, calmly. Could it be that? Broken bee's body was pressed firmly to the ground. Something suddenly occurred to him, and he said in shock, you were hit by me on purpose just now. I just found out now. Hyuga Shiratori said with a look of surprise. You. Broken bee's face was green and white. The other party made it clear that she was playing with her? Now you have been arrested by me, Miss Captain. What do you think I should do with you? Hyuga Shiratori once again pinched the other party's smooth chin, pretending to ask seriously. Asshole. The anger of Broken bee soared to 130 liters, and Ryotsu was released with all his strength. Boom. I saw the clothes on her shoulders and back burst open instantly. Alas. Hyuga Shiratori only felt a violent wind blowing on his face, and forcibly shook him out. Broken bee broke free of his restraint and slowly stood up. Quickly. This is the fusion of white hits and Kido. The back and shoulders of the user will be wrapped in Kido with a high concentration of compression, and Kido will be combined with his own hands and feet to fight through the explosion. This was originally a nirvana that I developed to defeat that woman, but I didn't expect it to be used on you. Shattered Bee's brown eyes were filled with a bitter fighting spirit. However, you are complacent enough to force me to use this trick. Tell me, travel disaster? Your name? Hyuga Shiratori. Hyuga Shiratori responded. Hyuga Shiratori, isn't it? I remembered it. Broken bee nodded seriously. She recognized the strength of the other party. This is an opponent who must go all out. Zzzzz. Hyuga Shiratori's body is surrounded by profound lightning style power. Lightning style chakra mode. I don't hate a woman who works hard. Come on, Broken bee, use your best, and then fall under my feet. Hyuga Shiratori beckoned to the opponent. Tisk. You are really an amazing guy from start to finish. The Broken bee gritted his teeth, and the initial recognition of Hyuga Shiratori disappeared in an instant. Such a rude bastard should be killed on the spot. Boom. Shattered Bee stepped on her feet, and the huge impact made her figure fly out like a cannonball. Hyuga Shiratori raised his hand and punched. Boom. Accompanied by the collision of the two fists, huge energy was generated in an instant, exploding the surrounding ground. Drink ah. The Broken bee punched and kicked at speed. Boom, 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 boom. Deafening roar. In white hits, full of Kido's power, every punch and kick is terrifying. The shock wave produced by Kido, and the shining thunder and lightning, shakes this area. In order to prevent the battle from spreading and leveling here, Hyuga Shiratori also took time to set up an enchantment. The scope of the battle was strictly limited to the vicinity of the hot spring pool. After a long time, puff. Broken bee was sweating and fell to the ground with fatigue. She saw her unkempt hair and ragged clothes, and even lost one of her shoes, looking very embarrassed. Hyuga Shiratori let out a long sigh. In this fierce physical warfare, he also sweated a lot. In particular, it uses the power of lightning style to cover the whole body for high strength activation. It consumes a lot of his physical strength. Of course, this is also because he deliberately released the water. Otherwise, he has 1,000 ways to defeat Broken bee. There is no need to fight against each other. After all, Hyuga Shiratori didn't take this battle seriously from beginning to end. It is purely to exercise the body, move the activity. I haven't played so happy for a long time, comfortable. Hyuga Shiratori took off his clothes again and jumped into the hot spring pool. Wow, the warm spray splashed on the cheeks of the Broken Bee. You guy. Broken Bee's brows trembled, and a complicated expression appeared on his face involuntarily. Why? Don't give me the last blow. What are you talking about? Isn't it just a competition, so serious? Hyuga Shiratori lay on his back, lying comfortably on the surface of the water, responding casually. So that's it. Were you playing just now? Broken Bee gave a wry smile. She is serious. Go all out to fight. But I didn't expect that people would not take her seriously at all. Are you ridiculous? Humiliation? My dignified second division captain, how can you? Wait, what are you going to do? The Broken Bee hadn't finished speaking, but found that Hyuga Shiratori grabbed her from the ground with one hand. You sweat a lot too, let's wash it. Hyuga Shiratori smiled authentically. Stop it, you rude fellow. Broken Bee looked anxious, struggling hard. However, all of her physical strength was exhausted in the battle just now. Can only be at the mercy of the other party. You're welcome, you're a guest when you get started. As a host, you have to treat it well. Hyuga Shiratori lifted the opponent high and threw them into the hot spring pool. Puff. Hyuga Shiratori? Guru. Broken Bee's eyes widened, and he was about to swear, but was immediately submerged by the spring. Ha 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 ha. Hyuga Shiratori laughed and felt so happy today. Hyuga Shiratori. At this time, the Broken Bee had finished washing and changed into clean clothes. I just don't know if the hot spring has been soaking for a long time, and my cheeks are red. Smashed Bee, the moonlight is so beautiful tonight. Hyuga Shiratori raised his head to look at Minjayo, and sighed. You. How could Broken Bee couldn't hear what was in the other party's words? A pair of beautiful eyes flashed with a thick cold light. It looks like a cat with exploded hair. Master Shiratori, nasty. Fei Zhen looked helpless, and then took the initiative to apologize to Broken Bee. I'm very sorry, Miss Broken Bee. I made you laugh. After the battle is over, Hyuga Shiratori withdrew from the enchantment and called Hyjin to bathe and change clothes for the exhausted Broken Bee. Although he didn't mind doing it himself, in order to prevent the latter from exploding in place, he let Hyjin do it for him. Of course, this process. Hyuga Shiratori watched the whole process. 30 years later. Hyuga Shiratori, I swear by the Broken Bee. One day, I will arrest you myself. When Broken Bee failed to arrest, he was violently molested. It's a burst of mentality. Welcome to visit next time, Captain Broken Bee. Hyuga Shiratori beckoned to the opponent with a smile on his face. Seeing the other party's happy expression on his face, Broken Bee was even more irritated. Both hands clenched their fists, and then involuntarily let them go. In the battle between the two, she was completely defeated. I am inferior to others, so there is nothing to say. In the end, he suffocated his stomach and left the shrine in a desperate manner. When stepping out of the shrine, Broken Bee twisted his arm subconsciously. There is no soreness as expected, but a refreshing feeling after a long absence. This hot spring is soaked, and it doesn't seem to be bad, Broken Bee muttered to himself. 17. But soon, in her mind, she recalled when she was taking a bath. The face that Hyuga Shiratori watched from the side. Broken Bee's cheeks turned red all of a sudden. That rude bastard. In any case, in Broken Bee's heart, he remembered Hyuga Shiratori deeply. The next day, Broken Bee returned to Slingting. Upload information about Hyuga Shiratori. Broken Bee truthfully explained how he challenged each other and then failed miserably. She is a proud person, but not a person who can't afford to lose. If you lose, and she will not hide her failure. Of course, in some details, Broken Bee subconsciously made cuts. As for Lingting, he was shocked again. Defeating 3 captains one after another, this travel disaster can be recorded in the annals of Soul Society's history. However, based on the intelligence brought back by the Broken Bee, it is certain that the travel disaster this time has nothing to do with the imaginary. The other party just settled in Genronin, Rukanga, and didn't do anything out of the ordinary. Therefore, it does not involve the core interests of Slingting. Godai 13 was originally inclined to send joint troops to fight against the disaster by force, but the joint dispatch requires the approval of Central 46. Central 46 is composed of 40 sages and 6 judges gathered in the entire Soul Society. It is the highest decision-making body of Soul Society. Once a decision is made, even the captain is not allowed to raise objections. However, after Yamamoto Yuen Lu Ronjayo reported to Central 46 about the investigation of the travel accident, after a high-level discussion meeting, he made a negative judgment. From the view of Room 46, the mere travel disaster is not worth fighting for. Besides, the travel disaster is now staying in Rukanga. Even if it destroys it, it will only endanger the ordinary souls. This has nothing to do with the nobles who live in Lingting in high positions. The first task of Godai 13 is to protect the Lingting garden. Don't worry about other things, right? For the decision made by Room 46, Godai 13 also felt quite helpless. Yamamoto Yuen Lu Ronjayo is a man who strictly observes discipline and regards rules as more important than anyone else. Therefore, he took the lead in complying with the decision of Room 46 and shelved the handling of the travel accident. Of course, he also dispatched some Shinigami to monitor Genronin, prevent travel accidents and do anything that might threaten the spirit court. In this way, the travel accident came to an end for the time being. Soul Society has returned to the peace of the past. On the other side, the news that Hyuga Shiratori defeated 3 captain-level Shinigami head-on quickly spread throughout Rukanga. Suddenly, the shrine where Hyuga Shiratori was located became famous. No matter which world you are in, ignorant and mundane people always occupy the overwhelming majority. They believe that Hyuga Shiratori is so powerful because of the protection of the Spirit King. Ever since, there is an endless stream of souls who come to enshrine the shrine. Over time, Rukanga's soul vividly called it Hyuga Shrine. In this regard, Hyuga Shiratori just smiled. Nor did he resist the worship of fools. After all, to do research, funding and material support are indispensable. At the same time, a lot of experimental materials are needed. These souls were delivered to the door, just as the mice could act as the spirit pill. Time is like flowing water, 30 years passing by in a flash. P.S. The time flow rate of Soul Society is different. I didn't elaborate on how to calculate the original work. If anyone knows, you can point it out in the comments. Brother Shiratori. The crisp lowly sound is very pleasing to the ears. Immediately afterwards, a very light and soft body hit Hyuga Shiratori's back. I saw the girl had dark purple eyes and short black hair. The appearance is very similar to Hyuga, but the temperament is slightly different when you look closely. What's wrong, Rukia? Hyuga Shiratori reached out and stroked the little loli who was almost hanging on his back. Rukia, how many times have you said it? Don't be rude to Shiratori-sama. Feijan reprimanded softly from the side, but the soft gaze was filled with a look of doting over. 30 years of time. It's just that Feijan has grown up a bit, but on the whole it hasn't changed much. She still looks like a girl. Rukia has grown from a baby to look like a little loli. The appearance is 90% similar to Feijan, and the two stand together like twins. Sister, you are too old-fashioned. Rukia smiled often, and did not take her sister's reprimand at all to heart. Hugging Hyuga Shiratori's neck affectionately, and said coquettishly, Brother Shiratori, teach me how to play with a knife, okay? Rukia has a lively and active personality, which is clearly different from her quiet and elegant sister. And he doesn't like reading books, on the contrary, he is born with a strong interest in swords. This is probably because Rukia was born in a samurai family and inherited the samurai spirit. Good. Hyuga Shiratori raised his hand and waved. Using the power of yin and yang to escape, 2 swords emitting red light were created out of thin air. After playing with Rukia for a while, Hyuga Shiratori fed him a pill of spiritual power. The latter digested the improved spiritual power and fell asleep sweetly in his arms. Hyuga, how does life in the academy feel? 2 years ago, Feijan entered the Mao Spiritual Academy in Eslingting. Eisen is watching when Hyuga enters school. The Mao Spiritual Academy is the only way for the soul to enter the life of the spiritual garden. Every year, the academy recruits high-quality astrals from Rukanga as a team to train Shinigami. On Hyuga Shiratori's suggestion, Feijan participated in the academy's admissions examination. The so-called assessment is nothing but a special seal of spiritual power given to each person. If the holder injects spiritual power into the seal, it will release light. The brighter the light, the higher the spiritual power. I still remember that 2 years ago, when Feijan was participating in the spiritual power test, her spiritual power illuminates the entire Rukanga, like a small sun. This incident caused a lot of waves in Eslingting. Such high-level spiritual power is also very rare in the history of Soul Society. Especially from Rukanga, the souls here are basically from the present world, and there is generally a big gap compared to the souls born and grown in the Eslingting. The appearance of Fei really broke the common sense. Fortunately, the teachers in the academy take care of Hyuga and the classmates, and they are also very enthusiastic. Hyuga smiled and replied. Hyuga Shiratori only glanced at it and noticed a hint of distress in the other's smile. He can probably guess the reason. Good people will encounter jealousy and even rejection no matter where they are. Most of the students at the Mao Spiritual Academy are souls born in the Sling Court, and they think they are superior. There is a natural sense of superiority for Feijan, who was born in Rukanga. However, the facts slapped them in the face. Hyuga's spiritual power can sling all of them. At the same time, she herself is the kind of hardworking and studious person. Cut Fist and Go Ghost, Shinigami's 4 basic skills. Feijan has excellent grades in general subjects, and has left those noble children who are superior in academics. It is simply enviable and envy. Of course, Hyuga Shiratori is not worried about whether Hyuga will be bullied. The maid he personally trained is not a weak woman. After 30 years of unremitting research, Hyuga Shiratori's spiritual pill has matured. Daily swallowing can steadily increase spiritual power. In addition, Hyuga Shiratori personally taught Hyuga fighting skills, such as ninjutsu, physique, illusion. In his vague memory, this is the ability of the forebearer. Puff, I really can't hide anything from Master Shiratori. Feijan bulged his cheeks, saying that he could see the look in Hyuga Shiratori's eyes. The fact is just as he guessed. The genius of Hyuga is too dazzling, and has attracted the jealousy of many of his peers at the Mao Spiritual Academy. They tried their best to provoke Feijan. At first, the kind-hearted Feijan didn't want to cause trouble, so she chose to be patient and restrained. But in exchange, the opponent's decent advancement, pressing hard to bully her every step of the way. Finally, Fei really couldn't bear it, and directly used force. With only simple physical skills, all the people who bullied her were knocked to the ground? The latter refused to accept it and invited the seniors to try to retaliate. The seniors in the higher grades had already learned Kido, but they were defeated by Fei Zhen using ninjutsu and illusion. In this way, Fei Zhen hit the entire Mao Spiritual Academy, finally in exchange for peace. So, is there anything special? Hyuga Shiratori asked casually. He knew that Fei Zhen's performance was too conspicuous and would definitely attract the attention of Godai 13. Fei Zhen tilted his head and thought about it for a while, then said, "Last month, the Kukaki family, one of the 5 great nobles, sent someone to invite me, and said that he intended to invite me into the Kukaki family and become a nobleman." "Oh, what did Fei really say?" Hyuga Shiratori asked curiously. In fact, he already knew the answer. "Of course I refused. Hyjin will always belong to Shiratori-sama." When Fei Zhen said these words, his eyes were piercing and staring at him. The feelings contained in it are self-evident. Really good. Hyuga Shiratori habitually touches her head. But this time he was avoided by Fei Zhen, with a serious expression on his face. "Master Shiratori, Hyjin is no longer a kid." Oh. Hyuga Shiratori was startled first, and then understood in seconds. "Open your hands and embrace her in your arms." Fei Zhen's face flushed, but he didn't resist either. In order to change the subject, continue to preach about her at the college. Also not long ago, a person named Aizenji Meng said that he was the captain of the 5th Division team, and he also sent an invitation to Fiajin. He said that he was optimistic about Fiajin and hoped that he could join the 5th Division after graduation. Aizen is a doctor. Hyuga Shiratori's eyes moved slightly. He faintly cares about this name. Then he continued to ask, "What kind of person is this Aizen plus doctor?" "He is a calligraphy teacher specially hired by the college. He looks like a gentle and elegant man, and he is proficient in Zenshu, Shunpo, Kido, and white hits. Many students regard him as an idol." When Fei Zhen said this, he frowned slightly. But Fei Zhen always feels that this person is hidden deeply, there is a kind of inexplicable falsehood. "This person is dangerous," Hyuga Shiratori said thoughtfully. Although he has no relevant memory, he subconsciously reacts to the name. This means that the other party is a character that cannot be ignored in his heyday? Okay, then Fei really refused him. Fei Zhen nodded, good, seriously, and didn't ask much. For her, she does what Hyuga Shiratori says without any hesitation. "So, after graduation, which team does Hyjin plan to join?" Hyuga Shiratori asked. According to the current progress, Fei Zhen graduated from the Mao Spiritual Academy ahead of schedule, almost a certainty. After all, her strength can crush all the students of the same class and even the upper grades, and she has the strength of a qualified Shinigami. "I think I will join the 13th Division." Fei Zhen thought about it and replied. Hyuga Shiratori nodded, expressing his expectation. The 13th Division is a medical unit. For Fei Zhen, who likes to be quiet and not to fight, it is indeed a perfect fit. Ano Hinaretsu, the captain of the 13th Division, looks like a gentle woman. Fei Zhen set up a flag. "Master Shiratori, next week is Hyjin's graduation ceremony." Fei Zhen raised his head and stared at him with a pair of amethyst eyes. Although Fei Zhen has only entered school for 1 year, it is only natural for her to graduate early with her talents and grades. "Okay, I will take Rukia to the graduation ceremony of Hyjin." Hyuga Shiratori gave the other party a relieved smile. Lingting and Rukanga are only 1 step away geographically. No walls were built on the ground, but powerful barriers were set up. Once an outsider approaches, it will automatically lower the wall. At the same time, the walls are made of murderous stones that block spiritual power, so as to block the entry of all souls. However, this is for Hyuga Shiratori. There is no such thing as a wall. Hee. After getting the answer he wanted, Fei Zhen's eyes were bent into crescent moons. The next day, Fei Zhen returned to the Mao Spiritual Academy to prepare for his graduation exam. Hyuga Shrine. Hinamari's family members will be sent to worship. Hyuga Shiratori sent it casually. Anyway, trivial matters such as funds are left to them to take care of. Forgive them for their courage, and they dare not make small moves. "Little Tao, are you here to play with me?" Rukia excitedly hugged a beautiful girl with black hair and black eyes. "Rukia, don't be like this. Shiratori-sama will laugh." The girl's name is Hinamori Momo, the eldest daughter of Hinamari's family. Because they are similar in age to Rukia, the two quickly became good friends. By the way, Hyuga Shiratori sees that she has good spiritual power and is a good seedling worth cultivating. At the same time, for the purpose of experimentation, he gave the opponent some spiritual pill. It's okay, Shiratori loves cute girls the most. Rukia is innocent and lively, and childish. In a word, Hyuga Shiratori's preferences are explained. Hinamori Momo opened his eyes slightly, expressing something incredible. Because in the eyes of Rukanga people, Hyuga Shiratori is an unattainable god. How could it be like ordinary mortals? Hyuga Shiratori just laughed and didn't say anything to this, and didn't refute it. Hinamori Momo's big lacquered eyes rolled around, as if thinking of something. His small face suddenly became a little hot. "Hey, little Tao, something is wrong with you." Rukia's dark purple eyes looked at each other tightly. Although she is naive, it does not mean she is stupid. In some ways, she is a ghost. "Could it be that you are also greedy for my Shiratori brother?" Rukia stared at her warily. I am not. Don't talk nonsense. Hinamori Momo immediately denied Sanlian, and at the same time counterattacked. By the way, Shiratori-sama, when did you become Rukia's? Of course. Rukia held up her smooth chin, patted her non-existent breast hard, and said proudly, Brother Shiratori is exclusive to my sister and me. Hinamori Momo bulged his cheeks. Huh, what? A little peach, dare to refuse. After speaking, Rukia rushed over with a grin. Oh, the girl's silver bell-like laughter came from the shrine, full of joy. Okay, it's time to play, now it's time to practice. Hyuga Shiratori exhorted, according to the usual practice, let's have a real battle first. Yes, Lord Shiratori. The two men sorted their messy clothes and hair, and smiled at each other. Hi, let's do it, Hinamori Momo. Rukia raised her eyebrows and raised her eyes, putting on a menacing posture. Wait, don't forget the ninja's etiquette. Hinamori Momo held up 2 fingers in a proper manner, showing signs of opposition. Ninja or something, it's really troublesome. Rukia stuck out his tongue, but still acted honestly. So, let's get started. It doesn't matter if you use Jonin tools, I will look at you if there is any surprise. Hyuga Shiratori ordered. He taught the skills of Rukia ninja, and at the same time taught Hinamori Momo in order to increase an object of practice. With his order, the two first started a body art confrontation. Leaf Hurricane. Rukia kicked out with a standard sweep. Hinamori Momo raised his hands to block, and took 2 steps back. Immediately afterwards, Rukia quickly stepped forward and threw 3 punches. Hinamori Momo caught twice and was hit in the arm by the third. Hihi, it's just defense, not good, Xiao Tao. Rukia laughed. Of course I know. Hinamori Momo's immature face became more serious. There is no doubt that Rukia is much better than her in terms of mono-physical techniques. He nodded his hands and took a deep breath. Fire-style Great Fireball technique. A fiery ball of fire was spit out from his mouth. Rukia also nodded his hands and raised a wall of water in front of him. Water-style water barrier. Wow. The fireball hit the water wall, emitting a lot of water vapor. Shoo, hoo. Hinamori Momo took advantage of the water mist and threw a basic shuriken. Ding ding. Rukia held kunao and opened it. Illusory technique, narrow sea technique. Hinamori Momo disappeared into the mist after Jain. Huh? This is... The vision in front of Rukia's eyes turned into a desolate neighborhood. It seems to be Rukanga, but it is different from the prosperous Junranin. The neighborhood here is particularly withered. She saw a figure on the side of the road who looked like her. That's... Sister. Rukia's eyes widened. Sorry, Rukia. I saw Feijan drop the baby in his hand and leave with tears. That's me. Rukia stared blankly at the crying baby lying on the cold ground. However, this confusion lasted less than a second. Untie. Rukia broke free from the illusion, and said categorically, Sister will never leave me, and Shiratori brother. Fire-style Phoenix Fire technique. Hinamori Momo spit out many fireballs one after another from his mouth. Being done confined the frost. Rukia makes a seal with one hand. The freezing cold air instantly froze the fireball. Blood succession boundary. Rukia is really amazing, then I too. Hinamori Momo exhaled a cold breath, and his hands were sealed. Scorch style over steaming. Aizen's plan. Bang bang bang. The collision of ice and flame. Let's stop here. Hyuga Shiratori raised his hand and waved out a gentle fist. It easily smashed the ice crystals and extinguished the flames. At the same time, Rukia and Hinamori Momo were separated with a gentle force. See why Z works? The power of Hyuga Shiratori is not just a manifestation of violence. With a wave of his hand, he wiped out the blood and bounds, and separated the two in the fierce fight. Careless actions are enough to reveal the unfathomable power? I almost hit the head. Rukia reached out and touched the back of his head. Master Shiratori. Hinamori Momo stared at him with admiration. You two did a good job, so let's tie it this time. Hyuga Shiratori smiled and nodded. Secretly said in his heart, soul learning ninjutsu, there is basically no big problem. Blood succession boundary cannot be learned, but he can make specific spiritual power pills to allow them to obtain blood succession boundary. But for the time being, they seem to be able to grasp only one kind of blood inheritance boundary. If there are too many, the soul cannot bear it. There must be other reasons. Hyuga Shiratori secretly recorded the experimental data of this point. Little Tao. Rukia stretched out 2 fingers grinning. Although she often forgets the seal of opposition before the discussion, she will never forget the seal of reconciliation after the end. Rukia. Hinamori Momo also stretched out 2 fingers and gently held each other together to show friendship. Hyuga Shiratori was lost in thought. The ability of the soul to carry is limited. Sure enough, do we still need human flesh? Hyuga Shiratori's research has entered a bottleneck stage. Mao Spiritual Academy. O Kings? Masks of flesh and blood, Vientiane, flapping wings, things that bear the name of mankind. Scorching heat and conflict, rolling south across the sea, and marching forward. 31 of Hado, red cannon. Feijan fired a compressed flame bomb from the palm of his hand, accurately hitting a target 100 meters away. At the same time, it also blasted a big hole in the ground near the target. Wow, this beautiful operation immediately drew shouts from the audience. Really? This Kido is used so well, I remember she was only 1 year old, right? Moreover, this power is simply stronger than the seniors. Awesome, you deserve to be the #1 genius in the school. Everyone cast their attention. Fei Zhen had no waves. In fact, she can completely abandon the Heido of the chanting instant. This is something that many Shinigami can't do. If outsiders know that she has mastered it, I am afraid it will cause some commotion. Fei really doesn't like to be pushy, so he deliberately kept a hand. But even so, being able to send this shot of Kido perfectly is enough to prove her talent. Ouch, this newcomer is really amazing. In the audience, Ichimaru Jin narrowed his eyes. Lord Aizen, his subordinates have already investigated clearly. This Hyuga was born in Rukanga and was the one who was involved in the accident at the time. Tuan Kaname reports. So, it's no wonder you have such a high standard, Ryotsu. Aizen is hard to beat. How GSI Guang. Yeah, with Ryotsu alone, it leaves me far behind. Ichimaru Jin continued. For my subordinates to say frankly, it is absolutely impossible for such Ryotsu to be born in a place like Rukanga. The only thing that can be explained is that her abnormal Ryotsu comes from a travel accident. Tuan Kaname analyzed. The means to improve Ryotsu, I didn't expect someone other than me to study it. Aizen plus medical treatment. So, should we grab her as a material for research? Ichimaru Jin seemed to put forward a very good opinion. Tuan Kaname frowned and said nothing. No, although the experimental materials are rare, it's just a pawn, and it's not worth our shot. Aizen rushed to the doctor to express a serious look. Find flowers. Hyuga Shrine, Hyuga Shiratori. No one knows where he comes from, and no one knows his true identity. 30 years ago, he suddenly appeared in Dianja, then wiped out Juto and entered Soul Society. And the strength is terrible. Ichimaru Jin spread his hands. Even Captain Zaraki, Captain Kukaki, and Captain Shattered Bee were defeated by him. But as long as Aizen-sama takes the shot himself, it will definitely be possible. Tuan Kaname was extremely convinced of the power of the elegant man with glasses. Ichimaru Jin showed a pair of sharp eyes slightly, and he didn't know what was thinking in his heart. 0. Aizen talked with the medical mallet for a long time before he replied, if that person is just showing the strength now, I can kill him instantly. But how can the sheep test the power of the lion? Tisk tut, Captain Aizen is really bad. He actually treats Captain Zaraki, Captain Kukaki, and Captain Shattered Bee as sheep. Ichimaru Jin frowned. Although with his strength and confidence, he can defeat the 3 captains. But it is obviously impossible to say no price at all. Then, shall we use the 46 room to crusade? Tuan Kaname suggested. For the time being, there is no valid reason, and the action is too big, it is likely to affect our follow-up plan. Aizen plus doctors rejected the proposal with a penalty. In addition, the experiment of imaginary whiteness is about to be completed. For the time being, let's not make extravagances. Subai. A trace of fear flashed across Ichimaru Jin's face, and he said solemnly, then Captain Aizen, has you already chosen the sacrifice? The final completion requires a captain-level Shinigami, isn't it us? Where is this? You are my most loyal subordinates. Aizen and the doctor scorched a scorching heat, and said coldly, next month, the captain of the 10th Division, Shiba Ishine, will go to this world to perform his mission. At that time, I will figure him out and cause him to be seriously injured, and then release the whiteness to swallow him. Kamui enters the Sling Court. Today is Hyuga's graduation ceremony at Mao Spiritual Academy. Hyuga Shiratori agreed to attend the meeting earlier. Enter as Ling Ting. This, can we really do it? Hinamori Momo asked in shock. For a good girl like her who lives in Rukanga, she blatantly violated the rules of the Lingting Court, and breaking into the Lingting Court is simply unimaginable? Don't worry, what are you afraid of? Brother Shiratori is fine? I'm going to see my sister's graduation. Rukia was jumping with excitement. Growing up under the protection of Hyuga Shiratori, she developed a wild character that is not afraid of nature. What Lingting's rules are all shit, but, how do you get in? There are murderous stones around the spirit court, which can shield the spirit's 1, 3, and 3 powers. Hinamori Momo raised the question. Alright, don't think so much, just follow Shiratori. Rukia patted her shoulder confidently. In fact, she doesn't know exactly how to do it. Anyway, just follow Hyuga Shiratori. We can go now. Hyuga Shiratori is dressed in ordinary casual clothes and plain white clothes. It doesn't look like something to sneak in. Hyuga Shiratori explained as if he had noticed the surprised eyes of the 2 of them. Don't care, there is nothing to prepare. The 2 women looked at each other and expressed their curiosity. Brother Shiratori, how on earth are we going to enter the Sling Garden? Or should we fight directly? Just hit it. Hinamori Momo was sweating violently. Hyuga Shiratori nodded seriously. It's okay, but the noise may be too loud and disrupt the graduation ceremony of Hyuga. So, let's use another method. Immediately, under the surprised gaze of the 2, Hyuga Shiratori's silver-white eyes have transformed into scarlet triangular windmills. Mangekyo Sherinon. Kamui. The binocular pupil power output quickly opened a space Uzumaki in front of his eyes. This. The 2 opened their eyes in amazement again. Is this what Shiratori-sama said? Time space ninjutsu. Hinamori Momo looked surprised and authentic. Roughly the same. Hyuga Shiratori nodded. In the current astral state, the reincarnation Sherinon and Tensagen's pupil skills cannot be used. However, Mangekyo Sherinon can be used casually. Follow me? Hyuga Shiratori took the initiative to walk into the space Uzumaki. The 2 of them didn't hesitate at all, and got in immediately. Space Uzumaki disappeared. The 3 people disappeared without a trace. Another side. Somewhere in the corner of S-Lingting, a space Uzumaki appeared. The 3 figures of Hyuga Shiratori appeared out of thin air. Arrived. Hyuga Shiratori is indifferent and authentic. What? The second daughter didn't seem to react. At this time, the entire process of space transfer is less than 2 seconds. This is indeed S-Lingting. Hinamori Momo blinked his eyes and looked at the surrounding buildings curiously. Unlike Rukonga's low-rise houses, the buildings in the Sling Court are generally very tall, and the decoration design is gorgeous, giving a kind of solemn style of the palace. Wow, that's amazing. Rukia jumped up in excitement, and then suddenly threw himself into Hyuga Shiratori's arms. Rukia, hush, don't be too loud. Hinamori Momo cringed a little and hissed subconsciously. I saw the pedestrians around, all cast curious eyes, but no one would doubt it. They are souls from Rukonga. After all, in the thousands of years since S-Lingting was established, there has never been an incident of external invasion. Even if there is an occasional travel accident, at most, I just wander around Rukonga. Spirit Garden is Shinigami's base camp, where Godai 13 lives. There are no people who dare to make trouble here. Calm down, no one will doubt you. Hyuga Shiratori's expression is relaxed, without any sense of suspiciousness as an intruder. It seems to be just for an outing. Look at the time, Fei Zhen's graduation ceremony hasn't started yet, let's just stroll around. After saying that, Hyuga Shiratori took the lead alone and walked stumblingly on the street. The second daughter was a little nervous and coward at first, but after a long time she didn't meet Shinigami who was censored, and she became more courageous. Brother Shiratori, there is something delicious here. Rukia, don't run so fast. Brother Shiratori, there is fun over there. Rukia, wait for me. 2 little girls, the country girls who had just entered the city, were running around on the bustling street. Hyuga Shiratori also looked at the surrounding environment with interest. He didn't use Byakugan to scan 360 degrees without blind spots, he just watched with ordinary eyes. Just as every society has hierarchies, S-Lingting is the same. Most of them are Shinigami dressed in ordinary death tyrants, and a few are gorgeously dressed nobles. Ordinary Shinigami, fortunately, those nobles passing by. He unceremoniously cast a contemptuous look at the 2 girls who were running wildly. Just a word of contempt on his face. One of the young men in a pink lace coat sneered directly. Where's the wild girl? A quarrel, no education at all. Jingle Kyui held up her chest and put on her nose with upturned nostrils. Rukia and Hinamori Momo turned their heads subconsciously, staring at the man's attire for a moment. Hinamori Momo was okay to say, and held it back. But Rukia couldn't bear it, and just laughed out loud. Puff, what kind of clothes is that? It's so funny, ha 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 ha. Rukia, don't make trouble, although it's funny, no, I didn't say you, Puff. Hinamori Momo originally wanted to persuade her, but after a few glances at the man, he couldn't help but laugh. You? Kiraku Akiba suddenly became furious and reprimanded, stupid countryman? This is the costume of Kiraku Shunsui, the owner of our superior noble Kiraku family, and the captain of the 8th division. How dare you? The other party moved out of their supreme owner, but Rukia still ignored him. Ha 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 ha, what kind of fun is this? Your patriarch is too tasteless, right? Rukia hugged her belly and laughed. Captain of the 8th division, Kiraku Shunsui? Smelly girl? What did you say? Jingle Kyui almost exploded with anger. Although he also thinks that this flower dress is very weird, but it is the costume that the owner of the family likes. As a junior, he will definitely imitate the great predecessor. Rukia's ridicule made him feel that the dignity of the nobleman had been provoked, and he couldn't help it immediately. Zhang. I saw Kiraku Akiba pulling out Zanpakuto from his waist. You laugh again, believe it or not, I cut you off. Slightly. Facing the threat of force from the opponent, Rukia was not afraid, but provoked wildly with his tongue out. Oh Rukia? Shiratori-sama. Hinamori Momo looked helpless, and immediately turned to Hyuga Shiratori who was eating melons and watching the show. Haha, it's okay, adults won't be mixed up with children's harassment. Hyuga Shiratori smiled slightly, not paying attention. Upon seeing this, passers-by also cast surprised eyes. 17-0? Whose child is that? So naughty. It provokes a nobleman, what a bear. Jingle Kyui's eyes swept away from everyone, and his face was even more embarrassed. If it is seen by others, the dignified noble Kiraku family will be scorned. Then the faces of their nobles can be unsightly. Big man, colorful clothes, shame or not shame or not? Rukia grimaced with her eyebrows, her sarcasm skyrocketing. Soy mujer. Kiraku Akiba couldn't bear it anymore, and waved Zanpakuto and chopped it over. Wow. Rukia turned sideways and avoided easily, and continued to smile. I can't hit. Damn it. Jingle Kyui continued to wield the knife indiscriminately. Rukia dodges left and right, her agile posture is eye-catching. Huh? Is this little girl also a Shinigami? Passers-by onlookers expressed their surprise. Jingle Kyui was furious, raised his hand and shot a rope of spiritual power. The 4th of Bakudo this rope. Huh. Rukia was tied up all at once. Only in the next second, the tied figure of Rukia turned into a piece of wood. Body replacement technique? Huh? Puff. Jingle Kyui was taken aback, and it was the first time he had seen this kind of weird skill. There is a flaw. Rukia ran from the side, and a beautiful leg sweep was hitting Kiraku Akiba's cheek. Leaf hurricane. Boom. Jingle Kyui was kicked out, and one of his teeth was kicked out. Wow, really? Jingle Kyui is the 5th seed of the 6th division. I was knocked down by a little girl. Everyone expressed incredible. Kiraku Akiba was so angry that he almost exploded on the spot, and he was knocked to the ground by Rukia only carelessly. But it is safe to lose face now. Smelly girl? I have to show you some color today. Jingle Kyui was extremely angry, and immediately used his full strength. Shunpo? The figure appeared in front of Rukia for an instant. Alas, Rukia was surprised with a small face, and immediately took out a handful of Kiwa. Chang. Kiwa reluctantly spurred Zanpakuto away from the opponent, and Rukia stepped back a few steps in a row. After all, he is still young and his strength is limited. What's wrong? Isn't it arrogant now? Jingle Kyui continued to press hard, glaringly. Rukia. Hinamori Momo exclaimed. Sure enough, it's still too tender. Tao, go. Hyuga Shiratori patted her on the shoulder. Obtained approval, Hinamori Momo rushed out immediately. Both hands quickly formed seals, and a fiery ball of fire was spit out from the mouth. Fire-style Great Fireball technique. The sudden fireball interrupted Jingle Kyui's offensive pace. This is Kido. Everyone looked at the girl who shot with surprise. Shinigami? Which team are you from? Jingle Kyui was surprised and questioned. Where is there so much nonsense? Look at it. Rukia threw 2 sets of shurikens. Ding ding ding. Jingle Kyui immediately swung his knife and slashed away, frowning. This type of hidden weapon attack? Covert maneuver. Fire-style Phoenix Fire. Hinamori Momo continued to spit out several fireballs from his mouth one after another. This kind of Kido is useless to me. Kiraku Akiba's footsteps shook, using Shunpo, flexibly avoiding all the fireballs, and attacking the opponent. Hinamori Momo was hit with a stab, and the figure turned into an illusion. Illusion? What? Jingle Kyui was stunned again. Is this the real Shinigami? Hinamori Momo stared at him warily. I'm not afraid of it. Rukia is like a newborn calf, fearless. The 2 women joined hands and cooperated in tacit understanding. At one time, it caused great trouble to Jingle Kyui. In addition, for the first time dealing with a completely unfamiliar ninjutsu, he was beaten to a disadvantage for a while. Shadow Dance Leaf. Rukia made a violent upper kick, which hit the opponent's chin straightly, and the impact force forced the latter to vacate. Fire-style Dragon Fire technique. Hinamori Momo nodded his hands and spit out a high-speed linear flame from his mouth, hitting Kiraku Akiba in the air frontally. The 39 of Bakudo Round Gate Fan. At the critical moment, Kiraku Akiba used the defensive Kido. A circular shield was condensed in front of him, blocking the impact of the flame. The 2 sides once again returned to the state of confrontation. But anyone with a discerning eye can see that when the 2 women join forces, they clearly have the upper hand. Damn it. Jingle Kyui gritted his teeth and wiped the blood from the corners of his mouth. Now he is really embarrassed? See if you dare to underestimate us. Rukia crossed her slender waist and said proudly. Rukia, forget it. Hinamori Momo still doesn't want to cause trouble. At this moment, the air became frozen for a while. As a result, petals floated down. Following the petals appeared, a man also wearing a floral coat, with a hat on his head. The image looks very maverick. However, from the admiration cast by others, we can see that the person is absolutely extraordinary. Patriarch. Jingle Kyui smiled and subconsciously called out the other's name, but after the latter cast a warning look, he immediately changed his mouth. King Band Master. Oh, it looks so lively here. The captain of the 8th division, Kiraku Shunsui, is here. What do you want to reveal your identity? Master Jing, you came just right. These 2 wild girls who didn't know where they came from would dare. When Jingle Kyui saw his boss coming, the immediate reaction was to complain. But what is surprising is that Kiraku Shunsui did not listen to the demands of his junior at all. Instead, he cast an extremely severe look and reprimanded loudly. Shut up, you shameful fellow. Shinigami from Godai 13 actually bullied 2 girls in the street. Have you learned all your noble manners? Jingle Kyui's face flushed as soon as she heard it, but she didn't dare to refute, so she could only lower her head. Immediately apologized to the 2 girls. Kiraku Shunsui ordered in a cold voice. But, this is obviously. Kiraku Akiba was reluctant, but due to the majesty of the owner, he had to bow his head towards Rukia and Hinamori Momo, gritted his teeth and said, yes, I'm sorry. Kiraku Shunsui looked unconvinced when he saw the other party, and was even more angry, but he was a relative of his own family, he was not too harsh. Roll. Yes. Jingle Kyui immediately hugged his head after hearing this. You fancy-dressed uncle, you are quite reasonable. Rukia said solemnly with her hands on her hips. I'm so sorry. Hinamori Momo also bowed his head to apologize. His eyes stopped at the other party's white gown, which was immediately dressed in a colorful dress, and there was a big horoscope printed there. If the guess is correct, the opponent is the famous 8th Division Captain Kiraku Shunsui. This is a big shot. Oh, 2 lovely little girls, they really made you laugh. Kiraku Shunsui scratched his head with embarrassment. Then he inadvertently turned his gaze to Hyuga Shiratori, who was watching the play. And this little brother can I not show such dangerous ryutsu? No, this is just a normal fluctuation. Hyuga Shiratori responded calmly. If I don't stop, will you kill someone? Kiraku Shunsui said half-jokingly. Take a guess. Hyuga Shiratori was expressionless. Ha 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 ha, I really know how to joke my brother. Kiraka Shunsui narrowed his eyes, then changed his voice, and continued, by the way, you guys look a bit face to face, are you relatives of which squad? Those who can live in the S-Spirit Garden, except for Shinigami of Godai 13, are relatives of Shinigami. Take a guess. Hyuga Shiratori did not squint, facing the opponent's increasingly sharp eyes. This is bothering people. Kiraka Shunsui sighed and frowned slightly. Our 8th division is an intelligence force. If we find a suspicious person, it would be a bit of a breach of responsibility if we don't investigate it. What do you want? Hyuga Shiratori went straight ahead. Please, brother, please cooperate with me, simply talk about your name, family, etc. It won't waste a lot of your time. Kiraka Shunsui's attitude is very polite, which makes it hard to resist. Since you ask sincerely, then I will answer with compassion. The corner of Hyuga Shiratori's mouth twitched, and he bluntly said, Hyuga Shiratori, Junranin, who lives in Rukanga district. Rukia. Hinamori Momo. Kiraka Shunsui was taken aback. Although he was already suspicious of the identity of Hyuga Shiratori and his party, he did not expect that the other party actually came from Rukanga. Isn't this an illegal invasion? Even more boldly, the opponent reported himself in front of him, the captain of Godai 13. Hyuga Shiratori, this name, isn't it a joke? Kiraka Shunsui's eyelids flicked, and his face suddenly became serious. 30 years ago, the travel accident is still vivid? So, now that you know my identity, what are you going to do? Hyuga Shiratori looked at the opponent with interest, but he was curious how the opponent would react. Things are getting troublesome. Kiraka Shunsui reached out and pulled the hat on top of his head, covering his eyes. Haha, did you feel embarrassed? Hyuga Shiratori smiled happily. It's quite embarrassing. Kiraka Shunsui swept the surrounding passers-by with his left light. This is the most prosperous street in Lingting. If a battle were to be launched here, the damage would be unimaginable. According to a report 30 years ago, the Hyuga Shiratori in front of him was a ruthless man who defeated 3 captains. Fight against this kind of enemy, the consequences are impossible to estimate. Okay, don't be too nervous. I didn't come to the Lingting court to do anything. While talking, Hyuga Shiratori stroked the small heads of Rukia and Hinamori Momo with both hands. Otherwise, I wouldn't bring my family, would I? Kiraka Shunsui glanced at the 2 ignorant girls, and he quickly understood Hyuga Shiratori's attitude. So it is. If Kiraka Shunsui is scrupulous that battle will cause huge damage, then the opponent with 2 oil bottles around him will also be scrupulous. Just understand, dealing with smart people will save trouble. Hyuga Shiratori nodded. That said, but letting a dangerous travel accident wander in the S-Spirit Garden, it is difficult to put it at ease. Kiraka Shunsui said in a low voice, good enough, at least, Shiratori, you have to tell me, right? Attend graduation ceremony. Hyuga Shiratori did not hide the other party either. Mao Spiritual Academy, are you among the graduates? After Kiraka Shunsui listened, instead of letting go, he became more worried. Because by convention, all students who graduated from the Mao Spiritual Academy will join Godai 13. Let the people in the accident into Shinigami's team, are you sure it's not a spy? Tisk tusk fear the head and tail, afraid of this and that, is this Godai 13? Hyuga Shiratori taunted. Kiraka Shunsui was silent again, staring fixedly at the other party's father for a while. Immediately laughed. Ha 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 ha, Shiratori is right. Dignified Godai 13, the master of Soul Society, why are you afraid of anyone? Hyjin graduation ceremony. Encountering a small episode of Kiraka Shunsui, it can be regarded as an end. There was no violent conflict between the 2 parties. Kiraka Shunsui was afraid that the battle would cause huge damage in the sling court, so he didn't act rashly. Hyuga Shiratori carried 2 small oil bottles, so he didn't mean to do anything. Both sides left separately. But what is certain is that after Kiraka Shunsui leaves, the information that Hyuga Shiratori will enter the spiritual garden will be reported urgently. Prevent him from doing things. As soon as the news came out, it caused quite a lot of waves in Godai 13. Haha, that guy, is it finally coming? I've long wanted to fight him again. Zaraki Kenpaku said excitedly. Hyuga Shiratori. The eyes of Broken Bee shone with a strange light. Although 30 years have passed, the hot spring battle is still fresh in my memory. Byakugan Kukaki appeared to be quiet, but he clenched his fists involuntarily with his hands hidden in his sleeves. The humiliation of the disastrous defeat made him make up his mind and practice hard for 30 years. Just for the shame of Yuxu back then? Travel disaster invades the Lingting Garden, this is a big event. Aizen touched his glasses, showing a worried expression. I'm really curious, how did the travel disaster come in through the murderous stone wall that can block the spiritual power? Ichimaru-jin said thoughtfully. It is estimated that the opponent has the ability to jump in space, so that it can explain that the opponent entered the Soul Society from the boundary. Tuan Kename analyzed. Space jump? Similar to Kido, it should be a forbidden technique. Shiba Ishind said solemnly. Kido also has the ability to transfer space, but because it will destroy the spatial structure of Soul Society, it is forbidden to use it. Decades ago, the chief Kido Tessai Tsukubishi rebelled and followed the sinner Urahara Kisuk to conduct the hollow experiment and escaped from Soul Society. Could it be that the travel disaster has something to do with Urahara's group? Village Seijin asked. Tisk tusk, what's something to think about, since the travel disaster dared to come to Lingting. Just catch him? I can't wait to experiment on him, he. Kuratsuki Mayuri gave a sinister smile. That said, the problem is that the opponent's strength is not simple, and the battle will not end well. Kiraku Shunsui said, the opponent is very powerful with just a slight exposure of riot, so, to be honest, even I am not confident that I can defeat him. Isn't it? Even Chun Shui said the same. Jushiro Yukitake expressed shock. You must know that Kiraku Shunsui, as the most experienced Shinigami in the audience, is also first class in strength. I don't agree to deal with the travel accident now. Ano Hinaretsu said in a rare open, Kyo Bandmaster's scruples are correct. And today is the graduation ceremony of the Mao Spiritual Academy. There will be many nobles, including sages in the 46 rooms, attending this. If it is time to fight, I am afraid that it will cause unpredictable consequences. Ano Hinaretsu's statement caught blood for a while. Nobles and 46 rooms? This is the most noble group of people with S-Lingting status. If they were to let Godai 13 actually make the god of misfortune invade the Sling Court without knowing it, I am afraid it will inevitably make a big fuss. Boom. Yamamoto Yuen Lu Ranjayo knocked hard on the floor with a cane, and said blankly, the old man has made a decision. Don't take action against the travel accident for the time being, but keep close watch. As the captain of Godai 13, the incident of the invasion by the travel disaster really hurt his face. Coupled with his old stubborn character, Yamamoto Yuen Lu Ranjayo has always maintained the position of the nobility and the 46 room. Captain Yamamoto, leave the task of monitoring the travel accident to me. Broken Bee took the initiative to invite Ying. The other person glanced at her, then nodded. Yeah, it's more appropriate for the quick-acting 2nd Division team to do this. Let's end the meeting like this. Yamamoto Yuen Lu Ranjayo ordered. Hyuga Shiratori and a group of people, after wandering around in the Sling Garden, finally came to the Mao Spiritual Academy. The graduation ceremony can be regarded as a grand event in the garden, and there is an endless stream of people attending it. Please show your invitation letter. Shinigami, the guard in charge, stopped them. Illusory Sharinon. A flash of scarlet in Hyuga Shiratori's eyes. Thank you for your cooperation. The doorman let go. So handsome, Lord Shiratori. Hinamori Momo stared at his eyes. Right, there is nothing Shiratori can't do. Rukia looked proud and honest. The group of them passed unimpeded and came to the auditorium. On the stage is a crowd of graduated Shinigami. Sister is there. Rukia excitedly pointed to the girl who was the head of the graduate. At this time, Hyjin, dressed in a death tyrant costume representing Shinigami, had a handful of Zanpakuto around his waist. Looks very heroic. It seems that Faye has grown a lot. Hyuga Shiratori smiled and nodded. There is a sense of pleasure in playing nurturing games. Hey sister, we are here. Rukia stood up, put her hands in front of her mouth, made a loudspeaker gesture, and shouted towards the stage. Rukia, Lord Shiratori, and Sister Hinamori. The gossip story cast a joyful gaze, and began to respond to them. Sure Rukia, sit down. Hinamori Momo stretched out his hand and took Rukia, who was a little too excited. In fact, Rukia's publicity has already attracted the attention of the audience. Of course, it also includes the captains of Godai 13. Yamamoto Yuen Lu Ranjayo narrowed his eyes, his face looked a little ugly. Unbelievable. Isn't it so arrogant? Jushiro Yukitake's eyes widened, expressing an incredible face. Really, this travel disaster is too tossing people, right? Kiraku Shunsui expressed helplessness. I haven't investigated yet. Broken Bee couldn't help holding his forehead. Does she still need to investigate? Hey, this disaster is really interesting. Ichimaru-jin said with a gloomy smile. You think so, Captain Aizen? It's quite interesting. Aizen is hard to beat, the light of Pang Pong. Ha 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 ha, it really is you. Zaraki Kenpeki laughed heartily. Invitation from Ichimaru-jin. Due to the full view of the scene, Godai 13 did not attack. Everyone, please stay calm, not to ruin the important graduation ceremony because of the accident. Jushiro Yukitake spoke earnestly to persuade. Everyone had different faces, but they still agreed with Jushiro Yukitake's statement. Now, please come to the stage for the first one of this year's graduates. Under the announcement of the school teacher, Fei Zhan walked to the front of the stage and became a rising star. That little girl is number 1. I heard that I graduated after just 1 year of enrollment. It's really amazing. It is said that Ichimaru-jin, the captain of the 3rd Division team, did this in 100 years. No? Doesn't that mean that this little girl has the potential to become a captain? Unbelievable? I just don't know which team she will join. Everyone expressed a lot of discussion. The first place, of course, is to join our 11th squad. Madara Mikeku said enthusiastically. Idiot, this is impossible. Ayasukawa Yumichika shook his head. What did you say? Madara Mikeku's eyes widened. Xiaogong is right. I heard that the newcomer is a genius who is proficient in Kido, not suitable for our combat troops. Kusajishi Yachiro sat on Zaraki Kenpeki's shoulders, stretched out his hand and squeezed his ears and smiled. Sword, Yachiro is right. Hey. Zaraki Kenpeki expressed lack of interest, and said calmly, Kido's troublesome stuff is really boring. Captain Aizen, didn't you go to solicit that little girl yourself? Ichimaru-jin asked. Yes, I was rejected. Aizen plus Dr. Small, do you want to take other measures? Tuan Kaname asked. No, a pawn is not worthy of our attention for the time being. Aizen plus medical Hazel Phi feed. However, his gaze always fell on Fei Zhan. How much he cares about the opponent's rejection of him. Why on earth? It should be impossible for her to perceive my true face. Also feeling complicated is Byakugan. He had a very special feeling for Fei Zhan at first sight. For this reason, he even put aside his face and asked the elders of the family to come forward and recruit Fei Zhan into Kukaki's house. Nay, he was rejected by the latter, and it was really uncomfortable. The little maid next to Hyuga Shiratori grew up in the blink of an eye. Broken Bee's eyes fell on Hyuga. In addition to the hot spring battle 30 years ago, she actually went to the shrine to challenge Hyuga Shiratori many times. Without exception, the result is a disastrous defeat, and of course it is indispensable to be teased. Those who came and went also got a little familiar with Fei Zhan. Hui Zhan. That's it, she looks a lot like the girl who defeated Chuya, twin sisters. Kiraka Shunsui groaned. My sister is already so wild, and my sister is probably not a fuel-efficient lamp either. Your Excellency Yuan Luzai, is it true that people who have traveled disasters should join us in Godai 13? Village Sajin said solemnly. This girl is indeed a very good talent. Yamamoto Yuan Lu Ronjayu narrowed his eyes. As long as she doesn't do things that endanger the spirit court, recruiting her into the army is a good thing. Maybe 100 years later, a candidate for team captain can be cultivated. Pure soul, I really like this girl. Ano Hinaretsu is thoughtful and authentic. Hello? Have you forgotten the most important thing? Travel accident? What should I do? My laboratory is ready, so don't say you don't do anything. Kuratsuki Mayuri said with a dissatisfaction. He was most excited when he heard that the travel disaster had entered the sling court. Prepare the laboratory in advance, and wait for the other party to hurry up and dissect it? Pinch the captain, it is not convenient for us to take the initiative now, the sages in room 46 are watching. Shiba Ishine reminded. As a member of one of the 5 nobles of Soul Society, he knows the aristocracy very well. To put it bluntly is good face. If you let them know that the travel disaster has stepped into the sling court, it must be a blow to the pot. Find flowers. Haha, if it is not convenient for us to make a move, then just force him to make a move. Ichimaru-jin smiled sinisterly, then stood up on his own initiative. Ichimaru, what are you going to do? Tuan Kaname frowned. Yes, it doesn't matter, let him go. Aizen plus medical Dr. Yingruimi Ichimaru-jin's real purpose hidden is that he is very curious about what the other party will do. I saw everyone's surprised eyes. Ichimaru-jin walked to the stage. Hello, good morning everyone. Ichimaru-jin smiled and greeted everyone. Huh? This is not Captain Ichimaru of the 3rd Division. What does that adult want to do? Everyone was puzzled. Such a genius reminds me of me back then. Ichimaru-jin walked up to Hyuga with a kind face, touched her chin and squinted her eyes. This is true. Decades ago, Ichimaru-jin was also a well-known genius who graduated from the Mao Spiritual Academy in a year. Joining Godai 13, he was promoted all the way to the captain of the 3rd Division. How about? Xiao Hyuga, how about joining our 3rd team? Ichimaru-jin sent an invitation to Hyuga in public. This guy, Byakugan clenched his fists. Originally, he wanted to wait until the ceremony was over before sending an invitation to Fei Zhan again. Unexpectedly, someone did not follow the rules and invited them in public. Captain Ichimaru is not kind, he wants to intimidate the little girl under the pressure of everyone's eyes. Kiraka Shunsui also expressed his dislike. Ichimaru-jin's actions immediately caused a lot of discussion. Let Captain Ichimaru recruit him personally. This newcomer has such a big face. It's no wonder that Captain Ichimaru is a genius. Isn't it appropriate for a genius to join the team of geniuses? Everyone expressed it for granted. However, it is surprising. Fei Zhan ignored the pressure of the people from the fishing boat, looked directly at Ichimaru-jin without being humble, and responded. I'm very sorry, Captain Ichimaru. Hyuga already has a team he likes and is preparing to apply to join the 4th Division. Hyuga vs Ichimaru-jin? Wow. Fei Zhan publicly refuses Ichimaru-jin's invitation. It was shocking. This is really not giving any face? Haha. Who is that squinting guy? He doesn't look like a good person. Rukia spoke bluntly without covering up. Rukia, keep your voice down. Hinamori Momo pulled it aside. Ichimaru-jin, looks like a guy who hides very deeply, but that's all. Hyuga Shiratori took a deep look at the other person. The little power hidden by the other party is nothing more than that for him. Want to join my team? People who are proficient in Kido are indeed suitable. The corners of Ano Hinaretsu's mouth rose slightly, and she was very happy in her heart. That guy Ichimaru, what the hell do you want to do? Yaisen-san Tuan Kaname frowned again. Who knows? Aizen remedies the truth and is unpredictable and unpredictable. That fellow Ichimaru, it was terribly rejected. Kiraka Shunsui and others expressed schadenfreude. So courageous? You deserve to be that guy. A look of appreciation flashed across Broken Bee's eyes. Alala, I was rejected. Ichimaru-jin scratched his head and put on an embarrassed face. Terribly sorry. Fei Zhan bowed his head to apologize. No, don't care. Which team you join is your personal freedom. But well, since I'm out now, I don't want to do anything. It always feels very boring. Ichimaru-jin said meaningfully. Why don't we do this? How about let me discuss it with you? Don't worry, I will keep it. I believe everyone is also very interested in the strength of this genius, right? Yes, that's right. This genius is so proud. Fight? Let her see. Godei 13 is awesome. The crowd greeted Ichimaru-jin loudly. After all, many of you in this room are from the background of Rukanga, who rejects Hyuga. At the same time, he refused the invitation of a captain to the latter in public. It needs a good education? Feijin was taken aback, and subconsciously cast his gaze to Hyuga Shiratori in the audience. After getting the eyes of the latter's permission, Feijin calmed down and replied, "Please enlighten me, Captain Ichimaru." As soon as this remark came out, it once again detonated the audience. Good fellow, how dare a freshman challenge the captain? Sure enough, a newborn calf is not afraid of tigers. Now there is a good show to watch. Everyone excitedly acted as a crowd eating melons. Your Excellency Yuen Liuzai, Village Seijin cast a questioning look. It's okay to let Ichimaru try it out. Yamamoto Yuen Lu Ronjayo nodded blankly. That's it. The idlers on the stage waited to get out of the way. Only Ichimaru-jin and Hyuga stood facing each other. Feijin had a solemn expression, and subconsciously stretched out 2 fingers, making a mark of opposition. Oh, what etiquette is this? Ichimaru-jin asked curiously. Ninja. Feijin responded. Ninja. Ichimaru-jin twitched the corner of his mouth and smiled. Well, everything is fine, you can attack it directly, let me see what you can do. Seeing this, Feijin stopped talking nonsense. Raising his hand with a wave, a compressed fireball instantly condensed from the palm of his hand. 31 of Hado, Red Cannon. The audience was shocked as soon as he shot. Abandon chanting? How is it possible? Wow. Ichimaru-jin used Shunpo to avoid it easily. Wow. Feijin casts Shunpo, drew his sword and stab. Chang. Ichimaru-jin also pulled out Zanpakuto, blocking the opponent's attack. Kyankyonkyong. The two started a hand-to-hand battle. Slashing skills are well practiced, but you should be more than this level, right? Ichimaru-jin said. Shadow Dance Leaf. Suddenly, Feijin kicked in the upper leg and hit Ichimaru-jin's chin. But it was blocked by the latter raising his hand. What a quick white hits. Ichimaru-jin pushed aside. What is this white hits? It seems to be a certain genre, I haven't seen it before. Jushiro Yukitake questioned. These white hits are exactly the same as those used by that little girl. Kiraku Shunsui remembered Rukia's previous moves. Oh, this attack is a bit interesting. Zaraki Kenpeki showed a little interest. I saw Feijin's left hand, took out a handful of kunao from his sleeve, and stabbed Ichimaru-jin. That's a hidden weapon? It's a bit like a stealthy maneuver fighting style. Shiba is Hein thought. It's kind of interesting, but it's useless to me. Ichimaru-jin's movements are extremely agile, avoiding a series of tricky attacks by Hyuga. Boom. With a knife, Zanpakuto in Hyuga's hand was picked up and flew out. Zanpakuto, who knocked down the rookie with a single blow, is really great for Captain Ichimaru. Everyone responded. However, Zanpakuto's release did not make Hyuga feel flustered. She quickly formed a series of handprints with her hands, and the ground shook violently. Earth-style Earth Dragon Bullet. The Earth Dragon, which was condensed from mud and rocks, opened his mouth and shot out a series of stone bullets. What is this Kido? Everyone was surprised again. Bang, 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 bang. Ichimaru-jin swung his knife extremely fast, smashing the incoming stone bullets. Suddenly, he discovered that Feijin in front of him had lost sight of him. What? Boom. I saw a stone bullet behind him, suddenly turned into the figure of Hyuga. Kicked Ichimaru-jin in the back of the head from behind. The little girl turned into a stone for some unknown reason, which is really interesting. Kiraku Shunsui was surprised. Bakudo no 9 rebuke. Faced with this unexpected sneak attack, Ichimaru-jin had to use Kido. A transparent shield instantly condensed behind him, blocking Feijin's leg sweep. Ichimaru-jin opened his squinted eyes slightly, and a cold light flashed on his face. With a backhand, he quickly grabbed Hyuga's neck. I caught you. Boom. The captured Feijin's body turned into a white smoke and disappeared. What? Ichimaru-jin's expression was startled, but suddenly he heard the piercing squealing noise from behind him. Lightning-style Chidori. I saw a blade of thunder and lightning condensed in the palm of Hyuga's palm, sending out an extremely fast piercing towards Ichimaru-jin. So fast, but still too naive. Ichimaru-jin's face remained unchanged, and Zanpakuto met him head-on. With his eyesight, it can be judged that before the opponent approaches, he can use Zanpakuto to chop the latter to the ground. Wow. Feijin's amethyst eyes turned into scarlet red at some point. Sharingan? Hitomi Lee saw through Ichimaru-jin's Zanpakuto trajectory and avoided it in a thrilling manner. Puff chuff. Hyuga Shiratori shot. Sizzle. Hyuga Chidori cut Ichimaru-jin's sleeve. He tore a piece of the opponent's robe apart, and at the same time, the sharp thunder and lightning cut a bright red hole in his arm. Captain Ichimaru? Injured. The audience was in an uproar. Impossible? Ryutsu of that rookie, how is it possible? What is that Kido? What a powerful lightning attack. No, that's not Kido. Kuratsuki Mayuri narrowed his eyes and smiled excitedly on his face. Interesting. This is a new technology that Soul Society has never seen before. What a great little girl, she can do this. Jushiro Yukitake exclaimed. That's it, it seems that this is a combat skill from that travel disaster. Kiraku Shunsui said solemnly. Such an unusual way of using spiritual power, it's like mastering another kind of power. Aizen showed a strong interest in the medicine like Mu Chengxian. Spiritual power is the source of the soul's strength. without exception. What is going on in the end? Tuan Kaname said he couldn't understand it. Haha, that fellow Ichimaru, shameless. Zaraki Kenpeki laughed gleefully. These eyes. Byakugan fixed his gaze on the scarlet pupils of Hyuga. This reminded him involuntarily of that nightmare greeting. In the world of monthly reading, no matter time, space, or quality, I control it. Hyuga Shiratori's monthly reading really cast a serious psychological shadow on him. After that, he lay down for more than a month before regaining his sober mind. Now he saw the same kind of eyes appearing on Fei Zhan, which made him completely dispel the little thoughts in his heart. Stay away from it. Oh, what a pity, my sister's attack was avoided by that guy. Rukia looked regretful. Sister Hyuga, being able to compete with Shinigami at the captain level is already very good. Hinamori Momo cast a look of admiration. The Ryotsu gap between the two sides is too big, and Fei Zhan still needs time to grow up. Japanese Shiratori made a pertinent evaluation. Oh, I was injured, it's really a headache. Ichimaru-jin reached out and looked at his left hand, the blood dripping continuously. I'm very sorry, Captain Ichimaru. I'm not familiar with this move yet. Fei Zhan apologized. No, don't care. Since it's a competition, isn't it normal to get hurt? Ichimaru-jin's eyes narrowed in a dangerous arc, and he grasped Zanpakuto tightly. I was careless. I thought you were a baby bird, but I didn't expect it to be a young eagle. You have to show some real skills. Wait, I'm all ready. Fei really wanted to admit defeat. After all, the battle has reached this point, and there is no meaning to continue. She couldn't beat it anyway. Shoot him, Shinso. Ichimaru-jin's cold words liberated Zanpakuto. Huh. I saw that the original short blade suddenly grew longer. It stretched to several tens of meters, and turned into an infinitely extended blade to stab Hyuga. Bakudono. 39 round gate fan. Fei Zhan waved his hand and instantly condensed a circular light shield. Bang! The light shield was pierced instantly by Shinso's blade. But taking advantage of the blocking gap, Hyuga immediately avoided it calmly. Hey, Captain Ichimaru, isn't he? To deal with a newcomer, did you actually use Shikai? Is this too bullying? Everyone expressed their surprise. Swish, 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 swish. Shinso's blade is short and long, and stretches freely to constantly attack Hyuga. The eyesight of ordinary people can't keep up with this dazzling blade. But Fei Zhan relied on Sharingan's insight, but was able to dodge all these blades in a thrilling manner. That's amazing. That newcomer can actually. Oh, it seems that your eyes also have extraordinary abilities. Ichimaru-jin looked surprised and authentic. At the same time, Shinso's attack was accelerated. Fei Zhan gradually became difficult to resist. My heart secretly said, even if the eyes can keep up, the speed of the body can't keep up. There was a one-sided situation on the court. The outcome has been divided. However, just as Yamamoto Yuan Lu Ronjayo was about to come forward to stop the fight, suddenly, a flash of lightning flew from the auditorium. All members of Godi 13 were shocked. Zi, what a fast speed. Ichimaru-jin's eyes suddenly widened, and his face changed drastically. The figure flashed by thunder is indeed Hyuga Shiratori. As soon as he shot his hand, he used 2 fingers to bounce off the pierced Shinso. Chang. The immense strength made Ichimaru-jin's palm holding the knife almost unsteady. The 100-meter-long blade almost slashed at the crowd eating melons on the audience stage. Frightened everyone into a cold sweat. What is this? Everyone looked dumbfounded. One after another they locked their horrified eyes on the figure that was shining with thunder on the court. Zanpakuto, who was able to bounce off Ichimaru-jin with his bare hands, stopped the audience with this shot. Master Shiratori. Fei Zhan's face was overjoyed. That's right, Fei Zhan. Hyuga Shiratori nodded towards the opponent to show encouragement. Oh, I'm really sorry. Who is your excellency? Ichimaru-jin is frivolous on the surface, but in fact he is fully guarded. Who I am, you should be very clear. Hyuga Shiratori's white eyes were delicately locked on Ichimaru-jin's body, and said coldly, you just had a good time with my maid. My maid? Really? That the #1 of the Mao Spiritual Academy turned out to be a maid. Everyone was incredulous. With the performance of Hyuga, even if it is placed among the nobles, it is a proper top figure. How could it be a servant? Sorry, the fight was a little too overdone. Ichimaru-jin mildly concealed the needle and said, speaking of you, you took the initiative to intervene in Shinigami's discussion, isn't it unacceptable? Hearing that, the remaining Godi 13 captains also looked ugly. It's fine to wait for the accident, and now it's openly showing up, isn't this slapped them in the face? This is how the same thing. In the 46 room at the scene, someone had noticed that the atmosphere was not right, and asked in a bad tone, who on earth are you? How dare you break into Eslingting? The fury of Godi 13. Hyuga Shiratori's sudden shot shocked everyone. Room 46 seriously doubted his identity. Godi 13 has a bad face. Even to show up in such a scene, it seems that the travel disaster really didn't put us Godi 13 in my eyes. Village Seijin said solemnly. Never allow him to act recklessly. Aizen added a doctor's words. Trample our dignity, Hyuga Shiratori. Murderous shot in Byakugan's eyes. This guy, doesn't you think about the atmosphere in doing things? Broken B looked annoyed, but there was a little worry in his eyes. Haha, good guy, Hyuga Shiratori. Zaraki Kenpeki wanted to draw his sword and rushed forward, but saw Ichimaru-jin being there, so he resisted it. After all, it's not his style of doing things because there are more people and less people deceiving. Travel disaster. In Anohinaretsu's gentle eyes, there was a flash of light, watching all this with interest. Yamamoto Yuen Lu Ronjayo was silent all the time, and no one knew what the old guy was thinking. Hey, I want to ask you something. The people in room 46 scolded angrily. There is no passing order. It is a big crime to break into the Slingting court without permission. Noisy. Hyuga Shiratori glanced at the latter with Morishiro eyes. Byakugan coercion? The horrible momentum engulfed the audience in an instant. This. How powerful Ryotsu is this? Everyone's faces changed in shock. The first among them is the person in room 46. Wow. Seeing them foaming at the mouth, they were stunned by the momentum on the spot. Bold. Everyone at Godai 13 was angry. Room 46 is the highest decision-making body of the Lingting court. Shooting against them is equivalent to declaring war on the entire Spirit court? Oh, things seem to be a bit big trouble. A look of surprise appeared on Ichimaru Jin's face. Originally, he just wanted to take advantage of the travel disaster to stir up the soul, and at the same time, he figured out a way to bring the disaster to Eisenplatz. Never imagined that the direction of the situation was far beyond his grasp. Ignore the anger of everyone. Hyuga Shiratori decisively shot Ichimaru Jin in front of him. Land done laser circus. Waved and shot countless laser beams. The power of Kido. Ichimaru Jin's eyes widened, and he dodged Shunpo with his footsteps. Shoo, hoo. The light blue laser shot everywhere and broke through countless buildings. You must know that the buildings of the Slingting are made of powerful Lingzi materials, and their defenses are extremely strong. Now the attack from the other side is as fragile as paper. Captain Godai 13, each used Kido to fend off the affected buildings. At the same time, arranging the audience in the auditorium and escorting the unconscious people in room 46 to leave. Zi. Hyuga Shiratori's figure turned into a flash of lightning and disappeared. So fast. Ichimaru Jin's face changed in shock again. I saw Hyuga Shiratori appear in front of him in the blink of an eye. Shinso. Using Zanpakuto's power, Ichimaru Jin's blade quickly extended into a tens of meters long, and slashed towards Hyuga Shiratori. Chang. Hyuga Shiratori raised his palm, attacked the side of the blade, and pushed away the slash of the blade. At the same time quickly approached Ichimaru Jin. Zizi. In the palm of Hyuga Shiratori's hand, a dazzling thunder was condensed in an instant. Lightning-style rakery. Heido number 63 Fiery Lightning Howl. Ichimaru Jin raised his hand and launched a powerful golden thunder, but rakery of Hyuga Shiratori cut it easily. Boom. A roar of thunder and lightning. Ichimaru Jin's figure was beaten upside down and flew out, and a lot of blood was scattered along the way. He stretched out his hand to cover his bloody right chest, his face turned pale. The same thunder is 100 times more powerful than the little girl before. Ichimaru Jin's face was solemn and solemn. Is it fun? Hyuga Shiratori flicked the blood on his fingertips. His face calmly said, bullying my maid, this is the price. Master Shiratori. Fei Zhen in the distance showed a touched expression. Just to help her vent her anger, Hyuga Shiratori beat Ichimaru Jin in public? Haha, Shiratori is mighty. Rukia yelled cheerfully. This is a lot of trouble. Hinamori Momo couldn't help holding his forehead. Enough of you, travel disaster. Seeing that Ichimaru Jin was hit hard, the remaining Godai 13 captains could not stand by. The old man can no longer ignore him and blatantly provoke the authority of Godai 13. You must be enlightened. Yamamoto Yuen Lu Ronjayo stomped heavily with the cane in his hand. Originally, if you didn't do anything, we could treat it as if we didn't see it. Now that you have made it like this, how should you end it? Kiraku Shunsui complained with a grumbling expression on his face. Captain Ichimaru is injured, let's replace it. Jushiro Yukitake said. I'm rude. Ichimaru Jin retracted his sword into its sheath and voluntarily retired. Anyway, his provocative purpose has been achieved. Yin, you had a great time. Aizen said. I'm also sharing my worries for Captain Aizen. Now I can take a good look at the travel disaster. Ichimaru Jin explained. Then I will go up and try. Tuan Kaname offered to take the initiative, and drew the knife out of its sheath. Tweet. Suzumashi. The Ryotsu on the surface of Zanpakuto vibrated rapidly, producing an insect-like buzzing sound. Wow. Tuan Kaname Shunpo quickly approached Hyuga Shiratori. Caterpillar 1 type. Zanpakuto, which vibrates with high frequency, has great lethality? Hyuga Shiratori grabbed his blade with his bare hands. What? Tuan Kaname's face changed in shock. With this level of ability, you want to come up to show your ugliness. Hyuga Shiratori lifted his foot and kicked the ladder out. Tuan. Village Sajin exclaimed and shot out angrily. Rumble, Scourge. In an overbearing moment, a giant hand swung a knife and cut it down. Wow. Hyuga Shiratori turned sideways and easily avoided the opponent's slow moves. Sure enough, Shikai alone can't help this guy. Kiraku Shunsui frowned. No, do it here. How much damage would it cause? Jushiro Yukitake discouraged. In this way, Godai 13 was worried about causing huge damage to the Sling Court, and no one could solve it for a long time. Dust escape primary realm stripping technique? Wow. Hyuga Shiratori avoided Seijin's slash, and Reiznan smashed the ladder with a backhand. Spread it, Senbonzakura. The flying sakura flower petals were completely resisted by the Ryotsu released by Hyuga Shiratori. Byakugan knows the strength of the opponent very well, and he does not send an attack sent to Shikai to be effective, so he only treats it as a feint. The 73 of Heido Shuanglian Kang Huo Pen. Byakugan used his strongest Heido attack. From both hands, a deep blue fierce explosive blast wave was launched. Susanoo. Hyuga Shiratori's eyes became Mangekyo Sharingan's state. Surrounded by an orange skeleton, it resisted the opponent's Heido attack. The flower wind is chaotic, the flower god screams, the sky is chaotic, the demon sneers, Katen Kyakotsu. All the waves, turned into my shield, all the lightning, turned into my blade, Sogyo no Kotori. Kiraku Shunsui and Jushiro Yukitake, Soul Society's only pair Zanpakuto. Although the two are respectively superior and inferior nobles, they have a close personal relationship, and the tacit understanding of combat cooperation is impeccable. A ghost, the taller the player wins. Kiraku Shunsui issued a slash from a height. Attack power doubled. Boom. Under this knife, Susanoo was abruptly split a hole. Fire style, the fire is gone. Hyuga Shiratori's mouth bulged and spit out a fierce flame. Boom. Kiraku Shunsui, Sogyo no Kotori. At a critical moment, Jushiro Yukitake intervened and used the knife on the left to instantly absorb the flames. Immediately through Ryotsu's pass, a more fierce flame was ejected from the knife on the right. Hyuga Shiratori's face remained unchanged, and a crimson shield was condensed with Susanoo's left hand. Artifact Yata Mirror, clang. After hitting the shield, the flames immediately bounced back. What? Jushiro Yukitake was shocked. He was the only one who bounced off the opponent's attack, but he did not expect to be bounced back today. Be careful, don't be alone. Kiraku Shunsui wielded two knives, unleashing two powerful whirlwind slashes. The flames that will strike in the future split in two. Are you at this level of strength? Let's go together. Hyuga Shiratori started the group taunt. Ha 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 ha, okay Haki, I like it. Zaraki Kenpei grinned, poured all his strength into Ryotsu, and rushed toward Hyuga Shiratori with aggressive steps. There are no magnificent moves, just full slashing. Boom. Zaraki Kenpei's knife hit the Yata mirror directly with the Rashman's brainless play. As a result, he was bounced back with the same strength. Puff chuff. Zaraki Kenpei's hands holding the knife were shaken with blood, and the whole person flew out. Interesting, can that shield reflect all physical attacks? Then, try my trick. Izanji lifted his palm, and a black Uzumaki instantly condensed. 90 of Heido Black Coffin. What? Hyuga Shiratori finally sensed a hint of danger at this time. I saw that the surroundings were covered by black cubes, and terrible gravity was pouring in from all directions. Crack, click, click, click. Susanoo's surface was crushed with cracks all over it, and eventually it couldn't support it and was shattered. Good job, Captain Aizen. Shiba Ishine received the second wave of attacks perfectly. Burn it, Injetsu. Crescent Moon Sky Chong. At the moment Zanpakuto was liberated, poor Ryotsu issued a powerful crescent slash. Wood-style blasting gun tree. Hyuga Shiratori raised his hand and instantly grew a towering tree, blocking the opponent's crescent slash. But the huge impact still shook him back a few steps. This attack is quite interesting. Hyuga Shiratori was slightly surprised and authentic. Wow. Shunpo, who was extremely fast, stabbed from behind with a bird's front in his hand. Then it was held backhand by Hyuga Shiratori. Hyuga Shiratori. The Broken Bee gritted his teeth. Long time no see, Captain Broken Bee. Hyuga Shiratori's face was calm. What do you want to do? The Broken Bee asked. I didn't want to do anything, it was just a whim. Hyuga Shiratori really has no special purpose. At first it was just to help Feijan vent her anger. Then he slapped, feeling that his hidden power is awakening little by little. He had a hunch and continued to fight. His eyes will reawaken the power of Rinnegan and Tenseigan? Do not make jokes. Shattered Bee launched an instant coax and burst Ryotsu, causing her to forcibly break away from Hyuga Shiratori's hand. Openly provoking Godei 13, are you trying to die? Oh it sounds like Captain Broken Bee is caring about me. Hyuga Shiratori looked at each other with interest. Asshole? What are you talking about? Shattered Bee became angry and slammed his fist towards the opponent. Boom. A huge Ryotsu erupted, and Hyuga Shiratori retreated again. In fact, he retired deliberately. There is a flaw. Kurotsuki Mayuri thought he had found his flaw and immediately attacked from behind. Open your paws, kill Jizo. The extremely poisonous Zanpakuto with paralyzing nerves, as long as it stabs the target, it can instantly paralyze the latter's combat effectiveness. Joker, you deserve to fight me too. Hyuga Shiratori opened his palm and threw out a white cube. Dust escape primary realm stripping technique. Kurotsuki Mayuri keenly felt the crisis of death, and his body immediately shifted. A white light swept across his right body, and part of his right arm and chest were all broken into pieces. What? Captain Nirvana. Everyone was shocked, this was fatal. Wow. Kurotsuki Mayuri vomited blood and felt the rapid passing of life. He quickly took out a syringe from his pocket and pierced it into his chest. Tonic? After the injection, flesh and blood quickly grew from the wound, which made up for the fatal wound. Damn it. What kind of attack is this? It directly beat my body into a spiritual state. There was a chill on Kurotsuki Mayuri's face. Almost he was killed directly in seconds. Point 1 Enemy 13. What a ruthless move. I even knocked out the captain's half of his body. There was a hint of chill on everyone's face. A little carelessness, wouldn't it be directly killed by a second? Why did you stop? Go on, Godai 13, is that just a little bit of strength? Hyuga Shiratori unscrupulously provoked the audience. In the eyes of Mangekyo Sherinon, the pupil power further increased. There is a faint sign of a breakthrough. With the intense battle, he is slowly regaining his own power. Travel disaster, Hugh is rampant. Aizen couldn't help adding medicine to the beach, and rushed up with a knife. Captain Aizen, don't go alone. Jushiro Yukitake exclaimed behind him. Chang. Hyuga Shiratori held a chakra knife generated with lightning style and blocked the opponent's Zanpakuto. His eyes narrowed involuntarily. What are you pretending here? Aizen said nothing. Obviously you are the strongest among Godai 13, posing this harmless posture. Who are you fooling? Hyuga Shiratori's left hand condensed a magma punch in an instant. Puff. This fist hit Aizen hard. The huge impact, coupled with the high temperature of the magma, immediately pierced the latter's abdomen. Wow. Aizen told the doctor to take the twins, and the figure flew out. 37 of Bakudo, Hanging Star. Ano Hinaretsu used his spiritual power to create a hammock in an instant, and caught the latter. Captain Aizen, are you okay? Ahem, I'm sorry, I'm not as good as others. Aizen plus medical care. Don't talk yet, I'll treat you. Ano Hinaretsu waved and used the superb Kaido to heal the opponent. It's just that a hint of doubt flashed through those gentle and jade-like eyes. Why, that travel disaster would call Captain Aizen the strongest. In terms of personal strength, among Godai 13, there is no doubt that Yamamoto Yuan Lu Ronjayo tops the list. This is followed by Kiraku Shunsui, who is very senior, and himself, who was once the first-generation Kenpeki. Aizen, the captain of the 5th Division team who stole the old man, has a low-key performance and mediocre performance. The strength is in the middle of Godai 13, and it doesn't look like the strongest one. In view of the fact that Aizen Ji Mumukian Fudangjang and others did not take Hyuga Shiratori's words to heart, the crowd launched an angry attack again. As for Yamamoto Yuan Lu Ronjayo, he remained on the sidelines throughout the whole process, as if he had no plans to participate in the war in person. Come and come again. Not fun yet. Zaraki Kenpeke had blood in his mouth, and his face was full of warlike fanaticism. Continue to raise the knife and rush towards Hyuga Shiratori. The insult to Lingting's travel disaster is unforgivable. Byakugan Kukaki used Shunpo plus Slashing's Nirvana, Flash Flower. This is a kind of close body, instantly piercing the target's knot and soul hammer with a knife, which can destroy the vitality of the soul in one blow. Humph. Hyuga Shiratori squinted his eyes, Mangekyo Sharingan's pupil power. You can see through all the movements of the two at once. The lightning-style chakra knife in his hand slashed Zaraki Kenpeke, and at the same time kicked the approaching Byakugan Kukaki away. Kiraku Shunsui saw the timing and launched Zanpakuto's ability to carry out a sneak attack. Shadow Ghost. I saw him insert Zanpakuto into the shadow under his feet. At the same time, the blade pierced from Hyuga Shiratori's feet. Sizzle. Hyuga Shiratori took a step slower and cut her ankle with the blade. He is injured. Faced with the combined attack of multiple Captain Shinigami, he was injured for the first time. Watch out. The huge figure of Seijin village came from above, holding Zanpakuto with both hands high, and it turned into a huge 50-meter-long knife and slashed down. 8 trigrams air palm. Hyuga Shiratori slapped it away. He hit the opponent's phantom arm hard. Crack. I saw Seijin's arm fractured, and the knife almost couldn't hold it. 63 of Bakudo, lock the bar. Jushiro Yukitake launched a thick chain of spiritual power from both hands and quickly bound Hyuga Shiratori. I'm sorry, although the victory over the less with more is somewhat invincible, we have to do this in order to protect the spirit court. The figure of Shiba Ishine came to him with a stride and slashed out with a knife. Zanpakuto of Shiba Ishine hovered in front of Hyuga Shiratori's neck. I saw him motionless. Mangekyo Sherinon. Hyuga Shiratori stared at the opponent directly and activated the illusion. Be careful, don't look directly into his eyes have the power to hallucinate people. Byakugan Kukaki reminded loudly. Illusion. Aizen adds the Dr. Jinkan Zingzi. It only took less than a few seconds. Shiba Ishine suddenly let out a stern cry, then collapsed on the ground and foamed at the mouth. Tisk Tuskai knocked Captain Shiba down at a glance. What kind of illusion is that? Ichimaru-jin said meaningfully. If it is the ability of the visual department, I am not afraid. Tuan Kaname swung his knife to greet him. Boom. Hyuga Shiratori released chakra and forcibly broke free of the chains that restrained him. Ding. Kicked away the blade stabbed by Tuan Kaname. The 54 of Hado abolished the flame. Tuan Kaname waved his hand and threw out a pink, with extremely high temperature flames. Scorch style over steaming. Hyuga Shiratori instantly condensed an orange-red flame ball from the palm of his hand and greeted him head-on. Rumble rumbling rumbling rumbling. The two collide, releasing a burst of ultra-high temperature. What? I saw that Tuan Kaname was severely burned and flew upside down. Hyuga Shiratori was unscathed. Sogyo no Kotori. Jushiro Yukitake took the opportunity to use Zanpakuto to absorb the explosion, doubled it and bounced it out. Hyuga Shiratori couldn't make a shot, so he could only use the powerful chakra to forcibly resist the oncoming explosion. After the blazing blast, Hyuga Shiratori suffered a slight burn. Having been hit by that kind of attack, was it just a slight injury? Jushiro Yukitake frowned. After all, it is one enemy 13, which is indeed a bit difficult. Hyuga Shiratori uses the power of wood style. Quickly healed the injuries suffered on his body. Hyuga Shiratori vs Yamamoto UN Lu Ranjayu, that is, the virtual high-speed regeneration. Everyone was shocked again, their eyes fixed on the fast-healing wound of Hyuga Shiratori. This guy, is it related to Urahara Kisuk? Aizen plus medicine. Co-created Hogyaku. The initial experiment was to use Hogyaku to make Shinigami hollow, thereby gaining virtual power. No, Urahara Kisuk can't control it with this man's ability. Aizen's punishment quickly overturned his own guess. Oh, things are getting more and more interesting. Ichimaru-jin smiled authentically. This anomalous spirit is under pressure, in the end. Although Tuan Kaname was blind and unable to see, Ryotsu felt extremely sensitive. Tisk tusk as the material of the experiment, there are too many secrets hidden in your body. Kuratsuki Mayuri's eyes light up, and he can't wait to unlay the Hyuga Shiratori right away. Don't explain. Kiraku Shunsui looked serious and authentic. Hehe. Hyuga Shiratori smiled lightly, disdained to explain anything. The other party thinks whatever he likes. What does it matter? What can you do to me? Unscrupulous words once again provoked Godai 13's anger. Boom. Yamamoto UN Lu Ranjayo was also unable to hold back at this time, and the crutches in his hand stomped heavily on the ground. The terrifying Ryotsu was released immediately like a mountain overwhelming. Everyone was shocked by the breath. It seems that old man Shan is on fire. Hey. Hyuga Shiratori opened his eyes slightly and nodded immediately. Obviously, he looks like an old man who is about to die, but he didn't expect his momentum to be quite strong. Huh? Kid, don't be too smug. Yamamoto UN Lu Ranjayo shook his palm, and shredded the crutches with a terrifying aura, revealing a quaint Zanpakuto inside. S-Ling Ting, it's not a place for you to behave arbitrarily. Huh. As Yamamoto UN Lu Ranjayo's voice fell, a turquoise barrier rose up all around. So that's it. From the very beginning, UN Liuzai did not stand idly by, but quietly arranged the barrier. Ano Hinaretsu understood. Such a powerful enchantment, in this way, it can limit the damage caused by the battle to the spirit court. Jushiro Yukitake quickly realized something. Ginger is still hot. Broken Bee frowned and looked at Hyuga Shiratori's eyes with a little more worry. Old, treacherous and cunning. Aizen plus Dr. Yunlin Kaishiyuan uncovers paralyzed Huan. The other party looked like a righteous old man, but in fact he was also a scheming man. It's just a barrier, so proud. There was no wave on Hyuga Shiratori's face. The opponent's secret arrangement of the barrier really surprised him. To escape his eyes, I have to say that the captain of Godai 13 still has something. Hyjin, Rukia, and Zyotao, so please hide first. Hyuga Shiratori suddenly turned his gaze to the three girls in the audience. Mangekyo Sherinon Kamui, Uzumaki in the distorted space instantly sucked in the three women and disappeared. Space ability. Everyone was shocked again. It's no wonder that you can escape the barrier of the murderous stone and invade the spirit court without knowing it. Kiraku Shunsui couldn't help but frowned. This is troublesome. With the ability to transfer space, the enchantment will not be able to trap the opponent. Yamamoto UN Lu Ranjayo raised his brows, and his palms subconsciously prepared to use the enchantment that blocked the space. It's not necessary. Save your energy, old man. Hyuga Shiratori interrupted the opponent. I don't mean to run away. Yamamoto Motoyagi Saishiji Kuni narrowed his eyes slightly, his sharp eyes locked firmly on his face. After watching for a long time, he didn't notice the slightest retreat from the other party. Nodded, he believed the other party's statement. Good spine. You are the first one who dares to face the anger of the old man and does not run away in thousands of years. Yamamoto UN Lu Ranjayo praised. Come on. Captain of Godai 13, let me see how good you are. Hyuga Shiratori's face is full of warfare, and he can clearly feel that the Mangekyo Sherinon in his eyes is rapidly increasing, and he is only one step away from evolution. The next step is to fight more intensely. Zhang. Yamamoto UN Lu Ranjayo drew his sword out of its sheath, and the deep Shikai language was like the words of hellfire. Everything in Vientiane is ashes, Ryujin Juka. Huh. The fiery flame burned on the blade. That is not an ordinary flame. That is the huge Ryotsu produced by Yamamoto UN Lu Ranjayo, the ultra-high temperature flame. Are you ready to take the move, kid? Yamamoto Motoyan Ajisai Shijikoka's oppressive words came slowly. Hyuga Shiratori's lips moved, and he wanted to say something provocative. But he keenly noticed the murderous aura that was brewing quickly, and he had to concentrate. Jianyu Thor. Using Mangekyo Sharingan's pupil power, he blended the black flame into the thunder in his hand. Wow. Almost at the same time, the figure of Yamamoto UN Lu Ranjayo appeared before his eyes without warning. Cut. Cut it with one blow. Hyuga Shiratori greeted him with his bare hands, blended into Flame Control's lightning style, and fiercely contended against the opponent's Ryujin Jaka on the palm of his hand. Ah. Fiery flames gushed out from between the two of them in all directions. Wherever he went, the buildings were all burned to ashes. Everyone backed away. His face was staring in horror, the scorched ground before his eyes. It's just a blow. Village Seijin was dumbfounded. No wonder the enchantment has to be arranged in advance, otherwise after the battle, Lingting doesn't know what the destruction has become. Jushiro Yukitake said solemnly. However, after the flames burned, everyone saw a scene that made them stunned again. I saw Hyuga Shiratori holding Yamamoto's Raijin Jaka with one hand, motionless, cut the fist and go ghost, the strongest? Ah! Burning in flames. Ba 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 ba. The thunder roared. Yamamoto Lu Ronjayo's face showed a touch of sigh, and his voice was low and authentic. For so many years, you are the only one who can take the old man's sword head on, except for your friend Habich. Boom. Jianyu Thunder God in Hyuga Shiratori's hand was shocked and bounced off the opponent's Raijin Jaka. A mysterious eyeshadow appeared in the eyelids, and instantly entered Sage mode. Sage Art Gentle Fist. The fist with the power of powerful fairy magic slammed into the chest of Yamamoto Lu Ronjayo. Boom. I saw the opponent's seemingly old body, but the speed of action was not weak at all, and he grabbed his fist with his bare hands. Do you know why the old man is called the strongest Shinigami in 1,000 years? While talking, Yamamoto Lu Ronjayo waved away the captain's cloak, revealing that strong and unusual body. The explosive muscles are covered with dozens of large and small scars. 17 gives a full pressure, 1 bone. The ultimate white hits punch. Boom. Unbelievable boxing, with absolute strength, blasted Hyuga Shiratori out. Boom. I saw that his body fell heavily to the ground, and a big hole was smashed into the ground abruptly. So strong? Is this the strength of the captain? Seijin Murakami said with a look of admiration. Shiratori. Broken Bee's heart tightened, and she didn't know why she was worried about the latter. Ms. Genryuse's cut fist and go ghost, Shinigami's 4 skills are all standing on top. Jushiro Yukitake exclaimed. This travel disaster should be over, right? Kiraku Shunsui said solemnly. No, although the enemy's riot so fluctuates, it is still very strong. Ano Hinaretsu looked surprised and authentic. Ahem. Deep underground, Hyuga Shiratori looked up at the dozens of meters deep hole punched out above, and reached out to wipe a trace of blood that overflowed from the corner of his mouth. A good blow? I can feel that the pupil power of my eyes is rising rapidly. I saw the figure of Hyuga Shiratori flying out of the pit. The dual-purpose Mangekyo Sherinon has gradually transformed into a rippled Rinnegan? Ha 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 ha, the old man is a bit interesting, let's dance. Yamamoto Genryu Saishijikuni's face sank, and he said in a condensed voice, it seems that the lessons for you are not enough. The huge Ryotsu gathered into the shape of a giant dragon in his hand, and then roared out in a straight line. The 88 of Heido, flying dragons strike thieves and shake thunder cannon. Shen Luo Tianzhang. Hyuga Shiratori spread his hands and centered on himself, releasing an unstoppable repulsive force. Boom. I saw the giant dragon in front of Hyuga Shiratori, as if hitting an invisible wall, and then it turned into countless spots of light scattered. What? Everyone was shocked. Heido, number 88, used by Yamamoto Lu Ronjayo, was such a powerful attack that the opponent could easily resolve it. Next, it's my turn. Hyuga Shiratori stared at each other. Round 2 Edge Prison. Yamamoto Lu Ronjayo subconsciously strengthened Ryotsu's perception, but couldn't find anything. However, his experienced consciousness made his body react reflexively. Puff chuff. I saw Yamamoto Lu Ronjayo's chest, as if being hit by something invisible. The ribs on the chest were broken, and a mouthful of blood was spit out, and the whole person flew out. Old Man Mountain. Captain. Everyone looked horrified. As the leader of Godai 13, Shinigami, recognized by the Soul Society as the strongest, was just overturned. I'm fine. Yamamoto Lu Ronjayo stepped on his feet and forcibly stabilized his shaking body. Good response? Obviously I can't see or perceive it, and I can still avoid the vital points at critical times. It is really strong. The corners of Hyuga Shiratori's mouth rose slightly. His wheel tomb is a shadow on the side of the world. Unless he has the same Rinnegan pupil power, it is impossible for people in this world to see the shadow. The movement of the shadow is silent. Will not interfere with the flow of air. So it is physically impossible to perceive it. Yamamoto Lu Ronjayo closed his eyes. Boom. Suddenly raised his hand to block, just catching the shadow's attack. Round tomb shoot. Hyuga Shiratori Rinnegan glared, and continued to release 3 shadows, attacking each other from different directions. Boom bang 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 bang. I saw Yamamoto Lu Ronjayo dancing, and there was a deafening fist crash in the air. What's going on? The old man Shan is fighting with something. Kiraku Shunsui opened his eyes in amazement. Mind white hits. Byakugan Kukaki said with a look of astonishment, this is to shield one's own consciousness and entrust the instinct of the body to fight. The captain still has this kind of ability. Aizen and the doctor the magic school secretly said, it seems that Kyoka Suijutsu alone cannot defeat Yamamoto Lu Ronjayo, and must rely on the most basic strength. Tough old guy. Hyuga Shiratori saw that Pinglun Tomb was unable to defeat his opponent, so he had to go on his own. Sura Road. A mechanical device was summoned from his hand, and after unfolding, a pitch-black muzzle was stretched out. Call out. Gathering a lot of spiritual power from the muzzle, shoot a beam of death light. Torch. Yamamoto Lu Ronjayo covered the whole body of Ryujin Jaka's flames, forming a hot flame windbreaker. With amazing defensive power, the light of death in the future burns to the ground. Wow. The figure of Hyuga Shiratori came to the opponent in an instant. Hungry Kido. Both hands directly grabbed the flame windbreaker on the opponent, turning into the power of swallowing, absorb all the hot flames from the latter. Impossible? That guy actually absorbed the flame of the captain directly. This is so appalling. Drink. Hyuga Shiratori kicked the opponent with one kick, shielding self-awareness and relying solely on physical instincts to fight. The power of action is still not as good as before. Therefore, in the face of the round tomb shadow, Hyuga Shiratori's shot was added. Yamamoto Unru Ronjayo was beaten and flew out. D unlink it. The shadow of the wheel tomb is 1, and the power is instantly multiplied. Go down. Hyuga Shiratori kicked Yamamoto Unru Ronjayo. Old Man Mountain. Captain. Godai 13 was shocking. According to Soul Society, Yamamoto Unru Ronjayo, the strongest Shinigami, was beaten up by others? Damn it. Yamamoto Unru Ronjayo was not convinced yet, and the huge Ryutsu poured into Ryujinjaka in his hands. An oversized flame was instantly rolled up, enveloping the Hyuga Shiratori. Burn the city. Hungry Kido. Hyuga Shiratori once again absorbed the flames. It seems that your brain is not very bright. This kind of move is useless to me. Not always. Yamamoto Unru Ronjayo swung the knife again. The raging flames once again wrapped Hyuga Shiratori. Boring. Hyuga Shiratori's eyes. Rinnegan activates pupil surgery, and absorbs the power of the Hungry Kido. Wow. Advanced Shunpo Flash Flower? Yamamoto Unru Ronjayo held a knife in both hands, and concentrated his strength to make an amazing cut. Kendo 2 breaks. Have you spotted the gap where I can absorb the flame? Hyuga Shiratori turned around. Boom. Two-handed kendo, peak cutting technique, with terrifying destructive power. Hyuga Shiratori was chopped off and flew out. Wow. Yamamoto Unru Ronjayo played Shunpo again without giving the opponent a chance to stop for a second. Drink. There are no fancy moves, only purely violent slashes. Shen Luo Tianzhang. Hyuga Shiratori opened his hands and released an unstoppable repulsion. Clang. The Zanpakuto of Yamamoto Jinyan Ajisai Shiji Kuni seems to have been chopped on a transparent wall. The huge repulsive force withstood the extremely hot flames. Boom. I saw that with the collision between the two as the center, the terrifying flames and the repulsive force that crushed everything broke the surrounding earthquake to pieces. In order to avoid being affected, everyone had to step back again. Everyone quickly reinforced the enchantment. You can't let the battle here destroy the sling court. Jushiro Yukitake shouted. As the battle between the two in front of them became more intense, the surrounding barriers were also facing collapse. Hyuga Shiratori's eyes must have Rinnegan, and a blue Susanoo was instantly condensed on his body. Susanoo's 4 hands, plus the hands of the body, made 3 different seals at the same time. Tianzhen is an obstacle to the stars. I saw a huge shadow above the sky. Everyone looked up subconsciously. Varied. This is a meteorite. A meteorite appeared in Soul Society. What's the joke? Yamamoto Unru Ronjayo's face remained unchanged, and he swiped his sword to the sky. Do you think that this kind of attack can defeat the old man? A joke. Boom. Accompanied by the flame slash released by Ryujinjaka. The meteorite that fell from the sky was abruptly split in half. At the same time, it was quickly burned into ashes under the blazing high temperature. You deserve to be the captain of Godai 13. There really are 2 things. Hyuga Shiratori praised. Ho. Yamamoto Unru Ronjayo's breathing became slightly quicker. Although he is strong, he is still old after all. The age of more than 1,000 years is enough to make his soul weak. At least it can't keep up with physical strength. So, what are you going to do with the second one? Hyuga Shiratori's voice just fell. I saw a second meteorite above the sky. What? Everyone was shocked. The meteorite that obscured the sky fell. The shockwave generated is enough to flatten the entire Slingting. Damn travel accident. Yamamoto Unru Ronjayo's eyes burst out with endless killing intent. Along with the fierce mood swings of the owner, Ryujinjaka burned with even higher flames. Let the surrounding area become green and smoke. This Ryutsu, the old man is going to be real. Kiraku Shunsui said solemnly. Rumbling. The impact of the burning flames turned into a huge slash, as if split the entire sky in half. The falling meteorite was also cut in half abruptly. Burn, all burned. Humph. Hyuga Shiratori completely liberated Rinnegan's pupil power, summoned a complete body Susanoo. The tens of meters of the sword, at the moment it was pulled out, the ground shook the mountain. Cut the mountains and rivers with a single knife. Clang. Susanoo's huge big sword hit Yamamoto Unru Ronjayo's body heavily, but Zanpakuto was blocked by the latter with both hands. The astonishing destructive power tore the earth around him apart. Oha, really a tough guy. Hyuga Shiratori increases power output. Puff. Yamamoto Unru Ronjayo was pressed to the ground on one knee, panting. At this moment, the Godai 13 people on the side also had to take action. Clang. Kiraku Shunsui and Jushiro Yukitake each used their double swords to help withstand Susanoo's Tato. Ha, it's so enjoyable, Shiratori. Zaraki Kenpeki charged a shot, and his destructive power was a bit stronger than before. Hey, Susanoo's armor was completely cracked. I can't bear it anymore. The Black Rope Scourgeming King. As the most loyal subordinate of the captain, Seijin Village launched the D solution for the first time. summoned a huge black-armored warrior. From the point of view of the size, it seems to be no less than Hyuga Shiratori's complete body Susanoo. However, this is just about body shape. You are too weak. Get it? Hyuga Shiratori injected the power of 9 tails into Susanoo's armor. Difficulties of beasts? 1 knife. Puff chuff. The black rope scourge King Ming was split in half in seconds. Seitan screamed and fell into a pool of blood. Captain of the village. Everyone did not change their color. The D solution is the killer of the captain level Shinigami, and it is generally not easy to use. Unexpectedly, they weren't even the enemy of the opponent. D solution Golden Slaying Jizo. Kuratsuki Moyuri was the second to start the D solution. Summoned a baby monster with a big golden head. One rushed to the front of the beast, using a large number of sharp poisonous knives protruding from his chest. However, there is no egg warehouse. The difficulty of the beast stretched out his hand to take a look, and he lifted the golden slaying Jizang up in the air.
novel
Crack.
audiobooks
Squeezed on
available
the
through
spot.
my Ko-fi or Patreon shop. I appreciate your support.